This man crosses cultivation world without learning techniques and arts cultivation. He became the head security guard of the Jade Maiden Sect. He also likes to give some strange things for the female disciple to wear. The man named Zhang Reckless found that 3 days ago, when he was showering, the bottom of the bathtub seemed to be sucked away, and he fell from the sky. He happened to fall on the statue of the ancestor worshipped at the Jade Maiden Sect ceremony, thinking he would be hit to death by the randomly flying swords. Unexpectedly, the sect leader of the Jade Maiden Sect arranged for him to work as a security guard. With no special skills to speak of, he had no choice but to temporarily obey the arrangement. However, he thought about it and realized that the sect leader who had spared him before was quite good. It would be a great story if he could engage in dual cultivation with her. Suddenly Zhang Reckless' heart began to beat wildly, and his body started to feel hotter and hotter. At this moment, the system in his mind issued a reminder. The heart of a pervert, awakening system activated. At this moment, within Zhang Reckless' spirit sense, the host information has been fully accessed. The divine tier sign-in system is starting. Just as Zhang Reckless was still wondering where he was, the system reminded again. Host, you have activated the divine tier sign-in system, and can currently receive the first sign-in task. The task category is location-based sign-in. You are required to go to sect leader's sleeping palace and complete the sign-in by midnight tonight. Failure to do so will result in your 5 viscera shattered and death. After hearing the task announced by the system, Zhang Reckless was shocked. Are you kidding me? Going to the sect leader's sleeping palace in the middle of the night? I'm afraid I'll be minced into meat before I even step foot within 800 meters. At this moment, the system in the midst of the clouds and mist issued another reminder. The tasks set by the system do not allow for negotiation. Immediately, with a snap of the fingers, Zhang Reckless' body, struck by a beam of golden light, rapidly descended. His consciousness returned to the real body of Zhang Reckless. What a domineering system, it really pushes people to their limits. Outside the main hall that evening, Zhang Reckless appeared mysteriously with a black veil draped over him. In his heart he said, rather than being tortured to death, I might as well take a gamble. I hope the reward for the mission can be something that saves my life. Otherwise I will surely be beaten to death as a lecher tonight. 10 minutes later, Zhang Reckless finally arrived outside the sect leader's bedroom, but the system has not reminded him to complete the check-in task. Could it be that he cannot check in outside the bedroom and has to go inside the bedroom to do it? As the midnight hour approached, Zhang Reckless summoned up his courage and pushed open the door. At this moment, the sect leader is in the midst of cultivation. This directly scared Zhang Reckless into a cold sweat. However, sect leader, with her eyes closed tightly, still sensed someone's presence. But at this critical moment, unable to interrupt, she could only observe first. At this moment, Zhang Reckless was about to take the first step. Just as his toes touched the ground, the entire Jade Maiden Sect suddenly burst out with a beam of light. The patrolling disciples all noticed that the location where the beam of light appeared was exactly in the direction of the sect leader's sleeping quarters. At this moment, the sect leader's cultivation was interrupted by this vision. Although she couldn't see the appearance of the person in the column of light clearly, she vaguely sensed that this person's cultivation level was rising. Within Zhang Reckless' spirit sense system, a notification popped up indicating that the first check-in task had been completed. The reward was the refinement of her physique into the divine body of lustful spirit, as well as a pair of divine walking boots. After the column of light disappeared along with the voice, only Zhang Reckless was left panting heavily. The sect leader suddenly lifted a slender jade leg and swept it through the air. This move has limited destructive power, but extremely infectious appeal. Zhang Reckless couldn't help but cheer loudly as he watched. However, just as his heart was filled with excitement, he suddenly felt a surge of energy. It was the activation of the heart of a pervert engine, charging up the divine body of lustful spirit. In just a moment it had already charged up to 40%. After the lustful heart awakening, his body directly blocked the sect leader's hacking kick. At that moment, the patrolling disciple who rushed over upon hearing the noise had already appeared outside the hall. Zhang Reckless made a few swift jumps, taking advantage of the hole in the roof created by the golden light just now, and quickly escaped from the sect leader's sleeping quarters. After Zhang Reckless left, the sect leader also realized that something was wrong with his body. It turned out that the true qi cultivation he had forcefully interrupted before had caused a backlash. The female disciples in the sleeping palace were all shocked and cast concerned glances. The sect leader repeatedly instructed everyone to seal off the entire sect, ensuring that the thieves could not escape from the Jade Maiden Sect. This man traverses the cultivation world without learning any cultivation techniques or arts. He relies on the sign-in system to complete tasks for physical refinement. And his first task is to sneak into the sect leader's bedroom at night to complete the check-in. But he emitted a beam of light during the check-in. This also disturbed the sect leader who was cultivating in the sleeping palace. The sect leader ordered to seal off the mountain gate and find the thief tonight at all costs. At this time, the woman in red clothes expressed that this person should not be a disciple of our sect because there is still a hint of a man sent here. When these words were spoken, everyone was surprised. You should know that the Jade Maiden Sect is a sect made up of only women. At this moment, Zhang Reckless is running wildly inside the sect. He almost ran into soldiers looking for him at a corner. He decisively jumped onto the wall and crawled into the nearest window. The room was filled with swirling mist. Zhang Reckless cautiously entered the room, praising it as a perfect place for survival. But when he reached the bottom of the room, he realized that it was actually the place where disciples of the sect soaked in medicinal baths. Instantly, Zhang Reckless' nose started gushing blood with a sizzling sound. This scene surprised cultivation disciples so much that he shouted out loud. Zhang Reckless found himself exposed to everyone's sight, causing a moment of panic where he couldn't find his way. He was then slapped with slippers and wash basins one after another into the spiritual herb pool. At this time, the leader of the guards, Zhao Ironhammer, prepared to lead people to capture Zhang Reckless because he was the most likely male suspect of the Jade Maiden Sect. Just then, she noticed someone swiftly moving on the hillside. The person is indeed Zhang Reckless, who has reached 103% of the divine body of lustful spirit. The system is continuously issuing warnings. Energy charge is full. Please release it immediately. At the same time, Zhao Ironhammer is approaching from behind and is about to catch up. Just then, 3 mythical sword sect disciples arrived after hearing the news outside the sect. Seeing this scene, the 3 of them all immediately took action, ready to knock down the masked person first. Zhang Reckless felt a wave of anger in his heart. Can you please stop causing trouble at this time? At the same time, the divine body of lustful spirit also releases a powerful golden light that shoots directly towards the 3 disciples of mythical sword. The next day, Zhang Reckless was tied up and kneeling on the ground in the main hall of Jade Maiden Sect. On the side, Zhao Ironhammer questioned Zhang Reckless sternly if he acknowledged his wrongdoing. Zhang Reckless put on a cute expression and claimed that he stayed in the security room last night and didn't know why he was in this place now. Zhao Ironhammer, who observed carefully last night, continued to question, saying, "You pretend to be innocent on the surface, but in reality, you are very skilled in techniques and arts. Judging from your performance yesterday, you seem to be at least at the marrow condensation stage 6th heaven." When this was said, the young woman in red was surprised. This doesn't seem very likely. Even you, Ironhammer, are only at the marrow condensation stage pinnacle. Zhao Ironhammer pointed at the 3 mythical sword disciples wrapped in bandages all over their bodies and said, "You 3, tell me who beat you up while you were guarding the entrance." At this moment, the 3 of them tacitly refused to admit it because if they did, it would bring shame to the sect that they were beaten up by a gatekeeper like that. Zhao Ironhammer was caught off guard by their denial. Zhang Reckless took advantage of the opportunity to point out that it was you who injured them, and then shifted the blame to me. You are really a wicked woman, mythical sword. The 3 of them, Ironhammer, unanimously admitted that it was her who took action last night. If the head guard had intervened, everything would have seemed more reasonable. The sect leader was a bit overwhelmed by the mutual accusations of the group. With a command, he directly threw the 3 intruders out of the sect. One of them hastily mentioned that he was acting on the orders of the 6 sects, but before he could finish his sentence, Ironhammer, the formidable woman, threw him out of the main hall. Zhang Reckless was planning to take advantage of the chaos to slip away, but the woman in red approached to examine his cultivation level. The result was that Zhang Reckless not only did not have reached the marrow condensation stage, but he didn't even have true qi. This further confirms that the person who acted last night was Zhao Ironhammer. Ironhammer is now unable to deny it. She directly pounced on Zhang Reckless, prepared to fight him until his true power was revealed. At the moment when Ironhammer pounced, Zhang Reckless suddenly noticed something unusual happening to his body. As her fists landed on him, the divine body of lustful spirit was unexpectedly being energized at 0% capacity. Just as the charging was about to reach 100%, the sect leader got up in time to interrupt Ironhammer's actions, and then turned around to leave the hall. Zhang Reckless also escaped a crisis of divine body eruptions as a result. At this moment, the system in his spirit sense sent a reminder that he was to be assigned check-in tasks 2 and 3. The check-in task 2 requires him to reach the main peak, majestic wave peak, of the myriad wilderness mountains within 72 hours for a location-based check-in. As for Task 3, it is an item-based check-in task where he needs to have a designated item worn by a certain woman within 72 hours. Zhang Reckless was puzzled by Task 3 as he thought whether it was when wearing a necklace or bracelet. The system reached out and handed Zhang Reckless a pair of black stockings. The host is required to wear this item on any woman within 72 hours. It should be quite reasonable for women in the cultivation world to wear a pair of black stockings. Zhang Reckless, however, found it difficult to accept the task item given by the system for the third mission, secretly cursing the system for issuing such a shameful task. But he didn't notice a black hole on the window silently staring at him. When the people outside the black hole saw the black silk in Zhang Reckless' hand, the eyes outside the black hole instantly lit up. Zhao Ironhammer smashed the door with a hammer and shouted, "Caught you!" This scared Zhang Reckless, who hurriedly stuffed socks under his buttocks. Zhao Ironhammer sternly questioned what Zhang Reckless had in his hand, but Zhang Reckless stubbornly shook his head like a tambourine. Ironhammer pressed him against the wall. "I've been watching from outside the door for half a day." But when she saw these socks up close, she became confused. And he was bumped by Ironhammer. Zhang Reckless' divine body of lustful spirit unexpectedly started charging again. He thought, "I didn't expect this thing to accumulate. I'll have to find a place to vent later." On the other side, Zhao Ironhammer had already started playing with it. "It's strange, but the elastic band is quite good." She immediately stuffed it into her pocket, saying it was very suspicious, so she confiscated it herself. Zhang Reckless wanted to explain a few words, but was tightly pressured by Ironhammer step by step. "You are quite good at pretending, making me lose face in front of the sect leader." She then pulled out a burlap bag from who knows where and stuffed Zhang Reckless into it. Stepping on her large Ironhammer, she dragged Zhang Reckless out. "Annoying brats who offend me, Zhao Ironhammer won't live past 3 days." At this moment, Zhang Reckless inside the sack was sweating profusely. Does this woman have a mental problem? Surely she won't really silence me, right? This handsome man has been tricked by the pervert system since coming to this world. Now he has encountered a crazy woman. Feels like he is going to die. At this moment, the system prompts, "Congratulations to the host for completing the second check-in task, and also receiving the transparent skill reward, which lasts for 3 minutes. Zhang Reckless was suddenly so shocked that he forgot to wipe his runny nose, and Ironhammer who brought him was also currently at the location of the second task, Majestic Wave Peak. A moment later, Zhang Reckless was digging a hole for himself with a wooden board, while continuously trying to make amends with Ironhammer. "Sister, why take it so seriously? Let's discuss things calmly." Zhao Ironhammer sat leisurely on a rock. "I have always been clear about right and wrong. Today you have 2 choices. Either I bury you in the hole, or I flatten you with 1 strike. Oh, there is a third option. Show me all your strength and defeat me." At this moment, Zhang Reckless trembled and pointed at Ironhammer, shouting, "There is someone behind you." Ironhammer sneered disdainfully, "Child's play." However, behind her, there were 2 strong men with knives ready to attack. But at the moment the weapon fell, Ironhammer leaped up in advance. Immediately after, 3 sharp arrows shot out. Ironhammer failed to dodge in time and was hit in the arm by an arrow. But she still managed to pick up Ironhammer before landing, swinging it loudly. She slammed down with a clang, causing waves of green energy to ripple through the main peak. At this moment, Ironhammer held his injured arm and shouted into the jungle, "Which coward is hiding behind and shooting me with arrows? Come out." However, the area of the previous injury was filled with spreading toxic gas. Zhang Reckless, hiding in a deep pit, felt a wave of fear. This is too ruthless. It seems that the poison on the arrow is extremely dangerous. At this time, 3 people walked out of the jungle. The leader, exotic race archpriest, chuckled strangely. "I didn't expect to see a direct disciple of the Jade Maiden Sect here. I will bury you here." At this moment, one person pointed to the pit where Zhang Reckless archpriest was already prepared for his own burial. "Since he has reserved his own burial spot, I will go take his life first." With that, he raised the double axes in his hands and intended to strike Zhang Reckless. He wanted to explain that he was just a local farmer, but it was too late. At a crucial moment, Zhao Ironhammer struck a blow to alleviate the crisis. She immediately said to Zhang Reckless, "These exotic races are mortal enemies of our human race. Their infiltration surely hides a conspiracy. I will stall them, you go back to the sect and report." Archpriest chuckled again. The staff in his hand hummed loudly, emitting a strong purple light. Under the enveloping light, Zhao Ironhammer even forgot to resist. But just as she was dazed, a golden light broke through the purple light and protected her. Zhang Reckless unleashed the divine body of the lustful spirit, holding a wooden board used for digging holes. Since we've come this far in our conversation, I can't just leave you behind and run away. He's obviously just a security guard who watches the gate for the Jade Maiden Sect. He was able to ward off the light from the exotic race archpriest's staff with just one move, and he managed to withstand this move with only 5 points of energy. At this moment, the Grand Prohibition commander ordered the exotic race soldiers around him to attack together. Zhang Reckless appears to be at ease when facing these ordinary soldiers. He was thinking it might be better to take the easy way out and just complete task number 3. However, he couldn't act too falsely. On the side, Iron Hammer watched Zhang Reckless with his heart pounding, feeling a strange sense of curiosity and couldn't help exclaiming, "What a peculiar feeling!" After resolving the matter, Zhang Reckless threw the wooden board in his hand disdainfully. "Archpriest, it's not easy for you to come here. I'll give you a chance. Use your strongest move to attack me, and I promise not to dodge." Archpriest was dumbfounded when he heard this, thinking to himself, "Is there such a good thing?" Iron Hammer beside Archpriest was even more excited, his heart pounding even more violently. Could this be the manly spirit described in novels? On the other side, Archpriest also began to gather his strength for the strongest blow. "Kid, this is what you asked for. Don't regret it." Zhang Reckless seemed a little flustered at the sight, and decided to use 30% of his energy for defense. Archpriest's giggling grew louder and louder. "Take my move, Witchcraft Ultimate Thunderous Blast Strike." Suddenly a more intense purple light shot out, instantly engulfing Zhang Reckless' barrier. However, this thing is a classic case of making a big thunder but raining a little. Zhang Reckless' divine body of lustful spirit didn't even get a chance to exert its full power before it abruptly ended. "Don't tell me this is your ultimate move." The archpriest also replied awkwardly, stammering, "That's right." Suddenly Zhang Reckless let out a miserable scream and bounced backwards, falling to the ground. He pointed at Archpriest and cursed, "Such a vicious move indeed." Then he and Iron Hammer jumped off the cliff. Archpriest thought that the delay in his increasing cultivation level was causing the power to weaken. He quickly instructed the soldiers behind him to search and pursue. In a cave at the foot of the mountain, Zhang Reckless made a pained expression while asking Iron Hammer if the black cloth taken from his room was still there. Iron Hammer quickly took out the black silk to bandage Zhang Reckless, but he was rejected with just one word. He immediately put on a very serious expression and said, "Please put it on." At the critical moment, Iron Hammer can definitely handle it. She picked up the black silk and put it on her legs but still asked doubtfully, "Is it really useful to put it on?" Facing the cave outside, Zhang Reckless was extremely excited in his heart but calmly said, "What time is it? Can I joke with you now? The fate of the entire human race is in your hands. Hurry up and put it on." At this moment, Iron Hammer has already started putting on the second leg. The more she puts on, the more amazed she is at how silky and soft the material of these socks is. And what's with that inexplicable sense of shame she's feeling? Iron Hammer made up her mind not to care anymore. The fate of the human race is the most important. And just as she finished putting on completely, with a crisp sound when she pulled her fingers out, an unprecedented, extremely strong sense of warmth, a slightly cool sense of breathability, and that sudden feeling of pressure on the buttocks surged up. At this time, the system issues a reminder. Congratulations to host number 3 for completing the check-in task. Congratulations on obtaining the charm capsule, which when used will increase the charm of a specific target by 300% for 1 hour. And during this period, sharing a room is not allowed. The host also obtained the evasion talisman, which provides a 100% evasion effect against attacks for 20 minutes. Listening to the system reminder, Zhang Reckless smiled and turned to thank Iron Hammer for his contributions to the human race. But when he turned his head to look, he was nearly shocked by Iron Hammer's amazing skills. At this moment, Iron Hammer is meticulously adjusting the position of his twisted toes. Zhang Reckless' divine body of lustful spirit instantly reaches 105% charge. His whole body is burning hot and needs to be released immediately. Watching Zhang Reckless run away from Iron Hammer, he felt warm in his heart. He actually ran away, so shyly reckless boy is truly a gentleman. Zhang Reckless didn't run far before he saw the exotic race soldiers who came to find him. He immediately condensed a ball of golden energy in his hand. "It's perfect timing for you to taste a big one." With a bang, a big and thick beam of light quickly shot out, almost scaring the archpriest's staff on the main peak. Such power is no different from the personal presence of the sect leader of Jade Maiden Sect, Empress. The old thief sternly ordered his soldiers to go to battle, claiming that the moment to sacrifice themselves for the evil god has arrived. He waited for the local soldiers to charge down the mountain, but he himself ran in the opposite direction. The soldiers had not taken a few steps before they were swept away by a golden light. They all exploded and died in an instant. Zhang Reckless delivered a flying kick directly to the archpriest's waist. The autumn limited edition Iron Hammer in black stockings who rushed over quickly shouted, "Leave one alive." Zhang Reckless looked at the archpriest who spat out a mouthful of old blood, and should still have some life left. He sat back down on his old waist and asked, "Tell me, what is the purpose of your exotic race coming here?" This man travels through the cultivation world without relying on techniques and arts cultivation. He made a fortune by completing the check-in tasks released by the pervert system. He successfully helped Ironhammer's sister put on black stockings to complete the third mission. He was also so shocked by this scene that his energy level burst. After he left, he kicked over the archpriest of the exotic race with one foot. Ironhammer rushed over when he got the news and began interrogating the archpriest. "How did you intrude into Wind-Piercing Gorge where third senior sister and fourth senior sister are guarding flawlessly? What is your purpose?" The stubborn archpriest refused to answer and chose to die in silence. But his gaze kept darting towards the hem of Ironhammer's robe. Zhang Reckless punched him in the face. "You old man, stop looking around randomly with your eyes." Under the humiliation of Zhang Reckless' punches, archpriest couldn't bear it anymore. "Torture is useless on me. My clan's rise is unstoppable." In an instant, his body was enveloped in a purple light. He shouted, "Hail evil god!" At this critical moment, Zhang Reckless summoned divine walking boots, picked up Ironhammer and ran away. 1 second before the explosion at the Forbidden City, they jumped off the main peak. 2 people watched as a large crater was blasted out of majestic Wave Peak. Zhang Reckless secretly felt shocked. These guys are really a bunch of lunatics. But my divine walking boots are also too disappointing. They turned out to be disposable. That night, inside the security room of Jade Maiden Sect, Zhang Reckless crossed his legs comfortably while humming a tune. Although Ironhammer's little sister has a hot temper, she is good in other aspects. She even confiscated the black stockings before leaving. I'm afraid she might secretly wear them to look good. But what is this exotic race after all? And where did this sign-in system of mine come from? I wonder which pervert came up with it. He was interrupted by a light sound from the system, just as he was about to think about it. "Since you are here, tell me about the exotic race." It turns out that 3,420 years ago, a war broke out between the exotic race and the human race. In the end, the exotic race was driven to the 10 forbidden lands, guarded by the land of Hua 6 sects and the fourfold divine sect respectively. Nowadays, the exotic race's vitality is gradually recovering, attempting to regain control. The team you encountered today is a secret infiltrating squad of the exotic race. Zhang Reckless is becoming more and more excited as he listens. What level is my divine body of lustful spirit at 100% then? The system conjured a stage pyramid, pointing to the position of the Grandmaster. Your current divine body of lustful spirit has a capacity of 1,300 units. When fully charged at 100%, it is equivalent to Grandmaster 6th Heaven. Zhang Reckless directly grasped the key point. Isn't it possible to upgrade the capacity of this thing? However, the system poured a bucket of cold water. It costs 100 points to upgrade every 10 units of capacity. You only have 13 points now, so you can only exchange for some books. Zhang Reckless showed little interest when hearing this. What use are books? What I want are game-changing items. Suddenly, he had a flash of inspiration and asked back, "Can any book do?" So Zhang Reckless' divine body of lustful spirit turned into a continuous charging state. The reason is that he is holding the newly exchanged manual and carefully reading it. Suddenly, he noticed a strange noise coming from outside the sect. He looked outside through the window of the security room. All of a sudden, several figures in black leaped down from the wall of sect. At this moment, the system released the task number 4 for check-in. The task category is designated as a special check-in task. Within 3 hours, you must have intimate skin contact with the sect leader of Jade Maiden Sect, Empress. Zhang Reckless nearly announced to inform all the sect members to feast after hearing the task. The system almost killed me with this task. At this moment, several dark figures hurriedly flashed through the Jade Maiden Sect. Zhang Reckless followed behind them, observing their movements, secretly muttering in his heart about what Zhao Ironhammer was up to. The defense team tonight is too lax. However, at this time, Ironhammer's sister was busy admiring herself in the mirror. She gently ran her finger along her silky hair, and even praised herself for being really beautiful. A moment later, Zhang Reckless walked cheerfully towards the Empress's grand hall. It would be reasonable for him to report the intruder to the Empress since he is a security guard. Accidentally stumbling and bumping into the Empress while reporting also seems unavoidable. Zhang Reckless became more and more excited as he thought about it, exclaiming that he was a little clever devil. However, he knocked on the door for a long time, but there was still no response from inside the house. Zhang Reckless couldn't help but feel a wave of fear. Could it be that the thieves had arrived before him? Immediately kicked open the door. Captain of the security team of Jade Maiden Sect is here. Who dares to be impudent? But inside the room, there was only Empress panting heavily due to the backlash of true qi. Zhang Reckless approached a few steps to take a closer look, thinking that Empress, with such an expression, had fallen victim to evil arts. Just then, several arrows shot rapidly towards the two of them. Zhang Reckless swiftly blocked them with his hand, causing the arrows to scatter on the ground. He looked at the arrows and found that they were all poisoned, just like the one Iron Hammer was hit with. He was convinced that the attackers tonight were sent by the exotic race. At that moment, Empress, who was still unconscious, slowly opened her eyes and saw Zhang Reckless cursing the exotic race. Just as Zhang Reckless finished cursing and was preparing to go out for battle, Empress pounced on Zhang Reckless, her slender legs tightly wrapped around his waist. Empress, who was hit by the backlash of true qi, felt exceptionally calm at this moment. She gently whispered in Zhang Reckless' ear, "Hold me tight, warm me up." Zhang Reckless' nosebleed surged at her words, thinking to himself, "What kind of wild and lascivious words are these? And what's with warm me up?" But just as he was about to forcibly separate from Empress, several soldiers from the exotic race had already rushed into the main hall, only to see one person wielding a knife and slashing at Empress, who was still holding on to Zhang Reckless desperately, refusing to let go. At a critical moment, Zhang Reckless held Empress tightly and leaped outward. At this moment, the system sent a reminder. Congratulations to the host for completing the 4th check-in task and receiving a big gift package. Do you want to open it now? In the real world, Zhang Reckless is currently holding Empress, speeding wildly. "Hey brainwave system, can't you see I'm busy right now?" The man traveled to the cultivation world without learning techniques and arts cultivation. But he became the security guard at the foot of the Jade Maiden Sect mountain. Unexpectedly, tonight the sect was suddenly attacked by the exotic race. Sect leader Empress was also counterattacked by true qi, entering a divine state. At this time, a disciple came to inform Deputy Sect leader Empress that her sleeping quarters had been attacked. Deputy Sect leader Lu Peacekeeper mobilized his true qi to fly outwards. Another attacker has come. They are really treating our Jade Maiden Sect like a market. At this moment, a group of disciples from the sect are trapped in the formation in the sky. By the time Lu Peacekeeper arrives, everyone is already lying weakly on the ground. Lu Peacekeeper suddenly felt something was wrong. This formation turned out to be the 8 Wastes Heaven Net formation. Could it be that the exotic race has reached the level of Grandmaster 9 Heaven with the purple robe archpriest in person? At this moment, Zhang Reckless broke through the wall carrying Empress. Empress in his arms was still calling out sweetly, asking to hold her tightly. Suddenly, a purple beam of light shot out, causing the two of them to fall forward. Zhang Reckless steadied his body. It seems like a formidable opponent is approaching. On the sect's main hall, an exotic race purple robe archpriest stood with a staff in hand. How strange it is to see a man in the Jade Maiden Sect. It almost jeopardized our race's great plan. Zhang Reckless chuckled. "It's not just almost, I will definitely thwart your plan." Although he said that, he knew the disparity between the enemy and us couldn't be overcome by sheer force. The surroundings were sealed off by a barrier, making it difficult to break out. Just then, Zhang Reckless waved his hand and summoned his item storage. It's better to rely on oneself than on others. Show yourself, little treasure. In purple robe archpriest's eyes, Zhang Reckless seemed to be just making gestures in the air, and he thought that Zhang Reckless was using some kind of deceiving technique. Zhang Reckless has also selected the props to use. He rummaged through his item storage and took out a transparent scroll, which he threw directly onto Empress. His plan was to use this method to hide her first. At the moment the scroll touched Empress's body, her clothes unexpectedly turned transparent, causing Zhang Reckless to be so shocked that he almost exploded. "The system, get your ass out here. I promise not to kill you." After popping up, the system asked in a cheap and sneaky manner, "What's up with Zhang Reckless?" At this moment Zhang Reckless is furious. "First, the divine walking boots you gave me were worn once and then became useless. And this transparent scroll just makes clothes transparent. Are you buying this stuff at a Taiwan store?" The system got very angry and didn't cut Zhang Reckless any slack. It gave a powerful blow, forcing her to leave the scene. When we return to reality, Purple Robe Archpriest's energy cannon will be ready. Zhang Reckless instantly charged his palm and cursed loudly. Don't you even give me time to open a big gift pack? He immediately exerted force to block the oncoming strike. The energy of the divine body of lustful spirit also rapidly decreased. The Purple Robe Archpriest let out a strange laugh and struggled in his dying moments. It's futile in the face of absolute power. At this time, the system sends out a prompt asking whether the host would like to activate the deluxe gift package now. Zhang Reckless clenched his teeth and harshly uttered 2 words. Open it up to the fullest for me. The next moment, the faint golden light instantly absorbed the dense purple aura. Zhang Reckless, holding an ancient divine weapon, the cloud-bound sword, stood proudly on the spot. This sword, transformed by human Emperor Lord Xianyuan 30 years ago, can absorb the spiritual qi of the heavens and earth to dispel evil spirits. Purple Robe Archpriest was dumbfounded upon seeing this divine artifact. Even the staff opened its mouth in shock. Why would the sword recorded in ancient texts appear in the hands of an unknown youngster like you? Zhang Reckless gripped the hilt of the cloud-bound sword tightly with both hands. I am not just some unknown youngster. I am the mighty captain of the security team of the Jade Maiden Sect. He swung his sword fiercely, and Purple Robe Archpriest quickly transformed it into a shield to block. He thought that with his cultivation level, there was no way this shield could be broken. But in just an instant, he was buried under a golden light. Along with the shattered pieces, the barrier of the 8 wastes heaven net formation surrounding his body was also destroyed. Even this sword continued to chop consecutively, breaking open the outer wall of the sect. Lu Peacekeeper outside the formation quickly gave orders for everyone to rescue the Empress. At this moment, the transparent effect on the Empress has faded away, and she is slowly standing up with the help of Lu Peacekeeper. She looks at the Empress with concern. If Zhang Reckless were to see this scene, the divine body of lustful spirit would be instantly filled with energy. The Empress shook her head, not understanding why the sect had become like this. She couldn't recall the specific details after being invaded by true qi during her cultivation. Lu Peacekeeper was shocked and asked, do you also not remember the person who defeated Purple Robe Archpriest? Empress tried hard to recall but could only remember a man who held her, evaded all the pursuit, and took a fatal blow for her. Thinking of this, the image of Zhang Reckless involuntarily appeared in Empress's mind. Could it be him? But it didn't seem quite like it. At the foot of the mountain, Zhang Reckless is limping towards the security office. The force of the sword he swung just now was too strong, and now it feels like his body has been emptied. The next day, Lu Peacekeeper came to report that the captured exotic race prisoner has confessed. It was a self-proclaimed captain who took action last night, and he also had the cloud-bound sword, which seems to be from the Xianyuan lineage. However, Empress mentioned that the Xianyuan lineage has no connection to our sect. Why would they appear here and then leave without a word? Lu Peacekeeper also expressed confusion and speculated whether it could be Zhang Reckless. She said she was going to find an exotic race prisoner for identification. Empress stopped her, saying there was no need to force someone who did not want to reveal themselves. What concerns me more is why Purple Robe Archpriest sneakily infiltrated the sect without a sound. At this moment, Lu Peacekeeper recalled that a few days ago, 3 disciples from Mythical Sword Sect came to inform that there were unusual activities among the exotic races in various sects. The Empress sneered and said, it seems that after a few years of no punishment, they have grown some courage. Pass on my order. Tomorrow, go to Wind-Piercing Gorge, and let them once again experience the terror of Jade Maiden Sect. Lu Peacekeeper agreed and prepared to send Ironhammer and 30 disciples to go. The Empress said, there's no need for that. Just you and I, plus Zhang Reckless, who will watch the gate. This man crossed over to the cultivation world without learning cultivation techniques and arts. Instead, he started to play dress-up in women's clothing. A beam of light flashed in Wind-Piercing Gorge, guarded by the Jade Maiden Sect, revealing the appearances of the 3 Empress members of the exotic race. The 3rd disciple Yin and the 4th disciple Azure Spirit knelt on the ground to greet them, who stood guard over Wind-Piercing Valley. The Empress looked cold and distant, waiting for me to find out where the loophole was. You two will take the blame when I figure it out. Behind her, a woman was continuously vomiting. This person is actually a tough guy pretending to be a lady boy. Excuse me, all the sisters, I apologize. It's the first time this lady has ridden a flying sword and feels a bit dizzy. Lu Peacekeeper hurriedly approached her and reminded her in a low voice. Disciple, there are men from other sects here. You were disguised like this to prevent chaos among the troops. Also, I cast a voice-changing spell on you, but it has a time limit. Zhang Reckless, remember not to misbehave here. Azure Spirit curiously scrutinized Zhang Reckless and asked Lu Peacekeeper about his identity. Lu Peacekeeper awkwardly smiled and introduced him as a new disciple being brought out to see the world. Just then, Empress called out for Peacekeeper, leaving only Azure Spirit and the extremely embarrassed Zhang Reckless behind. Azure Spirit looked up and down at the awkwardly laughing Zhang Reckless, who was thinking to himself, how could the deputy sect leader abandon me and run off by myself? He was worried that he would be exposed. At this moment, Azure Spirit tightly held his hand. Immediately, she stared at him with a strangely intense gaze. It turns out to be our little junior sister. I am 4th senior sister, Lovely Spirit. It's your first time at Wind-Piercing Gorge. Let sister show you around. Before Zhang Reckless could say a word of refusal, he was pulled up by a force. Just follow along with good sisters and seniors. Immediately, she led Zhang Reckless to wander around the camp and explained the current situation of Wind-Piercing Valley. At this time, Zhang Reckless inquired about the internal strength division of the exotic race Azure Spirit. With a smirk, she replied, "You're asking the right person. In the exotic race tribe, the one in a dominant position is the Archpriest. Their strength is growing stronger from ordinary purple, blue, white, yellow to red. Below are the ordinary exotic race soldiers who excel at beast command. Next are numerous fierce exotic beasts often found in the desert." Zhang Reckless walked and listened to the explanation, suddenly enlightened. No wonder the Archpriest in the sect is stronger than the one on the mountain. At this time, the two of them walked to a huge tent. Azure Spirit waved his hand and invited Zhang Reckless in, saying that he would definitely love it here. But as soon as Zhang Reckless walked in, he was almost scared out of his wits. Azure Spirit, with a calm smile, said that the hot springs of Wind-Piercing Gorge are famous far and wide. After such a long journey, let sister accompany you for a bath. With a simple and honest smile, Zhang Reckless replied, "Actually, Lovely Spirit, I'm not too tired." Unexpectedly, Azure Spirit went straight to the point. The art of speech had already stripped off its coat, inviting Zhang Reckless to join for a chat while soaking in the water. Zhang Reckless had intended to use being called Empress as an excuse to escape, but Azure Spirit was quick to catch and pull him back. With one slap, she called Zhang Reckless to the hot spring pond. "Don't worry, little sister, no one will call you here." Then her fair jade body pressed against Zhang Reckless. "Judging by your appearance, could it be that you don't want to bathe with your older sister?" The Zhang Reckless, who was pinned down by Azure Spirit, was rapidly turning his brain. Could it be that Azure Spirit has discovered my true identity, or is this person a purebred lace lover? But soon Zhang Reckless' speculation was confirmed. At this moment, Azure Spirit blushed and smirked, saying, "Senior sister, I actually quite like you." At this time, the troublemaking system sent Task 5 reminder. This task is a designated check-in task. The task is to straighten Azure Spirit out. Otherwise, the host will be humiliated and killed by 5 burly men. At this moment, Zhang Reckless' heart is extremely dark. System. You are really a cute little thing with no morals at all. Helpless Zhang Reckless took a nervous step back and thought to himself that he should confess before things become irreparable. Before Zhang Reckless could say anything, Azure Spirit sat up and her clothes fell off. "Do you think I'm not beautiful enough, little sister? My figure is among the best in the entire sect." Zhang Reckless forced himself to cover his eyes to avoid being killed by the explosion. It's over, it's over. In this situation now, dressing up as a woman is something that can't be mentioned under any circumstances. Looking at Azure Spirit's face full of infatuation, haha, the little sister still says she's not interested. "I feel like my nosebleed is about to gush out," she said as she got up and walked closer to wipe Zhang Reckless, scaring him into saying that he could do it himself. But at this moment, the voice-changing spell wore off, and Azure Spirit's voice returned to a male voice. Suddenly stunned, "Little sister, why has your voice become deeper?" Taking advantage of this moment, Zhang Reckless ran off while Lu Peacekeeper's voice-changing spell wore off, exposing everything. Suddenly, Zhang Reckless felt a sudden tightness in his neck and fell backward, even revealing 2 exposed leg hairs. Immediately, he was dragged back to the hot spring pond by a white ribbon from Azure Spirit. How could the silly girl run off to bed without taking a bath first? At this moment, Zhang Reckless stared fixedly at Azure Spirit sitting by the water's edge, giving off a sense of heroic sacrifice before going into battle. Azure Spirit grabbed Zhang Reckless' clothes and seemed to be about to help him undress. But suddenly Azure Spirit froze on the spot. "Junior sister, explain to me what's going on with the 2 cantaloupes on your chest." This man transcended to the cultivation world without learning techniques and arts cultivation. Instead, he transformed into a little pseudo-girl who is beloved by everyone. Coincidentally, fourth senior sister in the military camp does not like men. She directly pulled him to the hot spring pond to prepare for a bath. She paid no attention to his resistance and reached out to start unbuttoning his clothes. Unexpectedly, when she reached out, she pulled out a 3-pound green hummy melon. Zhang Reckless instantly broke out in a cold sweat, thinking that everything was over. Sure enough, Azure Spirit's eyes were extremely cold. He crushed the melon in his hand and said, "Why don't you take a bath with me? Sister, having small breasts is not a disease. It's not your fault. Just confidently show them off, you fool." Zhang Reckless' mood fluctuates like a roller coaster. Lovely Spirit, your ability to imagine is too strong. Azure Spirit lunged forward and hugged him tightly. Silly girl, from now on be my woman. No one will ever laugh at you again. Zhang Reckless had never seen such a considerate woman before. Naturally, his heart blossomed with joy. But right at that moment, Azure Spirit felt something was wrong. It seemed like he was being threatened by Junior Sister's hidden weapon. When she pushed Zhang Reckless forward and looked down in the direction of the hidden weapon, Azure Spirit's expression instantly turned cold, almost resembling a battlefield drenched in blood. Sister, can you tell me what this thing is? Zhang Reckless knew in his heart that once this thing happened, Lovely Spirit could never be saved. Indeed, I have wanted to tell you earlier. He hadn't finished speaking when a thick and large purple beam of light lifted him up. The women in the camp exclaimed in amazement at the magical shape. At this moment, the Empress and the other two also noticed something unusual. This kind of energy fluctuation, besides Azure Spirit, there is no other. What's wrong with her? How could she release such a powerful force? Thinking of this, Lu Peacekeeper couldn't help but be surprised, thinking to himself, "Oh, my voice-changing spell's time is up." At this moment, inside the tent, the wild youth Zhang Reckless went on a rampage. He was accidentally knocked forward by Azure Spirit's spell. He rolled directly through the crowd of disciples. Only then did everyone see that a man had sneaked into the camp. Azure Spirit followed closely, holding an artifact that emitted a terrifying energy. At this time, the system prompted that the divine body of lustful spirit was charged to 120% and needed to be released. However, Zhang Reckless remained resolute, refusing to lay a hand on women even if his body was about to explode. Azure Spirit was completely enraged. She picked up the artifact, ready to end Zhang Reckless. At a critical moment, Lu Peacekeeper conjured a barrier to resist the attack. Azure Spirit shouted hysterically, "Second sister, this person is a man, and he deceived us all." Lu Peacekeeper awkwardly indicated that she knew. "He is a servant in charge of guarding the door for the host, you can't kill him." Azure Spirit does not agree with this explanation, and is even more annoyed. Lu Peacekeeper leaned close to her ear and whispered a reminder not to make a scene. Sect leader also knows about this matter, and she has her own arrangements. Azure Spirit's eyes turned cold as she abruptly drew out her artifact. Even though he could be spared from death penalty, I must give him corporal punishment. Zhang Reckless was frightened by the situation and quickly ran away. At this moment, Empress walked slowly towards Azure Spirit, knowing that she wouldn't harm his life. Zhang Reckless was getting what he deserved for misbehaving. At this moment he was in trouble, hiding in a corner rummaging through his item storage. He wanted to find a solution quickly to calm this woman down. At this moment, a beam of light shot straight towards Zhang Reckless' vital point. Fortunately, the little brother had notified him in advance to dodge the attack. Azure Spirit followed closely, his anger not diminishing but instead growing stronger. "I have always despised men the most, and you dare to mock me. Tonight I will make you wish you were dead." In a panic, Zhang Reckless took out the charm capsule and didn't care anymore, throwing caution to the wind. The moment he swallowed the capsule, it suddenly exploded into a dazzling golden light. Azure Spirit hurriedly covered his eyes to avoid it. What is this person up to again? At this moment, Zhang Reckless' charm has increased by 300%. How does Lovely Spirit feel now? Looking again at Azure Spirit, touched by the spring breeze surrounded by flowers, her heart feels as delicate as morning dew. Why does she feel a twinge of sourness inside? The spring breeze sweeps across the blooming flowers. Her heart, like morning dew, ripples with its own will. These two sentences are absolutely spot on in describing Azure Spirit's feelings at this moment. She faces Zhang Reckless, whose charm value has increased by 300% after taking the charm capsule. Azure Spirit is making a concerted effort to demand more clarity for herself, as she has never been interested in pursuing romantic relationships with men. She continuously reminds herself not to go down that path. Unexpectedly, Zhang Reckless completely disregarded martial ethics and trapped her against the wall with a wall slam. lifting her chin gently and staring intently at her lovely face. "Lovely spirit, my sister, you said we can't do this," he whispered. Azure Spirit found herself in an unprecedented panic, her heart pounding wildly, forcing her to twist her body away and not look at Zhang Reckless. Zhang Reckless seized the opportunity to chase after and embrace her from behind, then whispered in her ear, "Lovely spirit, why are you in such a hurry to leave, little sister? Are you falling in love with my current appearance, Azure Spirit?" Lightly biting her lip, her eyes gradually became confused. She coquettishly asked Zhang Reckless to let go, as she was about to collapse. However, at this moment Zhang Reckless was feeling a bit panicked. He knew that this move was extremely powerful, but he was not sure if he could follow up properly. Should he kiss directly or push her down? Which one could perfectly follow up? In the midst of chaos, Zhang Reckless' fingers hooked onto Azure Spirit's waist. Unexpectedly, Azure Spirit gasped lightly and forcefully broke free from Zhang Reckless' embrace. Zhang Reckless was startled by the intense reaction and wondered if Lovely Spirit's excitement point was at Azure Spirit's waist. Indeed, Azure Spirit stared at Zhang Reckless' hand protecting her waist with a knowing expression. Azure Spirit lifted the fingertips of the jade hand on her waist and gently licked it, saying, "You smelly man, let me see what you are capable of." After that, she directly pounced on Zhang Reckless, continuously shouting, "If you dare to provoke me, be prepared to be crushed by me." Zhang Reckless was not only enduring the energy from the divine body of lustful spirit, but also worrying that he must not have intercourse during the period of taking the charm capsule. At this moment, Azure Spirit had already grabbed onto the remaining hem of Zhang Reckless' skirt and shouted, "Come out, big baby, and show your face." At this moment Zhang Reckless had already laid down, whimpered and exclaimed, "I did my best and have no regrets. Let the storm come more violently." But just as Zhang Reckless prepared to face the storm, Azure Spirit remained motionless and suddenly turned rigid. A wave of unprecedented shame and anger suddenly rushed in. "Zhang Reckless, what the hell did you do to me?" At this moment Zhang Reckless selling 10 pounds of cuteness is useless. Once the effects of the charm capsule wear off, he will turn into a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Azure Spirit instantly conjured a divine artifact and unleashed all their power to tear Zhang Reckless to pieces. Zhang Reckless beneath them cried out, "Sister, shall we go for corporal punishment?" At this moment, 3 barriers restricted Azure Spirit's movements. The barrier lifted her up, causing Azure Spirit to curse continuously, calling them beast and shameless, but she was unable to move her body. Behind Azure Spirit, Lu Peacekeeper and Yin stood there. It was Lu Peacekeeper who created a barrier to save Zhang Reckless. Yin asked Deputy Sect Leader Azure Spirit in confusion, "Why do you still want to save Zhang Reckless despite the humiliation?" Lu Peacekeeper explained with a sweet smile, "I didn't expect Azure Spirit to be influenced by him. If we can completely cure her, then when I cultivate as sect disciple, I won't have to worry about Azure Spirit bothering me anymore." Zhang Reckless sensed countless danger signals in his heart. Although he couldn't hear what Lu Peacekeeper and the others were saying, but he always had a feeling that something was amiss. This man crosses over to the cultivation world without learning cultivation techniques and arts. Instead, he ended up joining the battlefield with the all-female Jade Maiden Sect. Outside the wind-piercing gorge camp in the early morning, Zhang Reckless, who narrowly escaped death, stretched lazily in comfort. But he always felt like someone was watching him from behind. Just saw halfway up the mountain, Azure Spirit was pinching stones so that they clinked. Zhang Reckless was so scared that he quickly turned his head and declared, "I have to go to the outhouse." At this moment, Lu Peacekeeper lifted him up onto the rushing flying sword. Only to see several disciples flying on swords in the sky, Zhang Reckless cautiously asked, "Where are we heading to?" Unexpectedly, Lu Peacekeeper brought up the events of the previous night. "I don't know what you did to Azure Spirit, but if you can change her orientation, it will be a great achievement for you," Lu Peacekeeper said. Zhang Reckless was shocked. He never thought they wanted to straighten out Azure Spirit. Azure Spirit has a strong temperament. If she gets angry, I won't be able to protect you. If you encounter danger, you can directly seek out the sect leader. At this moment, Zhang Reckless noticed Empress, who was also flying on a sword. Her expression remained extremely cold, with a resolute gaze fixed firmly ahead. Zhang Reckless couldn't help but feel a sudden heartbeat when he saw this. Should he speak up? Although the Jade Maiden Sect is full of beauties, I only admire Empress's peerless beauty. At this time, the system sends the task of signing in for the 5th day. This task is a designated task type check-in, requiring Empress to wear the school uniform JK style within 1 day. The short sentence plunged Zhang Reckless into deep contemplation. I just glanced at Empress. Why are you messing with me like this, system? At the same time, inside a stronghold named Tural Fortress, soldiers from the exotic race were directing exotic beasts to transport wartime provisions. Suddenly, several soldiers noticed a figure swiftly approaching in the air, as Empress stood proudly in the center, surrounded by disciples casting their secret techniques. Suddenly, fireballs and ice spikes came crashing towards the stronghold. Among them, Azure Spirit was the most dedicated. She continuously conjured spells without pause, shouting, "All you smelly men better die for me." Watching such a horrifying scene, Zhang Reckless felt a shock in his heart. At this moment, Lu Peacekeeper smiled and said, "The biggest food and grain center of the exotic race frontline has been destroyed by us. This is definitely beyond their expectations, and they will surely be quiet for a while." However, Zhang Reckless thinks differently. Since the exotic race even knew when Empress went crazy, can't they guess the revenge action of the Jade Maiden Sect? Thinking of this, Zhang Reckless couldn't help but ask Lu Peacekeeper, the deputy sect leader, if there is a possibility that they not only did not act unexpectedly but instead set up a trap. Upon hearing this, Lu Peacekeeper was taken aback and murmured for a while. Then she found Empress and conveyed Zhang Reckless' speculation. The exotic race, who managed to infiltrate our sect all the way, must have anticipated retaliatory action. This place is closest to the front line and the most crucial. How could the exotic race not be prepared? At this moment, the battle maniac Azure Spirit flew over on his sword. Third sister. This man's mouth is full of lies. Not a word can be trusted, Zhang Reckless cautiously suggested. Shouldn't we discuss this in detail? Without any response, Azure Spirit simply ignored him and flew deeper into the abyss on her sword. Whether it was a trap or not, one would only find out by trying. In the blink of an eye, she flew into the stronghold, leaving no one standing wherever she went. Zhang Reckless smiled awkwardly. How much of this momentum is fueled by personal grudges? At this moment, Azure Spirit had already broken through to the grain depot. Zhang Reckless is just talking nonsense. Could it be that all these bags of grain are filled with sand? As she approached and took a closer look, sure enough, the bags were actually filled with yellow sand. Azure Spirit rushed out of the warehouse gate in a hurry to inform the sect about this matter. She was unexpectedly engulfed in a strong sandstorm as soon as she rushed out. At this time, Lu Peacekeeper also noticed the sandstorm blowing from the stronghold, while Zhang Reckless pointed to the sky. The sandstorm was nothing compared to the real trouble above their heads, as countless meteors were falling rapidly from the sky, each emitting intense flames, crashing down towards Empress and the others. Empress remained calm in the face of danger and directed everyone to open the formation, while she conjured a huge formation to protect Zhang Reckless. In the blink of an eye, the meteors had already made contact with everyone. Lu Peacekeeper, seeing them continuously falling, shouted whether they should leave this place first. Empress gritted her silver teeth tightly, and said that moving now would only result in greater losses. At this moment, Lu Peacekeeper noticed that Zhang Reckless was no longer by her side. While fending off the meteors, she also worried if he had fallen down. At this point, Zhang Reckless expended 10% of the energy of the divine body of lustful spirit as propulsion. His eyes charged towards the meteor shower like iron wall atom. "I should have let you go long ago. Now I have to clean up after you," he muttered. He looked at the top layer of the super large fire meteor and chuckled. The sandstorm obscured the view, with average-sized meteors used to distract before the final descent of the super large meteor. What a perfectly orchestrated sequence of events. "Unfortunately, you've overlooked my presence." Zhang Reckless concentrated the remaining 90% of his energy into one fist. He swiftly threw a punch, directly shattering the giant meteor used as a killer move. However, after that punch, Zhang Reckless also depleted the last of his energy. Accompanied by increasingly distant shouts, he rode a wave of freedom to soar. At this time, a pair of jade hands steadily held onto the face of the panicked Zhang Reckless. The Empress, with an air of dominance, embraced him in a princess carry. "You destroyed that huge fiery meteor just now, didn't you?" Zhang Reckless enthusiastically sucked his thumb and nodded vigorously. "That was indeed a huge one. Hey, where are you glancing with those eyes?" At this moment, the system gave a beep as a reminder, informing the host divine body of lustful spirit that it was filled with 100% energy. This man unexpectedly crossed over and gained the heart of a pervert. The system instructed him to give someone a pair of stockings. It's to let him dress up Empress in JK fashion. Just now Zhang Reckless relied on the full power of the divine body of lustful spirit. He resolved. This man unexpectedly crossed over and gained the heart of a pervert. The system instructed him to give someone a pair of stockings. It's to let him dress up Empress in JK fashion. Just now Zhang Reckless relied on the full power of the divine body of lustful spirit. He resolved the crisis of the Jade Maiden Sect being completely wiped out. Emperor exhausted his cultivation level, and was firmly caught by a princess of the Empress. But just as they landed, Lu Peacekeeper hurried to them, saying that Azure Spirit had been captured by the exotic race, and at that moment the main force of the exotic race had also attacked Wind-Piercing Gorge. The Empress couldn't help but be surprised. There seemed to be more surprises in store. It appeared that the exotic race had grown a lot. If they were to support Wind-Piercing Gorge to rescue Azure Spirit at this moment, it would probably be hopeless. At this moment, Zhang Reckless made a dazzling appearance. He, who was focused on the mission number 5, knew that this was a great opportunity. Wind-Piercing Gorge was crucial for us, and Azure Spirit was certainly in a trap set by the exotic race. We need to send someone they are not familiar with. Who should we send? It's really a tough choice. What do you think, Empress? At this moment, Empress called out for him to come over. Zhang Reckless grinned and knew that the plan was indeed working. Empress got straight to the point and said that Zhang Reckless had been hiding his true strength. She suspected that he was the one who saved her when the palace was attacked that night. Zhang Reckless scratched his head, pretending to be coy, and complimented Empress for being truly smart. Listening to Zhang Reckless' confident response, Empress thought back to her own situation that night and couldn't help but feel a bit awkward at Empress' actions became more awkward and a bit embarrassed. But she remained serious as she said, "Your strength is stronger than anyone else in the sect. If you were to rescue Azure Spirit, I would feel even more reassured." But before she could finish her sentence, Zhang Reckless suddenly leaned back, startling Empress, who quickly helped him up and asked what was going on. Zhang Reckless immediately went into full actor mode, saying that the move just now had used up all of his true chi, so he was unable to help Empress with her troubles. Of course, my cultivation of techniques and arts is quite unique. It's not difficult to recover quickly, but I'll have to trouble you for a moment. After saying that, he reached out and pulled out a brand new school uniform, JK style. If you put it on, I'll be able to resurrect at full health on the spot. Empress hesitantly touched the clothes. This outfit is indeed unique. What material is it made of? Zhang Reckless' eyes lit up at this moment. Never mind what it's made of, just put it on. Empress frowned at Zhang Reckless' urgent tone. Wearing clothes to restore cultivation level? You really think I'm a fool? At this moment, Zhang Reckless also realized that he was a bit impatient. He quickly waved his hand, insisting that he was not lying. This piece of clothing appears ordinary but conceals a mysterious array. In short, you just need to put it on and then test my inner power. Empress felt a wave of shyness. Ever since Zhang Reckless appeared, he had always been helping her. Moreover, this is just a piece of clothing. I really shouldn't have such evil intentions. Immediately, she said to Zhang Reckless, "Time is running out. I will trust you this once, but you must turn around and not peek. I will call you when I'm done changing." Empress carefully took off her outer garment, trying not to make any noise. After a moment, she couldn't help but exclaim in admiration at the material of the clothes. They are a bit tight around the chest, and the skirt is so short. Zhang Reckless finally heard the long-awaited signal to turn around. Empress's JK uniform fit perfectly on her body, and her fingers kept tugging at the hem of her skirt, afraid of revealing too much. Since Zhang Reckless turned around, he hasn't moved a muscle, but inside, it's like a million little deer are crashing around. At this moment, the system sends a prompt. Congratulations to the host for completing task number 6. Zhang Reckless suddenly bursts out with an unprecedented surge of energy. Even Empress standing by the side did not expect that what Zhang Reckless said about restoring power was actually true. A beam of light shot down from the rolling dark clouds above the stronghold, upgrading the heart of a pervert engine. At this moment, Zhang Reckless, the heart of a pervert, has become a powerful pro version. The system once again sends a prompt. Divine body of lustful spirit's capacity has been increased to 2,000 units. When fully charged to 100%, it will be equivalent to the power of Grandmaster 9 Heaven. Leave the handsome appearance of Zhang Reckless and Azure Spirit to me. I will definitely ensure her safe return to the sect. The exotic race's nest, Ancestral Mountain, is 100 miles away from this location. The Azure Spirit, who is in a coma, was cruelly dropped into midair. In the corner, Zhang Reckless, holding 2 girl-finding rulers redeemed with points, accurately located the whereabouts of Azure Spirit. At this time, several people walked into the main hall, and Single-Horned Leader laughed heartily, praising the strategist by his side for his brilliant tactics. This woman has killed countless of our disciples. When she wakes up, let the boys line up for a good time. The strategist on the side sneered, mocking. With such an opportunity to counterattack the land of Hua in front of you, You only think of venting your anger and seeking revenge. No wonder you've been stuck in this wilderness for so many years, single-horned. When single-horned leader was about to get angry upon hearing this, he was stopped by double-horned beside him. The strategist, what plan do you have? We will definitely follow it. At this time the strategist slowly said, there is a guardian spirit core placed inside the wind-piercing gorge. This is an artifact specifically designed to counter the exotic race. Once the exotic race enters its range, their strength will be greatly reduced. Doublehorn's face turned ferocious upon hearing this. We have tried countless methods, but none have been able to destroy the spirit core. This is the biggest obstacle on our path to revitalization, he said. The strategist then pointed to the azure spirit hanging in midair. The opportunity is right in front of us. By using curses to control the azure spirit's mind, we can discreetly destroy the spirit core after sending her back without anyone noticing, he suggested. Singlehorn praised the plan. That's brilliant. Indeed, when it comes to cunning and ruthlessness, your human race is truly unmatched. The more Zhang Reckless in the corner listened, the more he felt chills down his spine. It seems that all these schemes of the exotic race are orchestrated by this person. As a member of the human race, assisting the exotic race is truly disgraceful. At this moment, the leader of the exotic race is ready to implant the puppet curse. Everyone cast their spells to condense a dark purple barrier. Azure Spirit's jade body is gradually being eroded by the dark energy, emitting a series of tragic and miserable screams. Zhang Reckless gathers energy in his palms. At this moment he can no longer hide. He truly can't bear to see Azure Spirit continue to suffer. 2 energy cannons blast towards the roof above Azure Spirit. Seeing this scene, the crowd of the exotic race thought that the Empress had arrived and quickly withdrew the formation, preparing to resist. Just then Singlehorn shouted and Azure Spirit ran away. Doublehorn's face turned cold. Azure Spirit was affected by my soft bone weakening powder, and won't regain strength within 3 hours. The reinforcements are coming only to rescue, they dare not fight us head-on. It seems that it's not the Empress, there must be another person behind this. Within the nest of the exotic race lies the ancestral mountain. Zhang Reckless is driving wildly with Azure Spirit. The unconscious Azure Spirit recognizes Zhang Reckless and grumpily says, I don't need your help. At this moment a huge 5-eyed giant bug rushes out from around the corner. Zhang Reckless' footsteps never stop, depleting the energy of the divine body of lustful spirit. What the heck, get out of my way. However, after one strike, Zhang Reckless felt that something was amiss. Accompanied by a miserable howl, the two fell beneath the freshly broken ground. The two broke through several walls and fell into a new space directly. Azure Spirit was hit by this blow, gasping softly and falling back. She was not hurt badly by this hit and was able to sit up quickly. However, Zhang Reckless, who witnessed this scene, felt as if he had suffered a 10-level internal injury. At this time, shouting from the exotic race soldiers overhead gave them no time to catch their breath. They had to continue running. Zhang Reckless grabbed Azure Spirit and hurried into the cave. This cave was labyrinthine, so it wouldn't be easy for them to find us either. As the two ventured deeper into the cave, Zhang Reckless couldn't help but express his confusion about where the green light was coming from. It looked eerie. Just then, Zhang Reckless exclaimed and stopped in his tracks. They saw a giant cave filled with layers of dry bones. The walls were inscribed with holy resting place of our ancestors. At this time the system sent a prompt congratulating the host on reaching the hidden mission location and completing the check-in, receiving the reward of the celestial alchemy tome. At this moment Zhang Reckless stood still blankly, accepting the system to load the scripture into his brain. After a moment Zhang Reckless' head ached and he screamed in pain. The system then reminded him that he had mastered all the knowledge points of the celestial alchemy tome. Soon Zhang Reckless turned his head to comfort Azure Spirit, saying, I'm fine, lovely spirit, you are so concerned about me. Could it be that you have fallen in love with me? Azure Spirit was so scared that her heart was pounding rapidly. What nonsense are you talking about? You are so annoying. She then turned around pretending to be angry. Men are all crazy in the head. Let's go our separate ways from here on. But she hadn't taken a few steps when she noticed that Zhang Reckless hadn't followed. She suddenly panicked, hurried back to the entrance of the cave, and asked in dissatisfaction, Why haven't you left yet? At that moment, Zhang Reckless was already fascinated by the huge bones in front of him. Azure Spirit, come and take a look. The remains of the ancestors of these exotic races turned out to be top-grade medicinal materials referred to as soul bone in the alchemy tome. The light in the cave is all the spiritual chi lost from the soul bones. At this moment, Azure Spirit noticed several exotic race soldiers rushing towards the corridor. However, these people hesitated to enter and stood at the entrance because of the rules passed down from their ancestors. They could only enter the ancestral nest at specific times. They shouted for Zhang Reckless and the two of them to come out. Zhang Reckless slyly conjured a fireball on his fingertip and warned you not to act rashly. The spiritual chi here is abundant. You know what will happen if this fireball is released, right? Singlehorned was so frightened that he nearly kneeled down, shouting repeatedly, "Let's talk about it." Doublehorned, being more alert, gestured to the exotic race behind him, preparing to cast remote curses. Zhang Reckless turned around and boasted to Azure Spirit, "How about it, have you fallen in love with me?" A fireball flicked in his hand, ready to seize them, but unexpectedly a gust of wind blew by and directly blew the fireball away. Zhang Reckless was so scared that he immediately appeared a phantom and shouted, "It's over." Singlehorned and Doublehorned were even more panicked, and Singlehorned was so distraught that he started crying and apologizing to his ancestors. At this moment, Zhang Reckless, like a monkey plucking the moon from the water, skillfully caught the fireball back onto his palm. Everyone took a deep breath in unison. "Young hero, you are truly humorous," they exclaimed. Zhang Reckless struck a confident pose, basking in the adulation of the crowd. However, the fireball slipped once again. Watching the fireball about to land on the skull, Azure Spirit chuckled and reassured everyone. "Don't worry, Zhang Reckless is just fooling around." Upon seeing this, Zhang Reckless hastily summoned the system and quickly stored the soul bone into the storage space. At this time, the system sent a prompt indicating that storage permission is currently not activated. To activate it, points need to be paid. 3 points for a monthly subscription, 30 points for an annual subscription with discounts for new customers and so on. Zhang Reckless is extremely anxious, like having a fire on the eyebrows. "This damn system, stop talking and quickly activate the annual subscription for me." The next moment, a strong suction force pulled the dry bones in. Soon the entire cave became empty. Fortunately, he rescued in time and did not waste anything. He then turned to the bewildered crowd of the exotic race and said, "Please rest assured, the remains of your ancestors are intact." Before he could finish pretending, a group of exotic race soldiers shouted and charged towards him. Zhang Reckless, along with Azure Spirit, started fleeing again. This man not only danced on other people's graves, he almost burned everything to ashes with a fireball. Fortunately, the system has a yearly storage space subscription, so he was able to absorb all the dry bones. The exotic race outside the door didn't care about any ancestral rules anymore. They all shouted to kill these two people. In a panic, Zhang Reckless randomly chose a cave entrance to enter. At this moment, a very strong black smoke from the single-horned behind rushed towards the two people. Without caring, Azure Spirit shouted not to block Zhang Reckless and formed a bright ball of light to shoot out. With a loud bang, the two forces collided. A strand of black energy from the single-horned also shot out. The black energy pierced through Zhang Reckless' body. At the same time, a powerful energy fluctuation caused the collapse of the cave entrance. Single-horned cursed fiercely, but faced with so many giant rocks, he was helpless as well. At this moment, Doublehorn chuckled oddly and said, "They actually stumbled into the mysterious stone cave by accident. There is no way out, they can only be tormented to death by our curses inside." Inside the cave, Azure Spirit carefully examined Zhang Reckless' body. This single-horned is a white-robe archpriest. His curses are extremely vicious and virtually impossible to defend against. Zhang Reckless looked around and saw only one cave entrance. He decided to first find a way to counter the curses before seeking an opportunity to break through the stone gate. At this moment, Zhang Reckless suddenly remembered the puppet curse that Azure Spirit had suffered and quickly asked if your body was okay. Little did Zhang Reckless expect that Azure Spirit would tilt her body back, lightly biting her finger and coyly reply, "I'm fine, Zhang Reckless." Zhang Reckless couldn't help but be startled as his nosebleed uncontrollably started flowing. "Wait, lovely spirit, can you really call this being okay? Could it be that you are affected by the curses?" Looking at Azure Spirit again, her expression became even more unrestrained. "I'm fine, just feeling really hot all over." Outside the stone gate, the exotic race was busy setting up the formation under the leadership of White Robe Archpriest Single-Horned. The mysterious stone gate has a damage reduction effect. We must go all out to make them bleed from all 7 orifices and perish inside. At this moment, Zhang Reckless has almost been tormented to death by Azure Spirit, bleeding from all 7 orifices. He shouted, "Azure Spirit, snap out of it. This is not the time to be thinking about this." He continued to wildly kick out while trying to persuade Azure Spirit to cheer up. At this moment, an idea flashed in his mind. "I could use the soul bones I just collected to refine some artifacts." But in his moment of distraction, Zhang Reckless almost walked into Azure Spirit, who was about to pounce on him with a king's posture. She gently breathed warm air into Zhang Reckless' ear and said, "Can you help me? I'm really feeling unwell right now." Then she unexpectedly grabbed Zhang Reckless' hand and touched it to her side waist. Immediately, Azure Spirit let out a scream that only those in the know would understand. Zhang Reckless never expected her to make such a move. She actually took the initiative to let me touch her sensitive areas. Who can handle this kind of thing? Just as Azure Spirit regained his strength, he was about to fiercely bite his lips. Zhang Reckless timely knocked Azure Spirit unconscious with a knife hand strike, panting heavily and exclaiming how close it was. "I'm sorry, lovely spirit. Even though men cannot resist a seductive embrace, a true man should never take advantage of someone in a vulnerable situation. The system now prompts. Energy levels at 180%. Please release energy immediately." "Don't worry. The system will soon release the energy." Zhang Reckless then opened the item storage and clicked on the soul bone. He extracted 1% of the soul bone from the space. He then began the refining process according to the secret technique in the Celestial Alchemy Tome. After a moment, Singlehorned pressed his ear against the stone door, and found that there was no movement inside. He thought it had gone silent. Just as he was about to order the others to break open the stone door, everyone behind him noticed that the stone door emitted bursts of bright light. The next moment, with a bang, the stone door burst open, directly blasting the exotic race outside the door several meters away. Doublehorned was the first to react, commanding everyone to activate the formation and use curses to attack. Zhang Reckless, dressed in full armor, remained calm. He held onto the panicked Azure Spirit tightly and warned, "I suggest you all refrain from using curses. Do you think these tactics will work against our ancestors?" Doublehorned was greatly shocked to see this scene. How is this possible? Why were all the curses deflected? Zhang Reckless snapped his fingers in a very showy manner. "Refining these 2 sets of armor only consumed 30% of my energy. I'm feeling uncomfortable holding back now." Then Zhang Reckless condensed an incredibly huge fireball. "It's now up to you all. Accompany me and release all your frustrations." With a single strike from him, the entire exotic race ancestral mountain collapsed. Above the sky, Azure Spirit in Zhang Reckless' arms gradually regained consciousness and repeatedly asked what had just happened. "The puppet curse affecting you seems to induce seduction. You were kissing and biting me just now. Fortunately, I refined 2 sets of evil-repelling soul armor that can counter curses, which saved both of our lives." Upon hearing this, Azure Spirit fell into contemplation. The curses of the exotic race only disturb the mind and do not have a seductive effect. If it disturbed my mind, why did I not kill him? Instead, I feel like doing that kind of thing to him. At the same time, the exotic race corpses lay scattered all over Wind-Piercing Gorge. Lu Peacekeeper anxiously asked Empress if she should go support Zhang Reckless, but Empress calmly stated that he had already succeeded. Just now, the exotic race completely retreated not because of our actions, but because they received orders. Just as the words fell, a figure that was swaying suddenly fell to the ground with a slap. As the smoke dispersed, it was Zhang Reckless and Azure Spirit. In the chaos, Zhang Reckless startled Azure Spirit, who screamed repeatedly. A moment later, inside the military tent, Empress asked how Zhang Reckless managed to restrain curses. Zhang Reckless, while instructing to make another dish of tomato and egg stir-fry, responded, "I'm talented, you know. I was born with a divine body." When that white-robe archpriest realized I wasn't afraid of curses, everyone was stunned. Before heading out, I casually bombed their ancestral mountain. After listening to all of Zhang Reckless' narration, the 2 individuals fell into deep contemplation. The military advisor of the exotic race knowing about the Guardian Spirit Corps is definitely not an ordinary person. We must investigate thoroughly and find out this traitor to punish them severely. This man not only made armor out of the bones of the ancestors of the exotic race, he also turned around and bombed the ancestral mountain that had been worshipped for generations, while Zhang Reckless carefully replayed the strategy of the exotic race inside the tent. The military advisor of the exotic race could clearly know when the Empress went crazy, and that the core of Wind-Piercing Gorge seemed to be a very familiar person from the Jade Maiden Sect, but sounded like a man. Could it be that he used a voice-changing spell? Just then he noticed a scent of aphrodisiac drifting in the air. "It seems that the mole is making a move on me." Zhang Reckless closed his eyes pretending to be asleep. At this moment, a dark shadow quietly stuck out its head. I saw Azure Spirit quietly approaching him. She took 2 steps to reach his side, then extended a pair of magic claws, scaring Zhang Reckless as if he thought he was going to be punished again. Unexpectedly, Azure Spirit agilely mounted him in one move. She grabbed Zhang Reckless' hands tightly and pressed them against her waist. Azure Spirit suddenly felt exhilarated as if he had taken a stimulant, filled with ecstatic joy in his heart, feeling this sensation to be truly remarkable. She immediately bent down, leaning against Zhang Reckless' chest, caressing as she scolded the bad man affectionately. At this moment, Zhang Reckless looked at Azure Spirit in horror. The last 2 times when she threw herself into my arms were in moments of losing control. This time she actually let me touch her voluntarily. Could it be that she? And at that moment Azure Spirit finally said those words. Why did I fall for you? Ding! The system issued a prompt. Congratulations to the host for completing the Day 5 check-in task and obtaining the one-hit kill gloves. It guarantees a 100% kill rate against any enemy and can be used 3 times. Zhang Reckless became even more relaxed when he heard this. One-hit kill sounds really satisfying. Just then, Azure Spirit came up with another bad idea. Why not take a good look at what the big treasure looks like in the painting while he's asleep? This statement directly shattered Zhang Reckless' worldview. But before he could get up, Azure Spirit reached for his pants leg, ready to pull. Just then, shouts came from outside the military tent, claiming that the exotic race had arrived. Outside the camp, Doublehorned raised a white flag and shouted, I come in peace, seeking an audience with Jade Maiden Sect Empress on the hill. The 3 empresses looked down at Doublehorned Lu Peacekeeper in confusion. Could it be that this time the exotic race really wanted to surrender? The Empress remained calm and smiled, seemingly intimidated by Zhang Reckless. She thought we had developed an artifact to resist curses. Take him to the main camp and call Zhang Reckless as well. Azure Spirit, who was the party involved inside the main tent, was exceptionally excited. Weren't you very arrogant before? Didn't you want to destroy our spirit core? Doublehorned was so scared that he kept claiming it was all a misunderstanding. He came this time only to seek peace and hopes the Empress will spare our clan. Outside the camp, we have prepared 30 wagons of blue crystal as a gift. Please accept it. Upon hearing this, Lu Peacekeeper was taken aback. You should know that blue crystal is a specialty of the exotic race, who are known for the saying, 1 blue overpowers 10 dawn. Even the Jade Maiden Sect only has a few caddies of it. At this moment, Zhang Reckless coldly snorted. Thinking this little thing can buy our lives? They really take us for beggars. The most surprised to see Zhang Reckless come out was Azure Spirit. After being drugged by my sedative, he should at least sleep until morning. Could it be that he's just pretending to sleep? And Zhang Reckless is also walking slowly towards Doublehorned, threatening to hand over their dog-headed military advisor if they want to survive. Also, explain how the team that attempted to assassinate the Empress entered the sect. After hearing Zhang Reckless' words, Lu Peacekeeper also regained his senses and thought to himself that Zhang Reckless was still calm. He almost lost his mind to those blue crystals. Doublehorned is most afraid of Zhang Reckless. He quickly put on a smile and said, I only know that the person claimed to be Nether. He led us through a secret passage 30 miles away to enter the sect. Zhang Reckless pretended to hold a pistol against Doublehorned's head. Is the person now a man or a woman? Tell me clearly. Doublehorned, frightened, kept saying he didn't know where the person was, but he was sure it was a man. Upon hearing this, Zhang Reckless' gaze turned cold. If it's confirmed to be a man, then it's not a member of the sect. Who could it be then? In the end, Doublehorned handed over an additional 10 carts of blue crystal before being released. Lu Peacekeeper immediately praised Zhang Reckless as a talented individual, and then informed the Empress sect leader of the incident where Azure Spirit's orientation was changed by Zhang Reckless. You should have seen the sweet look in Azure Spirit's eyes when looking at Zhang Reckless. At this moment, the Empress glared at her fiercely and menacingly. She then turned around and left without looking back, leaving Lu Peacekeeper puzzled with a question mark hovering over his head. She wondered, I didn't say anything wrong, so why did she suddenly turn hostile? Meanwhile, inside the training room of Wind-Piercing Gorge, Zhang Reckless was lying directly on a pile of blue crystals. However, he just asked for 10 more carriages of blue crystals, and each of them looked extremely happy. I really don't understand what these women are thinking. At this moment, the system sent out a prompt. Task 7 sign-in task is now available. The task type is a designated task sign-in. Wait for the next person entering the training room to put on OL uniform. Just after the system released the task, a sound of footsteps could be heard outside the training room. Zhang Reckless secretly anticipated who this cute person could be. At this moment, third discipling one walked in. Zhang Reckless felt delighted. This mission is simply a piece of cake. Anyway, she can't see it. Just complete it casually. At this moment, Yin sat on the stone steps and slowly took off his coat. Zhang Reckless quickly covered his eyes with his hands, but it seemed like he didn't cover them completely. At this point he couldn't let her know that I was next to her. It seems that this task can only be postponed for now. A man must make her wear a uniform dress within 3 days, or he will be struck by lightning and die. Thought she couldn't see with her eyes, so he could easily deceive her into wearing it. Unexpectedly, she changed her clothes in front of the man. But he originally planned to slip away quietly while she wasn't paying attention. Unexpectedly, this person has exceptionally sharp hearing. She suddenly shot out a laser beam, almost hitting him in a vital spot. Zhang Reckless tried hard to stifle any sound, transforming Qi into a sword. Yin is quite ruthless indeed. After the strike, Yin noticed that there was no movement. So he continued to remove his eye mask. After the eye mask was removed, a pair of clear and bright eyes were revealed. Zhang Reckless stared at these eyes, feeling mesmerized. It's such a pity that such beautiful eyes cannot see. At this moment, Empress lifted the tent flap and walked in. Yin, please step out for a moment. Yin agreed and quickly changed clothes. Meanwhile, Zhang Reckless was so frightened that he wanted to find a place to hide. Slowly inching towards the tent flap, he leaned against the wall and moved a little bit. Although Yin seemed harmless, she had mastered the integration of martial arts and swordsmanship, with the unbeatable move Heartless Sword. If you dare to provoke her again, don't expect me to save you. Empress then sat down on the stone steps and patted the seat next to her, beckoning Zhang Reckless to come over. I have a matter to seek your advice on. You also know that our Jade Maiden Sect is one of the 6 sects. However, due to the fact that our sect consists solely of women, we are often oppressed by the other 5 sects. I just received news that the annual martial arts assembly will be held in 3 days. And now, first disciple is in seclusion, second disciple Lu Peacekeeper and 6th and 7th disciples need to guard the sect. 4th disciple Azure Spirit needs to stay and oversee Wind-Piercing Gorge. This time we can only bring along 3rd disciple Yin and 5th disciple Ironhammer. Jade Maiden Sect has ranked at the bottom for 3 consecutive years. If we don't perform well this year, we might fall out of the top 6 sects. Zhang Reckless asked in confusion, isn't it a bit redundant to have 3 people guarding the sect? Both 6th and 7th disciples can go. Empress sighed and replied, you will understand once you see the 2 of them. They cannot be easily released from the sect. In addition, because the conference has been moved up, we can't wait for first disciple to come out of seclusion. After much consideration, I'm afraid there is only one solution. 3 days later at the main peak of Cloud Soaring Sect, Cloud Soaring Peak. Outside the main hall, a disciple of Cloud Soaring Sect shouted, Sect leader of Jade Maiden Sect, June Mythical Jade, and the participants Yin Zhao Ironhammer, and Zhang Little Reckless, please come in. The sect leader of Cloud Soaring Sect warmly greeted and said, please have a seat. At the same time, the maid beside him pointed to the tables and chairs in the corner saying, please. Zhao Ironhammer was the first to object. What do you mean by this? Are you asking us to sit in this corner or on these broken chairs? At a glance, Zhang Reckless could tell that this was intentional troublemaking. He reached out to stop her and said, I had heard that the Cloud Soaring Sect was facing financial difficulties. Now that I see for myself, it truly seems quite humble. Thankfully, our Jade Maiden Sect brought our own tables and chairs. He immediately conjured up a luxurious table fit for a president, which could be exchanged for with points. And he walked up to the chair, pulled it out, inviting the sect leader to take a seat. Seeing this scene, the other 5 sects intended to show their power to the Empress. Instead, they ended up getting their faces smeared with a pile of horse manure. At this moment, a disciple pointed at the Jade Maiden Sect and shouted, is this where you can sit? However, the sect leader beside him stopped him. I saw that this person looked very lewd. The excitement they caused tonight is just a show of bravado. The real show will start tomorrow during the martial arts competition. The next day at the 6 sects martial arts competition, the first round of the elimination matches was between Jade Maiden Sect and Myriad Manifestations Sect. In the first match, Yin from Jade Maiden Sect competed against Ling Azure Cloud from Myriad Manifestations Sect. The winner of this round automatically advances to the next match, until one side has all 3 participants defeated. Zhang Reckless looked at the players from Myriad Manifestations Sect on the stage and couldn't help but sigh. Isn't it a bit exaggerated to wear armor into battle? Ironhammer commented from the side. Their sect is known for being robust. In a battle against them, our sect completely fails to gain an advantage. And every year the order is decided by drawing lots. Yet, every year we end up facing Myriad Manifestations Sect in the first round. On the arena, Ling Azure Cloud charged straight ahead as if ignoring One's attacks. At that moment, Iron Hammer explained once again. Their armors are all made of top-grade minerals, and third senior sister cannot attack the head. It seems difficult to win. In the blink of an eye, Ling Azure Cloud moved in and struck down One. While dodging, 3 sword lights emerged. All 3 sword lights struck towards one point, unexpectedly causing a breach in the armor. At that moment, One suddenly felt a buzz in his brain. 2 myriad manifestation sect disciples were seen below the stage, each holding a dazzling resonance stone, making buzzing noises as they clapped, using this to disrupt One's hearing. Her hearing being disturbed, she soon took a punch and was directly knocked off the ring by a powerful brute force. Ling Azure Cloud had a smug grin on his face, chuckling sinisterly. The Jade Maiden Sect is nothing but a bunch of trash. Who's next? Hurry up and come forward. Do you know about the martial arts competition in the cultivation world? What is the experience like to have a physical cheat in the cultivation world martial arts competition? After Ling Azure Mountain relied on cheating to defeat One, he became even more arrogant in his behavior. This also led Zhao Ironhammer to jump onto the stage. This time she even deliberately wore black stockings, hoping to bring herself good luck. On the stage, Zhao Ironhammer swung the iron hammer loudly, but Ling Azure Mountain easily dodged such a big move. Ironhammer became more and more angry, and desperately swung backwards to unleash the strongest blow. There was a sudden muffled sound, and the hammer and fist fiercely collided with each other. But in an instant, cracks appeared on the surface of the iron hammer. The next second, the entire hammerhead shattered with a rumble, and Zhao Ironhammer was pushed by the force and flew several meters away. Under the arena, One caught the unconscious Ironhammer. At this time, the voice of the host came, asking if the Jade Maiden Sect, which has already lost 2 games in a row, wants to continue. At this moment, Zhang Reckless is extremely angry. Not only did you provoke our One, but you also hurt our most beloved Ironhammer. Third senior sister, you should go rest first. I will handle the rest. The sect leader of Myriad Manifestation Sect on the viewing platform is laughing uncontrollably. I suggest that you all just forfeit. A mere disciple like me defeating all of you is too embarrassing to spread around. Ling Azure Cloud on the stage is being extremely arrogant. Just kowtow to me and get lost. Don't try to show off in front of me as an unknown soldier. Zhang Reckless was directly amused by these 2 fools. He wore the one-hit kill gloves and said, "Did you put a strengthening charm on your hands? Being a prostitute but still wanting to set up a memorial arch for chastity. You are really shameless." Ling Azure Cloud shouted, "I didn't bring that kind of thing." He swung his fist with the strengthening charm towards Zhang Reckless. Upon seeing this scene, the sect leader of Myriad Manifestation Sect was absolutely delighted. Hey, don't end it so quickly. At least give Jade Maiden Sect some face. But the next second, Ling Azure Cloud was directly blasted up into the clouds. Zhang Reckless casually threw a punch without even looking back, saying, "Compared to me, everyone else cheats. I have never been afraid of anyone." Sect leader of Myriad Manifestation Sect is currently feeling like an injured pug, enduring merciless humiliation. A moment later, Ling Azure Cloud was dragged away like a dead dog. Zhang Reckless adjusted the gloves with only 2 uses left, feeling great pleasure from punching a kid. At this moment, a windfire will rushed onto the stage, and the host's enthusiastic commentary could be heard. Here it is. Qin Fu's unbeatable move, the invincible windfire wheel. Look, Qin Fu focuses all his power on defense, combined with extremely high speed. It's simply unbeatable. The audience witnessed this and thought, Zhang Little Reckless is done for this time. The next moment, the host's voice abruptly stopped. Your pose looks cool, but don't strike it again next time. After winning 2 consecutive matches, Empress also acted like an old yin and yang person. I must apologize, my disciple was a bit heavy-handed, making the sect leader of Myriad Manifestation Sect furious. He shouted, Steel, get up there. Suddenly, a fighter with the word Steel on his chest appeared on the stage. You do have some skills, but unfortunately you have met me, he said. Seeing this person on stage, the sect leader of Cloud Soaring Sect was also surprised. How did you even manage to invite unbeatable golden body, Brother Steel? The sect leader of Myriad Manifestation Sect seems to be getting a bit too cocky again. Yes, Steel's unbeatable golden body is so powerful that even I am not confident in defeating him. Looking at Steel at this moment, he has already displayed the diamond indestructible at full power, radiating dazzling golden light. The inner energy he condensed is becoming stronger and stronger. Zhang Reckless casually threw out a punch. Steel, is your diamond indestructible really that powerful? Unexpectedly after the punch, Steel's expression remained unchanged. He snorted coldly, about to say a few words. Just then he suddenly spit out a mouthful of old blood. His whole person seemed to have been struck by lightning, receiving a 10th grade internal injury. Zhang Reckless turned his back on steel again, unwilling to see the convulsing flesh ball. Does this mean that even if we win? As the host announced the victory of Jade Maiden Sect, the sect leader of Myriad Manifestation Sect fainted with anger, while the Empress' eyes gleamed. Zhang Reckless, this kid really has some skills. Ironhammer's sister's love for black silk is definitely obvious to all. Even during Zhang Reckless' rest time slots, Ironhammer can still come up with some new tricks. Just saw Ironhammer leaning sexily against the door frame. Zhang Reckless, what do you think of my improved pants? Zhang Reckless exclaimed after seeing it. This is too awesome. Ironhammer, you're truly a self-taught genius. At that moment, Zhang Reckless sensed a familiar disturbance in true qi. At this moment, Ironhammer pouted and said, we were able to advance this time thanks to you. You can choose how to relax tonight, and I will follow your lead. However, as soon as she struck a cool pose, Zhang Reckless was nowhere to be seen in the room. At the same time, Empress was heard gasping in the room. Zhang Reckless leaned against the doorframe and looked inside. It seemed like trouble was brewing. This was the territory of the cloud-soaring sect. He needed to come up with a plan quickly. But as soon as he took 2 steps inside, Empress pounced on him. This time Zhang Reckless clearly had more experience. While gently comforting you that you can do whatever you want, he called out for the system in his spirit sense. Zhang Reckless kept asking the system why Empress always relies on me every time she goes astray. Is it because of my divine body of lustful spirit? Yes, Empress cultivates the Jade Maiden profound scripture, an ancient divine technique. After reaching a bottleneck, it's easy to go astray, resulting in the loss of techniques and arts in the best-case scenario, or total annihilation in the worst-case scenario. Zhang Reckless didn't expect it to be this serious and urgently asked how to preserve his golden core. Is there a spiritual elixir or something similar that can be exchanged with points? However, the system had a smirk on its face. It suggested that saving her is actually very simple and requires no props. Your divine body of lustful spirit belongs to Yang, while her Jade Maiden profound scripture belongs to Yin. If you want her to completely break through the bottleneck, the only way is for you to engage in dual cultivation with her. In reality, Zhang Reckless picked up Empress and walked slowly towards the bed. The system kept reminding through spirit sense that as long as they engage in dual cultivation, she can be saved. Have you made up your mind? Hesitation leads to defeat. When Zhang Reckless slowly untied Empress's ribbon, the system's tone became noticeably cheerful. That's right, I will provide technical support for you. But the next moment the system froze directly. I saw Zhang Reckless pouring the sun energy of the divine body of lustful spirit into Empress. Although I am not a saint, a man would never take advantage of someone in a weak moment. Since the greatest danger lies in the golden core, I repaired hers. With each shout from Empress, Zhang Reckless also depleted his last bits of energy. The system urgently reminded, once your divine body of lustful spirit is depleted, it will take at least a few hours to recover. You will become disabled. How can you compete in tomorrow's match? A moment later, Empress slowly regained consciousness, realizing that she not only survived the crisis, but her golden core had become even stronger. At this moment in Empress's mind, the figure of Zhang Reckless involuntarily appeared. Could it be that you saved me again this time? At the same time, Zhang Reckless was struggling to walk back, leaning on the wall. Damn this system. You didn't even mention that the price of depleting energy is kidney pain. The system scolded unkindly. It serves you right to be in pain. You don't even want a beautiful woman who comes to you. Zhang Reckless was speechless. You definitely have some serious issues. I don't have dual cultivation, and you are so impatient. Go home and watch Pornhub if you want. Not only that, but you always assign me some weird tasks to do. Zhang Reckless pushed open the door while thinking about it. When he pushed the door and looked inside, he found Yin sitting in the room, asking him where he went so late. Zhang Reckless scratched his head awkwardly and casually said he went to the toilet because of an upset stomach. Yin didn't pay much attention, got up to meet Zhang Reckless, and prepared to discuss tomorrow's tactics. But when Yin passed by Zhang Reckless, suddenly realized that something was wrong. She abruptly turned around and asked, "Why does the smell on you seem so familiar?" Zhang Reckless thought to himself, "This is the scent of the Empress." Then he lied, claiming it might be incense used in the restroom. Yin followed up with a swift leg sweep. "Don't move. This is a scent I encountered a long time ago." Zhang Reckless was getting more and more flustered, thinking quickly to change the topic. So he hurriedly spoke up saying, "By the way, Sister Yin, can you really not see with your eyes? Maybe I can help you get better. Sure enough, Yin did not continue the previous topic, thinking to herself, Zhang Reckless is quite mysterious. Maybe he really can help me get better. She immediately reached out to take off the hanging eye mask. Zhang Reckless saw Yin's eyes up close this time and was once again shocked. These watery big eyes are so bright. Why can't they see? The blind girl has been wearing eye masks to cover her eyes for more than a decade. And today Zhang Reckless is going to test her vision. He looked at Yin in front of him, who could roughly indicate the direction. Zhang Reckless made a judgment in his heart. Big sister, where are you blind? You are just severely nearsighted. Zhang Reckless immediately entered the spirit sense and asked the system if there were suitable glasses for Yin. The system, unexpectedly, was completely disheartened and ignored Zhang Reckless. He sighed helplessly. Well, I was planning to cure her eyes first and then have her wear an OL uniform. Since it's not possible, then there's nothing I can do. In reality, Zhang Reckless couldn't help but smile at the glasses in his hand. This trick really worked against the perverted system. He then walked to Yin's side and carefully put on the glasses. Did Yin feel like the world had suddenly become brighter? Yin widened her eyes curiously. She had never thought that the world could be so clear. Zhang Reckless, you are amazing. Zhang Reckless chuckled triumphantly. Let me tell you, I am the son of a miracle. Wear it tomorrow and you will surely catch them off guard. Yin looks even cuter and more charming with the glasses on. She bowed and thanked profusely, saying, I am so grateful. I don't know how to thank you enough. At this moment, Zhang Reckless quickly replied, Of course. Yin was taken aback by the unexpected speed of repayment. All of a sudden, Zhang Reckless effortlessly conjured a set of office lady uniform. Can you put on this outfit and let me have a look? Yin curiously scrutinized the unfamiliar style like a curious baby. Why should I put it on? Zhang Reckless scratched his head and came up with a white lie. I want to give it to a friend. You have a similar body shape, so I want you to try it on to see if it looks good. Yin sweetly smiled in agreement. Wait a moment, I will go change right away. A moment later, Yin pushed open the door and said, Zhang Reckless, I'm ready. Are you sure our body shapes are similar? I feel like this outfit is really small. Zhang Reckless' face showed a trace of nosebleed due to his recklessness, and he said seriously, Not small at all. It looks pretty big to me. At this time, the system issued a warning that the divine body of the lustful spirit is still in cooldown and unable to store energy. To protect the safety of the host, it will proceed with discharge. The next second, Zhang Reckless' nostrils shot out blood like a fountain. Yin, wearing glasses for the first time, witnessed such a clear and spectacular scene. She ran over shouting excitedly. In a panic, Zhang Reckless quickly stopped her. Unexpectedly, Yin had not walked 2 steps before being tripped by a raised brick. She lunged forward and heavily landed on Zhang Reckless. A moment later, Zhang Reckless almost bled to death and sat on the chair lifelessly. Yin hurriedly began to bow and apologize. I'm really sorry for accidentally injuring you. I didn't expect to hurt you. Facing Yin's extreme politeness and 99 consecutive bows, Zhang Reckless quickly interrupted. I understand your sincerity. Let's discuss tomorrow's tactics instead. Immediately, Zhang Reckless admitted to their physical condition. I can only recover my cultivation level by tomorrow noon. I will have to rely on you for the competition then. Before he could finish, Zhang Reckless was distracted by the sound of Yin's button shattering. Sis, could you please stop worrying? I really am fine. A moment later, the eye patch-wearing Zhang Reckless finally entered Sage mode. The finals today will be a melee involving the top 3 teams. Given their nature, they will surely target us first, so it's up to you and Ironhammer to stall until I recover. Yin agreed and said she would go back to discuss strategies with Ironhammer. But the buttons on her clothes are undone. I'll go fix them and bring them to you. No need, I'll just send them to you directly. I have plenty more sets at home. Under the nightfall, Yin walked alone on the road, her mind filled with random thoughts. So this is how men look like. They are quite good looking. Zhang Reckless breathed a sigh of relief in the room, then his consciousness shifted to the spirit sense. At this moment, the system prompted the award for the 7th task. However, Zhang Reckless hesitated and asked if he could exchange the reward for points instead. The system, feeling puzzled, agreed that it was possible, but pointed out that the rewards were rare equipment, and converting them to points might be a loss. Zhang Reckless, sensing an opportunity, quickly put on an experienced expression saying, Then give me more points. Next time, I'll try to help you get better rewards. So the system exchanged 3,999 points and transferred them into his balance. He looked at the 4,359 points in front of him, Zhang Reckless was full of confidence. I need to exchange some props for tomorrow's game. Do you have anything like 98K, AK-47 and so on? The system immediately perked up after listening. Not only do we have those, but we also have intercontinental missiles and individual nuclear weapons. But before Zhang Reckless could rush into her arms shouting "Mom," she was quickly sprayed back by the system with a mouthful of saliva saying, "You've become drunk with just a few dishes. Forget about everything from the era of hot weapons." Zhang Reckless wiped the spittle off her face and asked impatiently, "So what can I exchange for here?" Immediately, the system waved its hand and opened up a new space. After Zhang Reckless entered, he found that the space inside was huge, and all sorts of various weapons were available. Not bad, it looks like it's all set now. This man not only lost all his cultivation level, he was also surrounded and attacked by experts from the sect. However, he only said one sentence. He scared everyone so much that they dared not move. At the martial arts tournament of the 6 sects, the host shouted in a high voice, "Please welcome the competing disciples from Cloud Soaring Sect, Mythical Sword Sect, and Jade Maiden Sect." This time, Cloud Soaring Sect's combination led by Gentleman's Sword, Chin Cloud, is considered a top contender for the championship. On the Mythical Sword Sect side, the strongest combat power is Night Owl, known as Ghost Shadow, who is a fierce killer. Next, let's take a look at the participating disciples from the Jade Maiden Sect. They are still having breakfast? At this scene, sect leader of the Mythical Sword Sect on the viewing platform was laughing so much that his back teeth were showing. This silly girl named Zhang Little Reckless is here to bring some laughter, right? It's already this late, and she's still nibbling on fried dough sticks. Under the shadow, the sect leader of the Myriad Manifestation Sect reminded with a hint of threat, "Don't forget about those 3 disciples of mine from yesterday, where are they?" Upon hearing this, the remaining 4 sect leaders sat down together to discuss. They couldn't allow the Jade Maiden Sect to steal the limelight again. Feeling isolated by a few people, the Empress couldn't help but feel speechless. The Cloud Soaring Sect and Mythical Sword Sect will surely join forces to deal with us first. But looking at Zhang Reckless' calm and composed demeanor, could it be that he already has a plan in mind? At this moment, the host formation was suspended in midair and shouted loudly, "This final is a 3-way battle involving 9 people. The last sect remaining in the arena will be the winner." With his command, the final officially began. Meanwhile, there were still 90 minutes left until Zhang Reckless' cooldown time. On the stage, the 3 members of the Mythical Sword Sect immediately rushed towards the Jade Maiden Sect. According to the plans of the 2 sects from last night, they were responsible for taking the lead. At this moment, Zhang Reckless shouted, "Oh no!" Kai Evil, who was leading, immediately applied the brakes and stopped abruptly. He stared coldly at this woman with a large chest, not knowing what trick she was up to again. I saw Zhang Reckless scratching his head with a worried expression saying, "Oh no, I can only throw 3 punches a day, but today there are 6 enemies. Which cutie should I send out first in the end?" Upon hearing this, the 3 members of the Mythical Sword Sect were shocked. It turns out that such a terrifying move can only be used 3 times. In that case, why should we take the lead? 3 of them saw them doing stretching exercises and retreating while moving backward. Cloud Soaring Sect became furious. These 3 fools actually retreated on the spot. If the enemy doesn't move, we don't move. The 3 of us will also stay still. Half an hour later, the 3 teams on the field remained motionless. Only the commentators were having a hard time. For half an hour, their mouths didn't stop analyzing the psychological changes of several people. The sect leader of the Mythical Sword Sect couldn't help but shout, "What are you 3 bastards doing? Hurry up and get on with it." Upon seeing the sect leader losing his temper, Wu Lordface was about to make a move but was stopped by Kai Evil. "Don't bother with him. Let's continue to wait. Once we get the first place, he will be delighted," Kai Evil said. Looking at the Jade Maiden Sect, Zhang Reckless just laid back and praised himself for being truly clever. As long as he drags it out for another hour, this round will be stable. At this moment, One shouted, "Be careful," and immediately teamed up with Iron Hammer to block the flying swords that were shot their way. The host was so excited to see this scene. Audience friends, they finally took action. I saw Chin Cloud standing with his hands behind his back, suddenly feeling a bit bored waiting like this. "Let's warm up first." Upon hearing this, Iron Hammer repeatedly asked Zhang Reckless for his opinion. What does this person mean? Could it be true that he is just probing us? I saw that Zhang Reckless was already in a combat-ready state. It seems that our empty city strategy has been exposed. If we can only exchange 3 punches, I should stand at the forefront. It looks like this fierce battle is finally about to begin. Kai Evil chuckled on the side, while Wu Lord faced behind inquired if they should attack together. But Kai Evil the camper still orders to stand still. Let's wait a little longer for the clam and the snipe to contend so that the fishermen can benefit. Only to see that the 3 persons from Cloud Soaring Sect have already taken their positions and charged together. 2 of them are responsible for directly engaging in a head-on fight, while the other person is preparing to flank and attack from behind. Chin Cloud chuckled. Indeed, it was just an empty threat. He immediately instructed to take down the person trying to flank from behind, Zhang Little Reckless. The man was seen wielding 2 double-bladed axes, leaping high into the air and heavily chopping down. At this moment, even Zhang Reckless reveals a fierce light in his eyes, sensing the extraordinary danger. But the next second, his little foot stepped onto the trap. The whole person's movement came to a sudden halt. He could only helplessly watch as Zhang Reckless twisted into a vile dance. As the bamboo pole behind him sprung up, the whole person was pulled away towards the distance. Before leaving, he didn't forget to curse a few words. "You camper, make sure to complete the mission for me." The audience looked at the trembling bamboo pole with surprise. How come there are traps on the arena stage? At this moment, the other sect leaders on the spectator stand also approached the host, sect leader of Cloud Soaring Sect, to inquire about the situation. However, they saw him waving his hand repeatedly, and the person who stepped on it was their own disciple. The sect leaders suddenly realized that the Jade Maiden Sect seemed not to be that simple. It must be the ugliest Zhang Little Reckless causing trouble. On the arena, Cloud Soaring Sect's Zhao Good scolded despicably. "You actually set traps in the middle of the field." However, he was kicked away by Ironhammer with a long leg. "Both of your sects teaming up, yet still have the nerve to call others despicable." On the One side, they kept driving Chin Cloud back. Chin Cloud shouted, "Kai Evil, don't be a camper, help me out." As soon as the words fell, One's brain buzzed and their hearing was once again severely disrupted. Kai Evil instructed the 2 to take down the long legs and the blind guy first before dealing with Zhang Little Reckless. In an instant, the 2 rushed towards One. "Rest assured, we have disturbed this blind guy." But as soon as the words fell, 2 precise sword chi landed on them. Only seeing One appearing handsomely with small glasses, she didn't forget to throw a shiny seductive glance at Zhang Reckless. Zhang Reckless chuckled upon receiving it, indicating that the scales of victory seemed to have tipped directly to our side. He is definitely the most cunning sect leader among the 6 major sects. He not only turned a blind eye to the use of drugs by the disciples of our sect in the competition, in the face of criticism, he shamelessly boasted that other skills were inferior. Just now, 2 disciples of the mythical sword sect were accurately struck by One. Kai Evil covered his chest, where blood was gushing out, looking shocked. "Aren't you blind? Why can you still see?" One didn't waste any words. With a lady's chain combo kick, she kicked the 2 individuals, sending them flying directly into the audience seats. The host exclaimed repeatedly, "The situation on the field has turned in an instant." At this moment, there is only 1 member from Mythical Sword Sect, 3 from Cloud Soaring Sect, and 3 from Jade Maiden Sect left on the field, with Zhang Reckless laughing heartily as he puffed out his chest. Next, we can enjoy a joyful 3v3 battle. And at this moment, Zhang Reckless only has 15 minutes left to recover his divine body of lustful spirit. Chin Cloud on the side showed a bitter expression. Clearly the victory was within their grasp. How could it have turned out like this? "If I can't win this match, I will definitely become a laughingstock of the sect. When things come to this, I can only use this." Chin Cloud took out the Dan pills while also glancing at the spectator stand. I saw the sect leader of Cloud Soaring Sect also nodding slightly in agreement. On the arena, Chin Cloud and Zhao Good both took their pills to forcibly advance to the 2-layer cultivation level. Let's see if you still have the power to resist. Not far away, Zhang Reckless also noticed the abnormality of the 2, but before he could react, the 2 rushed forward like arrows shot from a bow. One threw himself in front, trying to block Zhang Reckless, who hastily tried to stop him, but it was already too late. One was hit directly and spurted a mouthful of blood. Zhang Reckless quickly picked up Ironhammer and dodged a strike from Chin Cloud. Unexpectedly, Chin Cloud threw several flying knives straight at them. This move was fast and fierce. Ironhammer, unable to dodge in time, was hit on the calf. The host, as a disciple of the Cloud Soaring Sect, was thrilled. He kept commentating enthusiastically, praising Zhao Good for directly striking down One Chin Cloud with a flying knife to defeat Zhao Ironhammer. The Cloud Soaring Sect truly deserves its reputation as the leader of the 6 sects on the righteous path. The Empress on the viewing platform angrily roared, "You actually made the disciple take vitality-boosting Dan to win. Are you really so shameless just for victory?" Looking at the sect leader of the cloud-soaring sect acting nonchalantly as if nothing happened, it makes me want to give him a slap. He shamelessly said, I have no idea what vitality-boosting Dan is. If your skills are inferior, don't try to shift the blame. The sect leader of the mythical sword sect also echoed repeatedly, Exactly, exactly. The Empress is truly narrow-minded. On the stage, Zhang Reckless is inquiring about the injuries of the two women. Ironhammer is angrily cursing on the side. The trash of the cloud-soaring sect even resorted to using banned drugs. They are truly shameless. Chin Cloud giggled strangely and said, Oh, why the rush? Why don't you ask all the people present who saw me taking drugs? Upon hearing this, the disciples of the cloud-soaring sect in the audience shouted one after another that they didn't see it. They also continued to insult incessantly, which was simply obscene. The audience's mocking remarks sounded particularly harsh to Zhang Reckless, who could not tolerate anyone insulting the Jade Maiden Sect, which was like a home to him. Since you play dirty, let me show you what true terror is. At this moment, Zhao Good felt like he was somebody, so he pushed Chin Cloud behind him and said, Let me handle this. Immediately, he roared loudly and used his inner strength, causing his whole body to swell several times as he charged toward Zhang Reckless. Even when faced with the trap set by Zhang Reckless, he remained completely composed. He allowed bamboo sticks to strike his body one by one with a loud sound. I am now invulnerable, these bamboo sticks are nothing to me. Before he could finish speaking, he was knocked away by a thick and large iron rod. Chin Cloud saw the situation turning bad and swiftly shot out several flying knives. However, Zhang Reckless transformed into a huge shield and blocked each flying knife. He then casually threw out a small car-sized prop. In an instant, the small car transformed into a war chariot covered in crossbow arrows. Are you trying to compete with me in hidden weapons, kid? Countless crossbow arrows could be seen shooting towards Chin Cloud. Instantly, the small car transforms into a chariot bristling with crossbow arrows. So, you want to compete with me in hidden weapons, huh? Countless crossbow arrows shot towards Chin Cloud. As he ran, he cursed, What kind of hidden weapon is this? Suddenly, an iron spike burst out from the ground, shattering the crossbow cart instantly. Seeing this scene, Ironhammer and his companion were startled. Not good. Even Night Owl, who was hiding in the shadows, has made a move. As the only disciple of the mythical sword sect present, Night Owl had been secretly observing the situation on the field. You're putting on all these flashy moves just to stall for time, aren't you? In reality, you can't replicate those 3 punches from yesterday, can you? Zhang Reckless thought to himself, This is bad. I didn't expect there to be such a clever one hiding on the field. Moreover, Chin Cloud's flying dagger wasn't particularly tricky. Yet you hid behind a shield. It seems you not only can't throw those 3 punches but don't even know the most basic moves. With that, Night Owl controlled the iron spikes behind him and shot them toward Zhang Reckless. Zhang Little Reckless, it's time to end your farce. At this critical moment, the system sent a prompt. Cooldown time ended. Divine body of lustful spirit is ready for charging. Zhang Reckless had never been this excited before. Finally, it's here. My fists are itching for a fight. The divine body of lustful spirit, which had been offline for 4 episodes, can finally be used normally. At this moment, Zhang Reckless faced Night Owl's iron awl, so arrogant that he didn't even bother to dodge. But before he could strike, a large iron hammer came crashing down, defusing the attack with a bang. It was Sister Ironhammer, who had exhausted her last ounce of strength to deliver that blow. Zhang Reckless, you must pull yourself together. Zhang Reckless felt a warmth in his heart upon seeing this scene. Don't worry, the most dangerous moment has passed. Next, please fasten your seatbelts and get ready to experience the thrill of a roller coaster ride. Night Owl and Chin Cloud, as if seeing death itself, were so overwhelmed by this imposing aura that they couldn't even dodge. However, Zhang Reckless' punch turned out to be no stronger than a puff of wind. At this moment, the system prompts. Current energy storage is at 0. Please recharge promptly. Zhang Reckless was so furious his lungs were about to explode. Damn it. I've already floored the accelerator. And you're telling me this now? Chin Cloud let out a long deep sigh. Night Owl chuckled softly and said, Had enough fun? Let's hit the road then. At that moment, Zhang Reckless turned and dashed toward Ironhammer. Perhaps only Ironhammer's improved stockings could save the day now. He leaped over in a few strides and shouted, Ironhammer sis, strike a seductive pose quick. It's really urgent. Before Ironhammer could react, an energy blast struck, sending Zhang Reckless flying several meters. Chin Cloud giggled uncontrollably. No matter what you're trying to do, I won't let you succeed. Oh. At this moment, Zhang Reckless was struggling to get up while thinking of a countermeasure. One and Ironhammer have both passed out and cannot provide energy. It's unrealistic to have the Empress perform a seductive uniform act in front of everyone, and he doesn't even have time to look at adult magazines. Oh heavens, save this child. Please grant me a girlfriend. At that moment, Chin Cloud completely disregarded martial ethics and struck Night Owl with a palm strike. Zhang Reckless couldn't help but be stunned. Just how despicable was Chin Cloud's heart? Chin Cloud gathered energy at his fingertips and said, "Brother Night Owl, thank you for handling the trouble with the Jade Maiden Sect for me. But now it's your turn." On the viewing platform, the sect leader of the mythical sword sect was so furious that veins bulged on his forehead. A respectable orthodox sect actually resorts to sneak attacks. The sect leader of the cloud-soaring sect still wore that infuriatingly smug expression. "I advise you to tread carefully. This is a martial arts tournament after all." On the arena, Night Owl was severely injured by the blow, and the mask on his face shattered to pieces. However, beneath the mask was actually a woman's face, and her figure also became fair and slender. If we're talking about who was the most shocked in the entire venue, it had to be Zhang Reckless. He almost said in a trembling voice, "Night Owl is actually a girl. Oh my god. Heaven has answered our prayers. This girl just showed up out of nowhere." At the same time, Night Owl threw several hidden weapons, aiming at Chin Cloud, who was approaching slowly. However, the hidden weapons were easily dodged by Chin Cloud, who was under the influence of drugs. As his body soared into the air, he concentrated all his strength into one punch. "The champion of the martial arts tournament must be me." But just as his fist was about to land, Zhang Reckless successfully rescued Night Owl. However, both of them were still knocked off their feet by the powerful shockwave. Chin Cloud glared with eyes gradually turning sinister. "Zhang Little Reckless, I was going to play with you slowly, but you actually want to seek death on your own initiative." Zhang Reckless ignored Chin Cloud's words. He turned to Night Owl and said, "Are you really willing to let this bastard win? If you're willing to help, I can beat him." Night Owl, who was nearby rubbing his scraped, perky buttocks, snorted coldly with even more annoyance. "Tell me, how can I help you?" At that moment, Chin Cloud let out a strange cry and charged at the two of them, clearly not intending to give them any time to form an alliance. Zhang Reckless swiftly threw a smoke bomb in retaliation, and the two instantly vanished into the thick mist. Chin Cloud indeed did not rush in recklessly. Instead, he observed from outside the smoke, waiting for the right moment to act. Inside the smoke, Night Owl coughed lightly twice before quickly inquiring about Zhang Reckless' tactics. Unexpectedly, Zhang Reckless pulled out a sailor suit and said, "Miss, your clothes are torn. Please put this on." Night Owl instantly flew into a rage. "Zhang Little Reckless, I think you're deliberately trying to humiliate me." Without waiting for Zhang Reckless to explain, she grabbed the sailor suit and was about to throw it into the smoke. "I've long heard that there's someone in your Jade Maiden sect with unconventional preferences. So it turns out that person is you." But the next second, the hand in the air stopped. Night Owl was instantly captivated by this unprecedented softness. How silky and form-fitting it would feel to wear. Zhang Reckless was overjoyed. He hadn't expected such a twist. He quickly chimed in, "I only have your best interests at heart." Night Owl, being a person of genuine temperament, took advantage of the dense fog and, without bothering to hide from the cross-dressed Zhang Reckless, immediately began changing clothes. Zhang Reckless excitedly cheered, "Excellent," several times, as the energy of the divine body of lustful spirits surged rapidly. At this moment, Chin Cloud also seized the opportunity to gather a burst of energy, taking advantage of the faintly visible figure. He immediately unleashed his ultimate technique, Roaring Tiger's Fist, striking fiercely at the two of them. In the next second, a fist emerged from the mist and shattered the tiger fist directly. Just then, Zhang Reckless and the other slowly revealed themselves. "No rush, Chin Cloud, the match has only just begun," Night Owl shyly murmured from the side. "Zhang Little Reckless, cover me a bit. This skirt is way too short. I wonder which girl would turn down a sailor suit?" After putting it on, Night Owl instantly became the most dazzling one at the event. That mix of excitement and shame made her exclaim how amazing it felt. The entire audience erupted in excitement, each person wide-eyed, unwilling to miss a single detail. However, the Empress on the viewing platform was unusually restless. What on earth was Zhang Reckless doing in the smoke? But the straight guy Chin Cloud was only concerned about how his Roaring Tiger's Fist was caught single-handedly by this Zhang Little Reckless. Zhang Reckless chuckled. "You call that a tiger fist? That weak, flimsy technique might as well be renamed Kitty Punch." This comment made Night Owl, who was standing nearby, cover her mouth and giggle. Zhang Reckless couldn't help but feel his fondness grow as he looked at Night Owl in her limited edition sailor suit outfit. This girl looks fierce, he thought to himself. But when she smiles, it's actually quite broad. At this moment, the system prompts, divine body of lustful spirit energy level at 150%. Please release immediately. This directly frightened Zhang Reckless into quickly averting his gaze. If mishandled, this thing could be life-threatening. Just then the unlucky one, Chin Cloud, came online. How dare you belittle my ultimate technique? I swear I'll tear you to pieces. But before he could finish his words, Zhang Reckless' fist was already closing in on his face. Noisy. If you want to fight, just fight. So much nonsense. After one strike, Chin Cloud slowly rose to his feet. You clearly have the strength, so why wait until now to strike? Zhang Reckless waved his hand dismissively. Can't I just be messing with you for fun? Chin Cloud was completely enraged by Zhang Reckless. Screw your damn games. Don't think I'm afraid of you just because you've regained your strength. Vitality boosting Dan. Unleash its full effect. Chin Cloud threw several punches in the air, each one stronger than the last with increasing force. However, the punches felt like mere tickles to Zhang Reckless, who even had the leisure to pick his nose. Is that all you've got? You must be on something to be this weak. Bro, you're probably suffering from kidney deficiency. With Chin Cloud's full dose of medication and this provocation, his entire consciousness instantly turned malevolent. He actually pulled a blood-red long blade out of thin air, instantly dyeing the entire arena in a shade of crimson. The Empress's heart tightened as she sternly exclaimed, You actually gave him the demon-slaying blade, which possesses the power to destroy the earth, to use. The sect leader of Cloud-Soaring Sect calmly smiled and replied, It's just a weapon. No need to make a fuss. On the stage, Chin Cloud gathered all his energy into this single strike of the blade. A nearly 100-meter-long sword slashed straight towards Zhang Reckless. At this moment, the sect leader of the Cloud-Soaring Sect began to show off in a Versailles style. This ugly woman is done for now. There is no weapon or technique in the world that can withstand a single strike from the demon-slaying blade, unless she possesses the divine weapon, Cloud-Bound Sword. But that is absolutely impossible. Zhang Reckless, still picking his nose, casually summoned the ancient divine weapon, Cloud-Bound Sword, and effortlessly blocked the attack. What's all this flashy nonsense? He muttered. The moment the sword appeared, it shocked Chin Cloud into a petrified state, and he immediately yelled, Ref, there's someone using hacks here. Zhang Reckless stood proudly on the spot, holding the cloud-bound sword, as the host exclaimed in an almost trembling voice, An ancient divine weapon has actually appeared in the hands of a Jade Maiden Sect disciple. Even the sect leaders on the viewing platform all turned their gaze toward the Empress, their eyes gleaming brightly as they exclaimed, Auntie, I don't want to struggle anymore. On the arena, Chin Cloud spat a mouthful of blood onto the demon-slaying blade, determined to defeat Zhang Little Reckless even with his last breath. Seeing this scene, the host's emotions surged instantly. Everyone look. This is the blood-bound fiend blade. Senior brother Chin Cloud is showing us what it truly means to never give up. Instantly, the entire audience erupted with thunderous cheers, all rallying for their senior brother Chin Cloud, urging him to defeat Zhang Little Reckless. Night Owl looked worriedly at Zhang Reckless. The impact of this roar from tens of thousands of people, even with the protection of divine weapons, might cause Little Reckless to collapse, right? At that moment, a sword light slashed fiercely into the spectator stands. Zhang Reckless slapped her waist with a small hand and declared, Whoever dares to talk nonsense again, I'll slash every single one of you. The host originally intended to warn Zhang Reckless against attacking the audience. However, he was once again intimidated by Zhang Reckless' intimidating glare and backed down. He immediately turned into a little sycophant. Sister Reckless, you are the strongest. The Jade Maiden Sect will surely win. At this moment, Chin Cloud stared at the chasm in the spectator stands, utterly dumbfounded. Even at my full strength, I couldn't make a dent in this platform forged from black iron. He was trembling all over, so frightened that he could barely keep a firm grip on his sword. Zhang Reckless sneered disdainfully. You have two choices, either die or lose. Chin Cloud immediately broke into a cheerful smile. I surrender. Losing by half after surrendering isn't shameful. The sect leader of Cloud-Soaring Sect, seeing Chin Cloud like this, simply wished he could find a crack in the ground to crawl into. At this moment, only Zhang Reckless and Night Owl remained on the arena. Night Owl steadied his heaving chest and said, Everyone, don't look at me. I'm definitely going to concede too. At that moment, the host loudly announced Zhang Little Reckless as the final winner. The final winner of this 6 sects martial arts competition is Jade Maiden Suddenly on the arena, Qin Cloud spat out a mouthful of blood. Then he painfully knelt down before Zhang Reckless. Watching the seemingly lifeless Qin Cloud, Zhang Reckless sighed softly. It seems the backlash came from not releasing the cultivation level in time after the blood sacrifice. At this moment, Night Owl shouted loudly, "Be careful!" Just then, the sect leader of the cloud-soaring sect had already struck with a palm strike, exclaiming, "How dare you, insolent fool! You dare to secretly attempt to kill my disciple! There are countless fools under heaven, and half of them are in the cloud-soaring sect." Just now, the sect leader of cloud-soaring sect actually disregarded his status and directly attacked Zhang Reckless. Facing this sudden palm strike, even though Zhang Reckless mobilized 20% of his energy to block it, yet he was still sent flying several meters before barely coming to a stop. The sect leader of cloud-soaring sect had an unusually grim expression. As the host, I must... But before he could finish speaking, he froze on the spot. Seeing Zhang Reckless, whose clothes had been blasted off, covering the big buns on his chest, this wide-open dress posture clearly revealed he was a man. Empress was also startled and thought to herself, "Oh no." Zhang Reckless quickly covered his small chest and turned around, not daring to explain why there was a bun on his chest, even to the sect leader of cloud-soaring sect. "Oh ho, so you're cross-dressing as a woman here? This is truly the biggest joke in the world." Then he burst into a fit of hysterical laughter, exclaiming that the Jade Maiden Sect, which claimed to never allow men near its mountain gate, had actually let a man represent the sect in battle. However, the most embarrassed person in the entire venue was Night Owl, who was standing behind him. She recalled how she had changed clothes right in front of him amidst the smoke, and her heart started racing wildly. At that moment, the other sect leaders on the viewing platform instantly turned into sarcastic critics. Who knows where the Jade Maiden Sect found this wild man? The Empress truly doesn't deserve her position. The Empress shot them a sideways glare, yet found herself utterly unable to refute their words. At this moment, the sect leader of the cloud-soaring sect shouted, "June Mythical Jade, today you must give our 5 sects an explanation." The Empress bit her red lips lightly. Perhaps this is the fate of the Jade Maiden Sect. These 6 sects are not worth staying in any longer. But before she could speak her explanation, Zhang Reckless, munching on a large steamed bun, cut her off before she could speak. "Give you 5 sects an explanation? I think your thick skin is truly shameless." The sect leader of cloud-soaring sect knew that Zhang Reckless was sharp-tongued and dared not confront her directly. "What right do you have to speak here?" Zhang Reckless tore his upper garment forcefully and declared, "Today I'm going to argue this out with you. Which eye of yours saw that the Jade Maiden Sect's rules forbid men from joining?" Upon hearing this, the audience fell into deep thought. They had always known that the Jade Maiden Sect had no men, but it was never explicitly stated that men were not allowed to join. The sect leader of cloud-soaring sect, seeing the situation turning unfavorable, pressed further. "Then why did you disguise yourself as a woman to sneak in? Clearly, you have ulterior motives and resorted to deception." Unexpectedly, Zhang Reckless immediately shot a heart gesture and said, "Can't I have had this hobby since I was little?" The sect leader of cloud-soaring sect slashed the little heart with a hand chop and said, "Do you think you can fool me with this trick? Who the hell wants your little heart?" Zhang Reckless, seeing this move was ineffective, laid his cards on the table. "Since that's the case, show me the evidence. Did the Jade Maiden Sect promise not to allow men to compete, or do your rules prohibit cross-dressing masters from participating?" This statement left the sect leaders on the viewing platform completely speechless. He's truly a smooth talker spouting nonsense, but why can't I think of a way to refute him? The sect leader of cloud-soaring sect simply gave up on reasoning. "I'm not going to argue with you about principles. All I know is that today I'm going to take you down." Zhang Reckless dreaded this situation the most. Right now, the Empress hasn't recovered from her internal injuries, and both Iron Hammer and Yin One are unconscious. With my current strength, I'm afraid I won't be able to get out of this unscathed. At that moment, a soft chuckle suddenly came from above Zhang Reckless' head. Following the sound, it turned out to be the first disciple of the Jade Maiden Sect, Long Peerless. She was seen clenching her fists until they cracked. "Sect leader Changrong, who did you just say you wanted to deal with?" Seeing the first disciple emerge from seclusion ahead of time, the Empress was instantly overjoyed. However, the 2 sect leaders behind her were whispering and pointing, remarking, "How dare she speak to a sect leader in such a condescending manner? It's utterly disrespectful." And Zhang Reckless, who was in the prime viewing spot, chimed in, "Eldest senior sister, no need to come down. This angle is absolutely perfect." Long Peerless, with a single hand, conjured streams of crimson light. "You 5 worthless sects dare to collude and bully the Empress of our Jade Maiden Sect? Just because she is kind-hearted and lets it slide, do you truly think our sect has no one to stand up? The sect leader of Cloud-Soaring Sect was utterly enraged, pointing at Long Peerless and shouting, "How dare you bully us on our own turf?" Immediately, 3 elders of the Cloud-Soaring Sect stepped forward together. Long Peerless sneered disdainfully, condensing a long spear in one hand. "With just the 3 of you, you're not worthy of shouting at me." With that, she charged toward the 3 of them with a thunderous boom, wreathed in blazing flames and carrying the force of 10,000 June. The 3 of them instantly formed a formation and shouted in unison, "Golden Dragon Rainbow-Breaking Formation." However, their efforts were entirely unnecessary, as Long Peerless instantly defeated them with a single move. They were sent flying back exactly as they had come. Witnessing this scene, Zhang Reckless couldn't help but exclaim in shock. Just then, Night Owl slowly walked over and remarked, "It seems you know nothing about Long Peerless. She is the first disciple under the Empress, hailed as the strongest of the Jade Maidens. She single-handedly held off 3,000 exotic races, truly terrifying. My master says her current cultivation level is on par with the Empress from a decade ago." Upon hearing this, Zhang Reckless was taken aback. The Empress from a decade ago? But the Empress has always seemed frail and sickly. Before Night Owl could explain, the system chimed in. The Empress practices the Jade Maiden Profound Scripture, which is the most extraordinary martial art in the world. It consists of 9 levels. The first 7 levels grow progressively stronger, but upon reaching the 8th level, one encounters a bottleneck. Long Peerless is only at the 5th level right now, while the Empress has already reached the late stage of the 8th level, just one step away from breaking through, and that step depends entirely on you. Zhang Reckless was speechless, thinking, "You probably just wanted to say that last part, didn't you?" At this moment, the sect leader of Cloud-Soaring Sect in the real world had already drawn his machete, ready to show Long Peerless that his rules were the only rules. However, the Cloud-Soaring deputy sect leader hurried over from behind to stop him. Then, he leaned in close and whispered in his ear, "This Long Peerless is the only daughter of the Long family. If you anger the Long family, there will be no good outcome." Upon hearing this, the sect leader of the Cloud-Soaring Sect suppressed his anger and left. The deputy sect leader also quickly approached Zhang Reckless, bowing and apologizing, then loudly announced Zhang Reckless as the champion of this competition. Night Owl watched Zhang Reckless hurriedly rushing towards Ironhammer and the other, feeling an inexplicable stir in his heart. "Reckless, I wonder when we will meet again. When my hair grows long enough to touch my waist, will you gift me another new set of clothes?" 3 days later, Zhang Reckless returned to the Jade Maiden Sect, which he had been longing for day and night. After this battle, he became a great hero throughout the entire sect. Although the story of the martial arts tournament has come to an end, Zhang Reckless' check-in journey has only just begun. Since winning the championship at the martial arts tournament in one fell swoop, Zhang Reckless became the recognized sect heartthrob of the Jade Maiden Sect, wandering freely around the sect every day and enjoying the flattery from passing disciples. However, it was quite strange that the system hadn't issued any new tasks in the past couple of days. Just then, a faint purple evil aura caught his attention. Following the direction from which the evil aura emanated, the further he went, the more alarmed he became. Although the Jade Maiden Sect had a relatively heavy Yin energy, but having such a massive Yaogui ceiling tower is a bit exaggerated, isn't it? At that moment, from behind the door sealed with spiritual talismans, came an incredibly enchanting voice. "I'm truly surprised that the Jade Maiden Sect, which claims not to have even a single male mouse, actually has a man." Zhang Reckless smiled faintly and said, "If you think it's a surprise, then so be it." Seeing that Zhang Reckless was about to leave, the person inside the tower quickly called out to stop him. "Handsome, don't you want to come in and take a look?" Zhang Reckless is way too sharp to fall for such a cheap trick. "Just a sealed Yaogui beast? I'm not interested." At that moment, the voice from inside the tower became even more enticing. "Come in, and I'll tell you a huge secret about the Empress." Upon hearing this, Zhang Reckless was utterly astonished. The Empress's huge sea cup was something he was extremely interested in. He tore off the talisman and rushed in. The Empress already had the dignified aura of a ruler. Could she possibly have another huge sea cup as well? There was a girl with dyed blonde hair looking at him coyly. "Oh, big brother, you're so mean. What I meant was a huge secret. Where did your mind wander off to? Who exactly is this big brother? And why is he at the Jade Maiden Sect?" Zhang Reckless decisively took his leave. He wasn't the least bit interested in any huge secret and casually replied, "I'm just a gatekeeper." The enchantress quickly extended her hand to cast a charm, her words full of subtle allure, leaving the editor with no choice but to reluctantly omit the details. Zhang Reckless leaned against the doorframe, letting the enchantress's influence wash over him. Don't waste your effort. A month ago I might have fallen for it, but now I've seen wavy pair. The enchantress was truly flustered this time. You foul man, only interested in the Empress's chest. Do you really refuse to even spare me a proper glance? Zhang Reckless chuckled softly. Don't be so insecure. Honestly, I'm just not up for it these past couple of days. You might not believe it, but I'm already at my limit. At that moment, a chain directly wrapped around Zhang Reckless' neck. Hey, I'm telling you, using force is not acceptable. Behind me, the enchantress was seen holding chains, laughing without restraint, while her earlier state of being bound by them turned out to be nothing but a deceptive illusion. Zhang Reckless reacted swiftly, slamming the tower door shut, but his body was abruptly yanked backward and sent flying. No need to rush to close the door, she said. I never intended to leave in the first place. Zhang Reckless struggled desperately while asking her about her intentions. The enchantress placed her hands on Zhang Reckless' head and whispered softly, I just want to do some naughty things with you, that's all. Then her delicate fingers gently traced across Zhang Reckless' chest, effortlessly peeling away his clothing along with it. Just lie back and enjoy yourself. Zhang Reckless thought to himself. What kind of world is this? Is it really this dangerous for a boy to be out alone? At that moment, the enchantress had already straddled Zhang Reckless' waist. Now no one can stop me, she declared. Upon hearing this, Zhang Reckless felt a sudden sense of foreboding. Could it be that she had some other sinister scheme? Perhaps it was some dark sorcery like borrowing a seed to breed a demon? Immediately, he forced himself to stay alert, determined not to let her succeed. Just as the sorceress was about to succeed by tearing off his pants, Zhang Reckless shouted, Great opportunity! The first blast of Supreme Yang power shot out through the Supreme Yang tool. That force directly burst through the tower, shooting straight into the clouds in the sky. However, this strike, though treacherous, was not meant to harm. The enchantress rubbed her dazzled eyes, truly not expecting that you could launch something else from that spot. But when she opened her eyes again, she realized the prey had already vanished. Suddenly, Zhang Reckless emerged fiercely from behind. My 18 years of singlehood survival skills are no joke. Moments later, the enchantress was securely tied up by him. Just stay put. If you keep moving around, watch out for a whipping. The enchantress still wore a look of confidence. Do you really think these two chains can hold me? Zhang Reckless chuckled lightly. Don't be impatient, little sister. The real show is yet to come. With that, he snapped a chain forward with a sharp crack. Immediately, the enchantress's posture shifted into this. Honestly speaking, Zhang Reckless is playing a bit on the kinky side. Even the system was taken aback. Zhang Reckless, you sly dog, you've been hiding your skills. Not only are you exceptionally gifted with your third leg, but you're also a master of bondage techniques. It seems the tasks I assigned before were too conservative. Get ready to enjoy a hell difficulty check-in next. Meanwhile, Zhang Reckless had returned to the security office and was comfortably taking his afternoon nap. Shortly after, a series of urgent knocks woke him up. Lu Peacekeeper saw Zhang Reckless looking drowsy and couldn't help but feel angry. A thief has broken into the sect, and you're still sleeping? Even the Empress's personal disciple has been insulted. How on earth are you guarding the gate? Zhang Reckless jolted awake instantly. Where did this audacious scoundrel come from? If I catch him, I'll definitely castrate him. Jade Maiden Sect's personal disciple was publicly humiliated by a thief in broad daylight. Who could have done this and for what purpose? Lu Peacekeeper called Zhang Reckless from the security room, and then headed toward the main hall. Along the way, Lu Peacekeeper continued to curse the intruder who had sneaked into the sect, insulted the direct disciple, and then vanished without a trace, truly shocking. Zhang Reckless, looking utterly confused as he followed behind, timidly asked, How many people were there? According to her, there were at least 10 people. Upon hearing this number, Zhang Reckless was instantly dumbfounded. Now you know panic? Just by watching the gate, you let in 10 people. Zhang Reckless cursed himself for not staying put and wandering around. The two quickly arrived outside the main hall, and at that moment, a voice from inside the hall made Zhang Reckless' kidneys ache. That familiar voice. Could it be that yellow-haired enchantress? In the grand hall, the furious yellow-haired enchantress was arguing with Iron Hammer, who was wearing modified stockings, about the sect's defenses being completely inadequate. How exactly are you serving as the captain of the guard? Just then Lu Peacekeeper called out, Bring in Zhang Reckless, which made Zhang Reckless break out in a cold sweat. Iron Hammer turned around and repeatedly questioned Zhang Reckless. You were guarding the mountain gate. Didn't you notice any movement at all? At that moment Zhang Reckless wished he could crawl into a hole. Pouting, he mumbled, "No, not at all." Looking at the enchantress, she wore an expression of utter disbelief. "Isn't that the man who shoots lasers with that thing? How could it be him?" At this moment the two of them could hardly look each other in the eye. Zhang Reckless cursed inwardly. This is absolutely absurd. How could this little enchantress be the Empress's disciple? At that moment, Ironhammer also noticed the enchantress's unusual behavior. "Little Fox, what's wrong with you?" Little Fox murmured in response. "Right now I feel like I'm in a fucking dream." The Empress's expression remained as cold and detached as ever. This is Zhang Reckless, an exceptionally skilled individual responsible for guarding the mountain gate. He is also the officially recognized sect heartthrob of our Jade Maiden Sect. Please truthfully recount the situation you encountered to him. Yet Zhang Reckless grew more and more puzzled. This was clearly something I did alone. Why would she say there were 10 people? And if she is a disciple, why was she locked up in the Yaogui ceiling tower? Before he could ponder further, the system sent a prompt. "Host, you are now assigned the 8th check-in task." Zhang Reckless felt a bit excited upon hearing this. To be honest, he had missed doing tasks over the past few days. Task number 8 is a designated check-in mission. You must train Who Little Fox to become a masochist within 10 days, or else you will suffer a fatal anal explosion. If you are unfamiliar with the term masochist, please search for it yourself. I'm too embarrassed to explain it here. Upon hearing the task announced by the system, Zhang Reckless nearly exploded on the spot. Damn it, system. This masochist topic is clearly way beyond the scope, isn't it? At that moment, Little Fox said she was tired. She didn't dare to explain what had happened in front of Zhang Reckless and hurriedly rushed out of the hall. Zhang Reckless quickly asked Lu Peacekeeper beside him, "What's the deal with this little fox? I've never seen her before." Upon hearing this, a trace of worry appeared on Lu Peacekeeper's face. She is the 6th disciple under the Empress and the last Yaogui fox in the world. Years ago, the fox tribe was attacked by a mysterious force, and the Empress rescued her. Since then, she has always wanted to leave the sect to seek revenge. However, as the last Yaogui fox, she is coveted by countless people. Later, the Empress set up the Yaogui ceiling formation throughout the entire sect. Because of this, she became resentful and often caused trouble. As a result, the Empress would occasionally confine her in the Yaogui ceiling tower for reflection. Zhang Reckless finally figured out the whole story. No wonder the seals in the Yaogui ceiling tower were so half-hearted. It turns out it was one of their own all along. Lu Peacekeeper then added, "You must remember to stay far away from Who Little Fox." Over the years, Little Fox has resorted to any means necessary to leave the sect. No matter what she did, the Empress could tolerate it. However, there is one prohibition that once violated would inevitably lead to her expulsion from the sect. As recorded in the ancestral teachings, disciples of the Jade Maiden Sect are strictly forbidden from engaging in sexual relations with men. Under the night sky, Who Little Fox gazed at the bright, clear full moon and murmured, "This time I must succeed in leaving the sect. Zhang Reckless, just you wait. I'm going to devour you completely." From then on, Zhang Reckless' demeanor in the sect at night became like this. Just thinking about what Lu Peacekeeper said during the day, that Who Little Fox intended to violate the ancestral rules, made Zhang Reckless feel a headache coming on. Why should all the pressure fall on my shoulders? At that moment, a jade-like hand reached out in front of him from behind. Zhang Reckless quickly crouched down, barely dodging Who Little Fox's loving hug. Zhang Reckless immediately took off running. That was really close. How did this vixen manage to sneak up so quietly for a surprise attack? At that moment, a pink-red rope hooked onto Zhang Reckless' ankle, causing him to stumble and nearly fall. Zhang Reckless desperately tried to untie the red rope from his ankle while invoking the Empress's name, hoping it might deter her. Unexpectedly, Who Little Fox was completely unfazed by this tactic and immediately pounced forward with a little fox sitting on a lotus move. But Zhang Reckless, quick-eyed and swift-handed, dodged it, leaving Little Fox to land squarely on the ground with a thud. Little Fox puffed up angrily and whined, "Why didn't you catch me?" Zhang Reckless, rather annoyed, snapped back, "Do you think I'm the Oriental Pearl Tower? That little fox sitting on a lotus move of yours would have crushed me." Unexpectedly, Little Fox, utterly disregarding martial ethics, countered with a monkey steals the peach followed by old tree entwines roots, firmly trapping Zhang Reckless beneath her skirt. Just as Little Fox was about to succeed with her cunning plan, she was abruptly lifted up by a hand. Long Peerless glared coldly at Little Fox and said, "Have you had enough? Go reflect in the Yaogui ceiling tower." Then she turned to Zhang Reckless. The deputy sect leader must have informed you about the ban regarding Little Fox, right? Zhang Reckless nodded vigorously. Yes, that's exactly why I'd rather die than comply. Long Peerless said, keep it up, and then led the struggling Little Fox toward the Yaogui ceiling tower. Late at night, Lu Peacekeeper and Long Peerless arrived at the Empress's bedchamber. Sect leader, I think Little Fox won't let Zhang Reckless off easily. We need to come up with a foolproof plan. Long Peerless' method is quite straightforward. In my opinion, we might as well just castrate Zhang Reckless. Upon hearing this, the Empress chuckled softly and said, it's all right. Let's wait and see how things unfold. This can also serve as a test for Zhang Reckless. Upon hearing this, Lu Peacekeeper was taken aback and asked, you said it's a test? But why would we need to test Zhang Reckless? But as soon as she finished speaking, she immediately regretted it. Could it be that the Empress has developed a little crush on Zhang Reckless? Perhaps this is the perfect opportunity to test her loyalty to the Empress. Meanwhile, in the security office at the foot of the mountain, Zhang Reckless took a hammer and sealed off all the entrances in the room that could allow people to enter. Now it's as secure as a fortress, impossible to get in or out. Let's see what tricks you this vixen have left up your sleeve. At that moment, a familiar charm began to seep through the cracks. Outside the house, it was none other than Little Fox Little Reckless, who had sneaked out of the Yaogui ceiling tower. Is Little Reckless inside? Your beloved Little Fox is here to report. Let's see how you escape my clutches tonight. How hard is it for boys to make a living out there these days? If you're not careful, you'll get a good scolding from the vice president. He also has to constantly be on guard against the ulterior motives of the women around him. Just now Zhang Reckless sealed all the doors and windows of the security room shut. He thought it was impregnable and foolproof at that moment. Waves of enchanting techniques released an aphrodisiac gas that seeped into the room. Zhang Reckless quickly sat cross-legged, silently reciting the core socialist values to keep his mind clear and resist the evil influence. This vixen is really ruthless. I must hold on no matter what. Unexpectedly, wisps of purple smoke transformed into the human form of Little Fox, surrounding Zhang Reckless one by one, blowing warm breaths at him. At that moment, Zhang Reckless' consciousness suddenly entered the spirit sense realm. What's going on? System, I didn't call for you. The system, munching on popcorn, replied, I come out whenever I please, no need for your summons, Zhang Reckless. You've got some serious self-control, kid. Even when girls come to you on their own, you don't budge. Zhang Reckless chuckled. With popcorn at the ready, I bet you're just here for a good show, aren't you? Besides, Little Fox doesn't really like me. I'm not going to sacrifice my first time just to go along with something like that with her. Hearing this, the system grew even more excited. I never expected you to be someone with emotional purity standards. Immediately, the system projected holograms of Empress and Lu Peacekeeper. I'm looking forward to the interactions between the three of you even more now. The moment this image appeared, it practically took Zhang Reckless' life. Instantly, all sorts of scenes involuntarily flooded his mind. System, you're playing dirty with me, aren't you? It's over. I can't hold on any longer. With a loud boom, a golden light burst through the security room door. Zhang Reckless knelt on the ground, gasping for fresh air. Little Fox still wore an alluring expression. Couldn't hold back after all, could you? My enchanting fox fragrance is not just a baseless reputation. Zhang Reckless suddenly looked up. His face flushed bright red. I think you're the one who's unbearably restless. Then with a loud thud, he unleashed a move called Reckless Pounce. Even Little Fox was startled, exclaiming, I never expected this would bring out your wild side. But her expression was a mix of excitement and nervousness. Great, I've finally waited for this day, she exclaimed, then spread her arms wide, her perfect figure fully revealed. Come on, Zhang Reckless, I'm ready. Let's have a thrilling. But before she could finish her words, another streak of golden light flashed by. This strike was even more brutal, directly blasting open the sect's main gate. Along with it, a pale blue barrier was also torn open with a large hole. Zhang Reckless chuckled with a grin. Didn't expect that, did you? I used my inner strength to force out the charm poison. However, Little Fox was staring at the large hole in a daze. You actually broke a gap in the Yaogui ceiling formation too. With the main gate scattered like this, there's no need for the consummation ritual anymore. With a leap, Little Fox dashed out of the mountain gate, not forgetting to turn back and say to Zhang Reckless, Thank you. Zhang Reckless wanted to chase after her, but he hadn't expected his body to be completely exhausted. He watched as Little Fox joyfully dashed into the forest. Zhang Reckless thought to himself, This is it, I've become a sinner for all eternity. Shortly after, Zhang Reckless was tied up in the main hall using the Jade Maiden Sect's ancestral binding technique. Lu Peacekeeper said in a stern tone, "As the guardian of the courtyard, not only did you allow a thief to enter and humiliate a direct disciple, but you also damaged the formation, causing 6 disciples to escape. According to the sect rules, you should be executed. However, considering you won the championship in the martial arts competition, we can make an exception for you." Zhang Reckless let out a long sigh of relief. "At least you have some conscience." At that moment, Lu Peacekeeper added, "The death penalty is commuted to castration, to be carried out immediately." Zhang Reckless would rather die than be castrated. He yelled, "Don't give me any face, just kill me outright." The Empress on the Grand Hall also sighed and said, "In my opinion, it shouldn't come to this. He didn't intentionally damage the formation." Peacekeeper Lu quickly replied, "This is already the minimum punishment according to the sect rules." Reckless Zhang shouted, "I don't believe a word of it. Since when does the Jade Maiden Sect have men? How can there even be a punishment like castration?" Hearing this, the Empress also found herself in a dilemma. She pursed her lips twice, appearing extremely reluctant. Peacekeeper Lu was startled inwardly. The sect leader is actually hesitating? Oh no. She really does have feelings for Reckless Zhang. At that moment, Long Peerless hurried into the main hall. The most urgent task now is to find Six's junior sister first. She is heading to the Black Wild Mountains, where the evil energy is at its strongest. Once her Nether Fox Yaogui art is perfected and her mind falls into demonic possession, it will be troublesome. Empress quickly seized the opportunity to go along with it, saying, Exactly, that's the most important thing. It was Zhang Reckless who let the person escape, so he should make up for his mistake with merit." After saying this, she symbolically asked for Lu Peacekeeper's opinion. Lu Peacekeeper, of course, had no objections, thinking to himself how powerful the force of love truly is. Zhang Reckless repeatedly agreed, vowing that he would definitely bring back Little Fox. Long Peerless grabbed Zhang Reckless by the collar and swiftly flew out of the hall. In no time, the two arrived at the Black Wild Mountains, shrouded in evil energy. This man is the great hero of the Jade Maiden Sect. Yet today, he is about to be subjected to castration. Fortunately, the Empress, who is also the sect leader, has developed feelings for him. Once this is removed, I'm afraid their future happiness will be halved. She gave him a chance to redeem himself. At the same time, she arranged for her first disciple, Long Peerless, to accompany him. The two soon arrived atop the Black Wild Mountains. Long Peerless spoke in a tone as cold as ever. Little Fox's cultivation requires a large amount of evil chi. We'll split up and search. Just find the place with the strongest evil chi. Unexpectedly, as soon as Long Peerless finished speaking, she immediately spread her small hands and let go. Zhang Reckless was forced to experience a free fall. Fortunately, the dense forest here provided several cushions for Zhang Reckless, allowing him to successfully perform a face break on a rock. Zhang Reckless secretly swore a solemn vow. I must learn how to fly no matter what it takes. A moment later, Zhang Reckless steadied his nearly broken body and searched through the forest. It seems that no matter where you are, there are always rebellious kids thinking about running away. At that moment, a surge of soaring evil chi appeared before him. At this moment, Little Fox, having manifested 4 tails, hovered mid-air. While sitting cross-legged in meditation, dense evil chi gurgled and emanated from all around him. Zhang Reckless hid behind a tree, casually picked up a wooden stick, and while she was fully focused on cultivation, he directly charged in with a strike to take her away. But at that very moment, Little Fox's fox eyes suddenly widened. For streams of evil energy instantly sent the misbehaving Zhang Reckless flying several meters away. Zhang Reckless crashed heavily against the tree trunk behind him. That vixen has only been gone for 2 hours, yet she's already powerful enough to blast me away with just a glance. No wonder the Empress absolutely refused to let her leave the sect. This creature is practically an apocalypse-level demon. Seeing Little Fox walking towards him, Zhang Reckless quickly assessed their respective strengths. Little Fox was currently at the Grandmaster 3-layer level. If I were at full strength, I would have the confidence to subdue her. Then Zhang Reckless quickly skimmed through several of the most provocative erotic books, recharging the energy of the divine body of lustful spirit to 100%. With a casual flick of his hand, he deflected the evil energy shot by Little Fox and swiftly charged toward her. He followed up with a move he had learned from Little Fox, old tree coiling roots, wrapping his legs firmly around her slender waist. And then he grabbed with such force. Looking at Little Fox Zhang firmly under his control, Reckless couldn't help but exclaim how incredibly soft it was. Moreover, this move could continuously recharge energy while consuming it, which was absolutely amazing. He shamelessly named this move the perpetual motion mode. Suddenly, one of Little Fox's tails swiftly covered his stinky mouth. Then 2 foxtails forcibly lifted him up. After losing her mind, Little Fox was infuriated by Zhang Reckless' perpetual motion mode. She let out a strange howl, intending to finish off Zhang Reckless. Zhang Reckless was startled and quickly mustered 50% of his energy to defend himself. At the moment the shield solidified, Little Fox's claw had already struck. The rich supreme yang power not only blocked the attack but also enveloped Little Fox, gradually wearing away her evil qi. After breaking free, Little Fox immediately chose to flee and released waves of fox poison in an attempt to hinder Zhang Reckless. The fox poison quickly spread, its extremely high concentration causing Zhang Reckless' eyes to sting and swell. Zhang Reckless quickly closed his eyes and reached out his arm to grab, shouting, "Take this move, blind fox grab technique." With a soft thud, a plush sensation transmitted back through his fingertips. In the darkness, Zhang Reckless didn't bother with anything else. He forcefully hooked his large hand back. Zhang Reckless' old face instantly flushed red. "How about, Little Fox, I'll buy you another one later." Moments later, Zhang Reckless, his face covered in fox claw marks, blissfully collapsed to the ground. Little Fox also dashed away, leaping toward the depths of the mountains. At the same time, inside a cave in the Black Wild Mountains, the Tiger Emperor of the Emperor of all beasts greedily inhales the evil qi in the forest. After waiting for so many years, it has finally appeared. The last Yaogui fox in the world is about to fall into my grasp. Appearances can be deceiving, and the sea cannot be measured with a bucket. Who would have thought that the top fighter under the Empress is actually a top-tier directionally challenged person? After Little Fox slipped away, Zhang Reckless once again began searching alone. However, finding a Yaogui fox in the forest is no easy task. At that moment, a strong scent of blood caught Zhang Reckless' attention. He then mobilized the energy of the divine body of lustful spirit and rushed toward the center of the blood mist. Several beast corpses lay scattered on the grass, and Zhang Reckless nervously glanced around. Yet he never caught sight of Little Fox. Not even a single fox hair was to be seen. At that moment, a gurgling sound of flowing water came from deep within the dense forest. Without a second thought, Zhang Reckless approached and said, "Who, Little Fox, stop fooling around. Hurry up and come back to the sect with me." However, on the lake, there was only Big Sis Master Long Peerless, who was bathing. She was also startled by Zhang Reckless' voice. Zhang Reckless quickly employed his signature eye-covering technique. "Big Sis Master, I didn't see anything at all." He couldn't help but mutter to himself, "Truly worthy of being called Big Sis Master, she's indeed quite impressive." A moment later, Long Peerless threw on a light robe and stepped ashore, scolding with a hint of anger. "Didn't I tell you to split up and act separately? Why did you come over to my side again?" Zhang Reckless scratched his head in confusion. "But we agreed that you'd go west and I'd go east. I'm clearly heading east, though." Then, the two of them exchanged a glance and fell into silence. Long Peerless let out an "oh" and started walking south again. Zhang Reckless thought to himself, "So you're actually directionally challenged. I'd better follow along and help search." He quickly caught up with Long Peerless and asked, "Big Sis Master, did you also kill these fierce beasts?" Long Peerless replied nonchalantly with a hum. "While I was tracking Little Fox and passing through here, they suddenly attacked me. It must have been Little Fox's trick to stop us." Zhang Reckless eyed the beast suspiciously, thinking to himself, "I never expected Little Fox to have the skill of beast command." As soon as these words were spoken, Long Peerless immediately sensed something amiss. Little Fox had grown up in the sect since childhood, and would never have learned the art of beast command. At this thought, she immediately transformed into a streak of light and sped toward the distance. "There's definitely a trap here. Follow me quickly." Zhang Reckless was dumbfounded. "Elder sister, I can't fly." However, the situation was urgent. Helplessly, he mobilized the remaining energy once more. Better to rely on oneself than others. Give it your all and sprint. At full sprint, Zhang Reckless quickly caught up with Long Peerless. At that moment, it seemed as though a battle had just taken place at their location. Soon Zhang Reckless found Little Fox's clothing on a branch. "It seems someone has found Little Fox before us," Long Peerless said with certainty from the side. "Zhang Reckless, look at this mark here. The one who abducted Little Fox must be the so-called jerk of all beasts, the Tiger Emperor." Not far away, inside the Tiger Emperor's lair, 2 wolf beasts are standing guard at the cave entrance. Suddenly, one of the wolf beasts sensed something unusual. Yet in the span of a breath, Both had been taken down by Long Peerless. Zhang Reckless followed closely behind, watching the still twitching wolf beast, and exclaimed loudly, "Big Sis Master, truly remarkable skill." At this moment, Long Peerless pointed to a nearby cave entrance and said, "The Tiger Emperor is inherently cruel and is very likely to silence any witnesses. You take this path. Once you discover Little Fox, immediately rendezvous with me." Inside the cave next to Long Peerless, several small beasts were gathered around a campfire, drinking wine. Beside them, two bunny girls were holding a set of clothes, while the stone door behind them was slowly closing. Long Peerless behind the stone wall had no time to think. She transformed into a black shadow and swiftly slipped through the stone door. As soon as she entered, she discovered Little Fox tied up and pressed against the wall, with a large glaringly red character for double happiness written overhead. Long Peerless couldn't help but curse under her breath, thinking, truly worthy of the title Jerk of all beasts Emperor, forcibly capturing someone and then hypocritically going through a wedding ceremony. Long Peerless slammed her fist heavily against the stone wall beside her, partly out of anger and partly to send a signal to Zhang Reckless. At that moment, the groom of the evening, Tiger Emperor, drifted out quietly, his tone laced with teasing as he spoke. "Isn't this the Jade Maiden Sect's Big Sis Master? What brings you here today?" Long Peerless had no desire to waste words on this tiger jerk. Swiftly forming a long spear in hand, he declared, "Release the little fox if you value your life." Tiger Emperor let out a light, fearless chuckle. "Big Sis Master, I'm afraid that won't be possible. The little fox is the last of the finest yaguai foxes in the world. I've already contacted a buyer, and am ready to make the deal at any moment." As he spoke, Long Peerless had already charged forward with his spear. In her eyes, the strength of this tiger was not yet a cause for concern. But suddenly Long Peerless' body seemed to be frozen, his mind buzzing, unable to exert any strength. Tiger Emperor, like a big warm-hearted guy, hurried forward to support Lady Long. "What's wrong with you? Let me the tiger take a look." Long Peerless mustered the last bit of strength to swing the long spear, but the feeble force was easily dodged by Tiger Emperor. "To be honest, I've waited in these mountains for over a decade just to catch this little fox. I knew your Jade Maiden Sect wouldn't give up easily. So, over the past decade, I've developed the bone-corrosive fragrance specifically to counter the techniques and arts of the Jade Maiden Sect. The moment you stepped into this cave, you began inhaling it. As soon as you attempt to use your inner energy, the toxic fumes will attack your heart and lungs, leaving you completely drained of strength. Did you think this room was prepared for that fox? In truth, I just wanted to see which disciple of the Jade Maiden Sect I could lure in. I never expected it to be the most aloof and proud figure in the martial world, Long Peerless." As he spoke, he was about to bring that foul mouth close to Long Peerless' face. Just at that moment, with a loud bang, handsome guy made his entrance. A size 43 shoe landed squarely on Tiger Emperor's face. It was none other than the renowned head of security for the Jade Maiden Sect. The Tiger Emperor of Jerk of all beasts takes 2 wives every night. One is the charming and enchanting Peerless Foxy Girl, the other is the coldly alluring Empress, the most powerful warrior under her command. But just as the Tiger Emperor's plump lips were about to kiss Long Peerless, suddenly with a loud bang, the handsome guy made a timely entrance. Zhang Reckless kicked the Tiger Emperor square in the face. The Tiger Emperor was sent flying several meters, a size 44 shoe print clearly stamped on his face. "That bastard is worse than an animal. Not only does he want to marry Little Fox, but he also plans to share the wedding chamber with Big Sis Master." At this moment, the Tiger Emperor slowly rose to his feet. Where did this short-lived fool come from? Doesn't he know that one must not provoke a tiger? Zhang Reckless provocatively crooked his finger. "You actually did what I've always wanted to but never dared. Today, I'm not only going to touch your butt, but I'm also going to give you a good spanking." As soon as the words fell, Tiger Emperor's figure had already arrived, his entire body filled with evil energy. "Go to hell, you bastard." Zhang Reckless suddenly kicked out a foot, striking him right on the chin, instantly turning Tiger Emperor into an underbite. Even the exhausted Long Peerless exclaimed in surprise, truly worthy of being the fastest man in the Jade Maiden Sect. Tiger Emperor clutched his blood-soaked mouth, thinking to himself, this kid is really off, can't afford to underestimate him. But if he's with Long Peerless, then he must also be from the Jade Maiden Sect. In that case, I'll just wait for his poison to take effect. At this thought, Tiger Emperor was about to open his mouth and boast, "You're done for." Unexpectedly, with all his teeth knocked out, he just babbled a lot of gibberish that no one could understand. "Big Senior Sister, could you please translate what he said? It seems like he was mumbling with a lisp, Maybe because of missing teeth? I couldn't understand a thing either. Upon hearing this, Tiger Emperor was so infuriated that he immediately crouched down and started writing furiously. After a moment, he placed a note in front of the two of them. The note read, "Don't get too cocky. Once the poison takes effect, you're finished." After seeing the Tiger Emperor's handwriting, Zhang Reckless instantly turned starry-eyed. "Little Tiger, how did you write it so perfectly, just like it was printed? This must be what they mean by in the heart, a fierce tiger, yet it delicately smells the rose." Then he slammed a punch right into the Tiger Emperor's face. "If that's the case, then I'll just beat you to death before the poison takes effect." In midair, the Tiger Emperor endured Zhang Reckless' heavy punches while reminding himself, "I must hold on. He's about to collapse any moment now. By the way, little Tiger, I forgot to tell you. I'm only staying at the Jade Maiden Sect. I don't cultivate their techniques and arts." With that, he threw a rising dragon punch straight at the Tiger Emperor. "Damn it, could you say that earlier next time?" After a moment, the Tiger Emperor pulled out a small white flag and knelt on the ground in surrender. Zhang Reckless turned to Long Peerless to ask for her opinion. "This tiger has committed countless evils. Should we just kill it outright?" Then, a strange smile crept onto Zhang Reckless' face. "We could also take the tiger's penis back to brew some wine." Tiger Emperor quickly wrote a few lines. He claimed that he still had information. Immediately after, he stuck out his butt and started writing furiously again. And when he put on a cute, wide-eyed expression, along with writing on the paper that he would tell them the truth about the annihilation of the Yaogui Fox tribe back then, Long Peerless' expression also turned more serious. "Zhang Reckless, spare her life for now and let him explain clearly." Then, the two of them found a stone bench and sat down. The Tiger Emperor in front of them began to write word by word. "It's a long story, but I'll try to keep it brief. It all started 18 years ago." Zhang Reckless quickly interrupted him. He had spent 5 points from the system to exchange for a set of false teeth for the elderly. He directly stuffed them into the Tiger Emperor's mouth. Tiger Emperor bared his teeth excitedly. "My teeth actually grew back in an instant." But when he saw Zhang Reckless raising his fist, he immediately started explaining. Because the Yaogui core of the Yaogui Fox tribe is highly beneficial to immortal cultivators, they have been hunted for thousands of years. 30 years ago, the last remaining fox tribe hid deep in the mountains, and since then, no one has been able to find them. However, by chance, I learned of their whereabouts and sold the information to the mythical sword sect. Unwilling to bear the infamy of exterminating the fox tribe, the mythical sword sect convened a meeting of the 6 sects to discuss the matter. The other 5 sects were all eager to attack the fox tribe to seize their Yaogui cores, but ultimately, due to the Jade Maiden Sect's opposition, the plan came to nothing. At this point, Long Peerless continued. However, the mythical sword sect still launched a covert attack on the fox tribe. Only Who Little Fox was rescued by the arriving empress, right? Tiger Emperor nodded in agreement. The other 5 sects publicly claimed that the 6 sects had jointly exterminated the fox tribe. Unable to expose them, the empress had no choice but to take Who Little Fox back and raise her. Zhang Reckless said thoughtfully, "No wonder Little Fox always wants to escape and seek revenge. It turns out she has always regarded the Jade Maiden Sect as her enemy." Tiger Emperor chimed in with a cheeky tone. "Seriously, Little Fox is so ungrateful." Zhang Reckless kicked Tiger Emperor away once again. "Where the hell do you get the nerve to talk about others? However, this might be for the best. With Tiger Emperor as a witness, we can take Little Fox back and then tell her the truth." Zhang Reckless then quickly walked over to Little Fox's side, ready to remove the wooden box in front of her. Tiger Emperor scrambled forward to stop him, pleading, "Brother, you really can't take it apart. The buyer for Who Little Fox is already on their way. This is a buyer that even the combined forces of the 6 sects wouldn't dare to provoke." Zhang Reckless paid no heed and smashed the wooden crate open with a single punch. Even if the King of Heaven himself shows up, he won't be taking her away. Inside the crate, Little Fox was perfectly bound with a red silk ribbon, even tied into a bow at her chest. Without the wooden crate to block her, Little Fox fell directly onto Zhang Reckless. The energy of the divine body of lustful spirit instantly surged to 115%. Fortunately, Long Peerless intervened just in time, preventing him from exploding and dying. Long Peerless thought to himself, "I thought you were a pervert, but it turns out you're actually a gentleman who refuses to take advantage of others." Zhang Reckless took 2 steps to Tiger Emperor's side, grabbed him by the collar and said, "You bastard, how dare you tie a bow on Little Fox?" Tiger Emperor repeatedly waved his hands, claiming it was all done by the maid. Zhang Reckless threw another shoryuken, saying, No matter how you explain it, I just have to throw a punch to vent my anger. That punch sent Tiger Emperor flying right out of the cave. Even the freshly fitted dentures came loose. But just as Tiger Emperor was soaring freely, he noticed two flashes of light in the distance. He immediately broke into a cold sweat. The buyer had arrived. This time he was truly doomed. Inside the cave, Zhang Reckless and the other two were preparing to exit through the hole smashed open by the Tiger Emperor. Long Peerless suddenly darkened his expression. Wait, Zhang Reckless. It seems there's a very familiar True Chi outside. She is the last Yaogui fox in the world, priceless beyond measure. Now she is trapped and tightly bound. Even Big Sis Master Long Peerless, who came to rescue her, has fallen into the trap. Her body was immobilized, leaving her like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Fortunately, Security Captain Zhang Reckless arrived just in time. He drove the culprit, Tiger Emperor, out of the cave. But just as the three were about to head back to the Jade Maiden Sect, Long Peerless, however, sensed a surge of powerful True Chi approaching, and Tiger Emperor had already dashed several meters into the jungle. The seller arrived way too quickly this time. This is really going to be the death of me, he thought. The next second, Zhang Reckless descended with a graceful lotus pose, shouting, "Where do you think you're running, little tiger? Come back with me obediently and explain everything clearly to little fox." Then he forcefully grabbed the tiger's fur and tried to drag it away. At that moment, a streak of light flashed by, and Long Peerless spoke in a serious tone. "Zhang Reckless, leave quickly. Don't worry about Tiger Emperor anymore." But as soon as her words fell, an elderly voice came from behind saying, "Daoist friend, please wait." Behind them, an old man and a young man had just landed as well. "Sorry to disturb everyone," they said. "Yaogui Fox, our young master, has already purchased it. Please hand him over to us." "You little tiger, you actually took their money." Tiger Emperor shook his head vigorously, like a rattled drum. "I really didn't take the money. It was agreed upon, money in one hand, goods in the other." Zhang Reckless then turned to the tri-hair old man. "Sorry, but I have to say you're too late. The seller hasn't received the payment, so the deal isn't valid. This little fox girl naturally belongs to us now." Upon hearing this, Tri-Hair still wore a smile on his face. "Young man, your mouth is truly stubborn. Since you refused the toast, then you'll have to face the penalty wine." After saying that, the girl behind him flashed forward in an instant. She closed the distance to Long Peerless in just a breath. Long Peerless thought to himself, "This is bad. My cultivation level hasn't recovered yet." But at that moment, the girl's body suddenly came to a stop. Just then, Zhang Reckless grabbed hold of the girl's cloak. "Don't rush," he said. "Your opponent is me. You people are so unreasonable. I've already made myself perfectly clear, yet you still insist on causing trouble." The girl was infuriated by Zhang Reckless' words. She swung her jade-like leg and kicked toward his foul mouth. Zhang Reckless nimbly dodged, slipping right into the opening, and even found a moment to compliment. Legs for days. Long Peerless was left speechless at the sight. "Zhang Reckless, don't linger in the fight. Get out of there now." Meanwhile, the tri-hair elder on the side was sizing up Long Peerless while wondering to himself where he might have seen him before. Meanwhile, Zhang Reckless was backing away while frantically glancing around. "Let that tri-hair old man handle the ladies. I really don't want to lay a hand on women." The girl suddenly lifted her foot and kicked Zhang Reckless straight in the crotch. "Damn you, you filthy man. Don't you dare look down on me." Even Tri-Hair hissed and gasped at the sight. "Looks like that thing is done for." Unexpectedly, Zhang Reckless remained as calm as ever, firmly gripping the maiden's jade-like legs. "Such a petty trick, and you think you can end my lineage for generations to come? I am now a hexagon warrior with no weaknesses." Indeed, with the powerful groin protection mobilized by 20% of the divine body of lustful spirit's energy, the little brother's body remained completely unscathed. The young girl's cheeks flushed as if she had discovered something astonishing. "Could it be that you're so sturdy down there?" She immediately wanted to investigate further, insisting that Zhang Reckless must have a thick iron plate stuffed down there. Long Peerless, watching the two of them bicker, felt a surge of anger, and was about to step in to separate this quarrelsome pair who had gotten to know each other through conflict. And behind her, Tiger Emperor quietly poked his head out, thinking, "When the snipe and the clam grapple, the fisherman profits. It seems the last Yaogui fox in the world will ultimately be mine." This man is named Zhang Reckless with the nickname Steel Rod. He has captured the hearts of countless young women with his astonishing root hardness. Driven by curiosity, women are even more eager to investigate on the spot. The girl sat right on Zhang Reckless' face, pinning him down firmly. Stinky man, I want to see what makes you so extraordinary. But just as she was about to strike, she suddenly felt her body go limp. Long Peerless grabbed her and threw her to the ground. Zhang Reckless, if you can't bring yourself to do it, I'll handle it. The girl was thrown into a daze. What was her fault? Other than being a bit too curious? Zhang Reckless quickly stood up and asked with concern. Sister Long, has your cultivation level been restored? However, Long Peerless made a gesture for silence. At that moment, the tri-haired elder behind them chuckled eerily and said, "No wonder this lady looks so familiar to me. So it turns out to be Lady Long. You abandoned your family just to escape the marriage arrangement with my young master. But there's only the Jade Maiden Sect around here. It seems you've hidden in the Jade Maiden Sect, haven't you?" Seeing Long Peerless shaking his head in panic and explaining, Zhang Reckless felt a sense of foreboding. Could it be that his harem was about to lose one? The tri-hair elder still refused to let it go. "Come back with me quietly for a double celebration. If you wait for my young master to come in person, I'm afraid things won't end well." He looked at Long Peerless' fearful expression and grew even more emboldened. "Since you don't want the Jade Maiden Sect to be bathed in blood, then go back and apologize to the young master." As he spoke, he reached out to grab her. Zhang Reckless locked Tri-Hair's hand in an instant. "Damn it, you creepy old man, still trying to hold my sister Long's hand." Tri-Hair furiously scolded Zhang Reckless. "I am from one of the 4 great families of the land of Hua." Before he could finish his words, Zhang Reckless' iron fist had already landed. "Too much nonsense, who cares about you?" Tri-Hair immediately grabbed the unconscious girl and leaped up. "Dare to offend our Wang family? Prepare to face a storm of retaliation." Watching the 2 figures disappear into the distance, Zhang Reckless sighed. "I should have just punched him to death and buried him in this desolate wilderness." Long Peerless spoke up from behind. "If you had really done that, you might have ended up killing every living being within 100 miles. By the way, Sister Long, what was that about the marriage contract he mentioned just now?" Long Peerless just sighed and said, "It's a long story. Let's talk about it when we get back." At that moment, Little Fox suddenly went berserk, floating in midair with a murderous look in his eyes. Zhang Reckless shouted, "Not good. This tiger jerk took advantage of our distraction and channeled evil chi into Little Fox." Just then, the Tiger Emperor pointed at Zhang Reckless and the other, declaring, "Little Fox, these 2 are the ones who slaughtered your clansmen. Go and kill them now." As soon as the words fell, Little Fox let out a series of furious roars, the evil aura around her growing 10 times stronger than before. She chanted through gritted teeth, "Give back the lives of my clansmen." Long Peerless quickly spoke up to warn. She has already revealed 5 tails. Her current cultivation level is equivalent to the 6th heaven of the Grandmaster realm, far surpassing both of us. Zhang Reckless immediately recalled the Naruto series he followed in his previous life and thought, "Author, you better be careful. Naruto might sue you for copyright infringement." In the next second, a phantom fox claw appeared out of nowhere, interrupting his train of thought. "Sister Long, is there any way to wake her up now?" Before Long Peerless could respond, Tiger Emperor interjected. "The most terrifying aspect of the Nether Fox Yaogui art is its ability to unleash inner hatred. The only way to break it is to evoke an emotion stronger than hatred. But with your abilities, that's simply impossible." Upon hearing this, Zhang Reckless thought to himself, "If only I possessed overwhelming power, perhaps it would be possible. But right now, I only have 55% of my energy, far from enough." Then he turned to Long Peerless and said, "Sister Long, can I ask you for a small favor?" Tiger Emperor, standing nearby, gave them no time to discuss and loudly ordered Little Fox to take action immediately. In a moment of desperation, Zhang Reckless threw a punch to counter Little Fox's evil chi. The powerful impact directly knocked down Long Peerless, who had not yet recovered. Zhang Reckless slid into a prime viewing spot with a swift kick. "Sister Long, I am truly sorry. But there's good news, I'm already full." Long Peerless quickly stood up, straightened her skirt, and asked Zhang Reckless about the situation. Little Fox's wild instincts remained undiminished as it immediately launched another attack, clawing toward Long Peerless. At the critical moment, Zhang Reckless, fully revived, tore open a gap with a single move. Perhaps you all have forgotten, dear audience. Today, let me show you how to cultivate a qualified masochist. The next second, Little Fox roared and charged at Zhang Reckless. Zhang Reckless neither retreated nor dodged, rushing straight toward him. He delivered a sharp, resounding slap directly, shouting, "Little Fox, snap out of it." Little Fox was clearly dazed by the slap, a voice echoing in his mind. "Where am I? I think I heard Zhang Reckless' voice." Then, a complex mix of emotions surged within him. Why is my face swollen and yet it feels strangely pleasant? In reality, Zhang Reckless delivered another reverse slap. Who, little fox, wake up for me. Immediately, more and louder slaps landed on little fox's face. Her mind was in turmoil, on one side the humiliation of being struck, and on the other an indescribable pleasure. Zhang Reckless, don't stop. But if you keep going I might really melt. This girl's expression was rippling with emotion. Just minutes ago she was still a furious Yaogui fox. Her mind, consumed by rage, was fixated solely on the vengeance for her annihilated clan. Yet, the man used slap after slap to jolt her back to her senses. Along with it, the masochistic tendencies buried deep within her heart were also awakened. With a series of crisp slapping sounds, Zhang Reckless was panting heavily. Sister Long. This should be enough, right? Long Peerless also seemed uncertain. It seems like he's recovered, but his expression is a bit strange. Little Fox's expression looks like he just swallowed 5 pounds of aphrodisiacs. Little Fox's eyes sparkled as he looked at Zhang Reckless, saying, "Your palm is so broad, warm, and strong." Zhang Reckless got goosebumps all over from her green tea bitch tone, thinking, did I hit the child's head so hard that it made her stupid? Little Fox leaped into Zhang Reckless' arms, eyes sparkling with adoration, and pleaded, "Don't stop. Keep tormenting me. Don't go easy on me just because I'm a delicate flower." Beneath them, Long Peerless hurriedly intervened. "Sixth junior sister, snap out of it." At that moment, the system chimed with a notification. "Congratulations, host, for completing task number 8. Reward, localized amplification technique, capable of enlarging specific parts of the body. Additionally, continued training of Little Fox will yield point rewards." Zhang Reckless was somewhat stunned as he examined the system prompt. Damn, this really is like unintentionally planting a willow tree and ending up with a whole grove, he muttered. Soon Zhang Reckless was snapped back to reality by Little Fox's continuous whimpering. Little Fox was acting very strangely now. "Zhang Reckless, we need to take her back to the sect quickly." Not far away, Tiger Emperor was sneakily tiptoeing away, looking utterly adorable. Suddenly, a long sword was pointed at his tiger crotch. Zhang Reckless appeared with a swift dodge. "If you dare to pull any tricks again, I'll directly cut off your tiger whip, soak it in wine and make you drink it." Half an hour later, in the main hall of the Jade Maiden Sect, the Tiger Emperor pitifully explained the truth about the extermination to Little Fox. The destruction of the Yaogui Fox tribe truly had nothing to do with the Jade Maiden Sect. It was all the doing of the other 5 sects. But clearly, everyone present seemed a bit distracted. "Let go quickly. The sect leader is watching. This is the truth about the destruction of your entire family." The little fox beneath me clung tightly to my thigh, responding in a sweet, coquettish voice. "I'm listening. Just give me a little tap and I'll get up, okay?" Then she raised her bottom, letting Zhang Reckless aim and deliver a firm strike. This made the Empress too embarrassed to even look. Lu Peacekeeper muttered like an experienced old hand. "Well, another one has fallen." Empress quickly composed herself and spoke coolly. "Zhang Reckless, you let the little fox escape, but you also found her again and helped her uncover the truth about the fox tribe. Your merits and faults cancel each other out. I'll let it slide this time." Having just finished spanking Little Fox's bottom, Zhang Reckless replied, "Thank you, sect leader." Little Fox, however, clung to him persistently, insisting that from now on he must call her Master Zhang Reckless. Just then Lu Peacekeeper suddenly asked, "Where's Peerless? Why didn't she come back with you?" As Zhang Reckless was still puzzling over it, the system sent a check-in notice for the designated task number 9. Bring Long Peerless back to the Jade Maiden Sect within 10 days. Otherwise, the hair will fall out completely. At that moment, Sister Ironhammer rushed into the main hall in a panic. Big Sis Master has just barged out of the sect with her luggage, and her whereabouts are unknown. Empress's face instantly clouded over, and she repeatedly asked Zhang Reckless if he had noticed anything unusual. "We did encounter 2 people who wanted to take Little Fox away." Big Sis Master's expression seemed a bit strange at the time. "Little Tiger, quickly tell us about the background of those 2 individuals." Tiger Emperor responded nervously. "Brother Reckless, you're truly bold, daring to provoke even them. Those 2 are backed by the Wang family of Langya Prefecture." Upon hearing this, Empress's chest trembled violently. "The people from the Wang family of Langya Prefecture. They've finally come after us." She is the Empress, the exquisitely beautiful sect leader of the Jade Maiden Sect. She is also the adorable and warm-hearted girl next door, Mystic Jade. Not only did she go on an impromptu trip with Zhang Reckless, she also booked 7 consecutive nights in a 5-star hotel. It turned out that just after the sect leader learned of Long Peerless' departure, Lu Peacekeeper was ordered to bring Zhang Reckless to the Empress's bedchamber. As soon as he entered the door, Zhang Reckless was stunned. Unfortunately, lacking in eloquence, he could only blurt out, "Holy shit, what huge boobs!" Their Empress leaned against the head of the bed, as radiant as spring breeze brushing past the railings, adorned with dewy blossoms. "Zhang Reckless," she said, "have you ever heard of the Wang clan of Langia?" Zhang Reckless cleared his throat and adjusted his posture. "Never heard of them before today. Are they that powerful?" With a serious expression, Empress replied, "In the land of Hua, there are 4 powerful noble families that must never be provoked. The Yi clan of Longling, the Lu clan of Qingyun, the Qin clan of Xia Commandery, and the Wang clan of Langia. Their influence is immense, rivaling that of an entire nation, and that is no exaggeration." Zhang Reckless asked in disbelief, "Then how does their strength compare to that of the 6 sects?" Lu Peacekeeper chimed in from the side. "Within the 6 sects, many disciples come from the 4 great noble families. They are exceptionally talented and serve as the backbone of the 6 sects." Zhang Reckless scratched his head dismissively. "Then the 6 sects are still more impressive, right? Even the 4 great noble families have to send their people to the 6 sects." "You've got it wrong. Those sent here are all collateral branches or illegitimate children of the clans. They are sent to the 6 sects precisely because their bloodline is not considered pure." Qin Cloud from the 6 sects martial arts tournament is a member of the Qin clan of Xia Commandery. Zhang Reckless was astonished by the fearsome power of the 4 great clans and thought to himself, "Why is this world so competitive too?" At that moment, the Empress shifted her posture once more and said, "Qin Cloud, due to his poor innate talent, had no choice but to be sent to the cloud-soaring sect. As for Peerless, she is the only daughter of the Long family of Shanxing. In order to forge ties with the Wang family, the Long family arranged for her to be married into it." Then she twisted her body again and continued, "However, Peerless refused to accept it and fled to the Jade Maiden Sect, where she became my disciple to cultivate." Wait a minute. At that martial arts assembly the other day, it seemed like the sect leaders of the 6 sects all knew Sister Peerless' identity. Why didn't the Long and Wang families come to the Jade Maiden Sect to look for her? Empress quickly explained, "Only a few sect leaders know about Peerless' identity, and they are unwilling to get involved in this matter. After all, no matter which family it is, Long or Wang, the 6 sects are no match for either." Zhang Reckless nodded in understanding. If the news were to leak, once Sister Peerless became the young mistress of the Wang family, she would surely come to settle the score with them. The Empress also agreed with Zhang Reckless' point. However, she had originally thought that Sister Peerless could keep hiding in the Jade Maiden Sect. She never expected that you would end up clashing with the Wang family and get recognized. This time, Peerless left without saying goodbye, surely because she was afraid of implicating the Jade Maiden Sect. Just as we were speaking, Ironhammer pushed the door open and entered. I led the team and caught up with Big Sis Master, but she flatly refused to come back. She insisted she has to go back to get married. There was no way to stop her. Zhang Reckless thought to himself, "Of course you couldn't stop her. This mission requires me to step in." But just as he cupped his hands ready to volunteer, the Empress spoke first. "Peerless has made up her mind to leave. I must go personally. Peacekeeper, you hold down the fort at the sect. Zhang Reckless, you come with me." As soon as these words were spoken, all 3 faces were stunned. Lu Peacekeeper was the first to react. "I'll have Ironhammer take a few disciples and go along." The Empress shook her head and refused. "A larger group would draw more attention. We should travel light and set off immediately." Lu Peacekeeper reluctantly agreed. "Wait a moment, I need to give Zhang Reckless a few instructions." The next second, Lu Peacekeeper threatened with a dark expression. "If you dare to do anything inappropriate to the Empress, I'll dig that thing of yours out and make it into a lollipop." Within Langia Commandery, one of the 10 great cities of the land of Hua, the Empress, dressed in a simple and elegant light blue gown, appeared exceptionally graceful, while she looked around with the excited curiosity of a young woman. Behind her, Zhang Reckless was panting heavily under the weight of a large bundle. "Seems you really understand the meaning of traveling light." The Empress turned back and urged Zhang Reckless to keep up. "Let's find an inn to settle down first." Zhang Reckless nodded vigorously, relieved that they could finally rest. In the lobby of an inn called the Bedfellows Inn, the innkeeper, with an indescribable expression on his face, apologetically explained that due to a major celebration recently taking place at Wang's Manor, all inns in the city were fully booked, and there's only had one last room available. "Would the 2 of you prefer to share one room, or would you rather stay together in one room?" He stayed up all night studying the art of war, murmuring Amitabha Buddha under his breath. He tried hard to restrain himself, but still nearly burst apart. It turned out that after Empress and Zhang Reckless arrived at Langia Commandery, they were informed that all the inns in the city were fully booked. The only remaining room had just a single bed. After nightfall, Empress's voice came from inside the room. According to the intelligence, the Wang family will hold a grand wedding ceremony for Wang Rich in 3 days. Therefore, we must take Peerless away before the wedding takes place. Zhang Reckless carefully studied the art of war, trying to calm himself down, while continuously responding with aha to Empress. Through the sheer green curtain, Empress's graceful silhouette faintly appeared. Come on, tell me your thoughts, she urged. Zhang Reckless buried his head in the military strategy book. This foolish woman, he muttered to himself. My brain is so starved of blood right now, I can't even think straight. A moment later, Empress wrapped herself in a towel and lifted the sheer curtain. The craftsmanship of this inn's table is just too poor, she remarked. The legs are all uneven. Zhang Reckless struggled to suppress the tabletop that was raised by 5 centimeters, while the system kept reminding him that the energy was fully charged and needed to be released. Hey, it's no big deal. Just let the table rest for a while and it'll be fine. The Empress didn't pay much attention and walked toward the bed. You'll have to make do sleeping on the floor tonight. No problem. The bed in the security room is pretty much the same as the floor anyway. Zhang Reckless was diligently tidying up the bedding on the floor, not daring to look up. He had almost thought of every sad thing that had ever happened to him in his life. Empress sat cross-legged, focusing her mind as true qi slowly manifested around her. I am going to cultivate now. Be quiet. Think of a way to bring back Peerless. Zhang Wuji instinctively looked up and responded, but he was caught completely off guard by the damn height difference. The mantra he silently recited, lust is emptiness, emptiness is lust, soon morphed into left 3 right 3 9 shallow 1 deep. The system beeped with red warnings. Current charge at 190%. Host, release energy immediately or risk fatal explosion. Zhang Reckless quickly covered the gun barrel and ran out of the house. You go to sleep first, I'll go to the Wang family to scout the way. Outside the Wang family mansion, a girl in fitness pants was patrolling the area for security. The young master's joyous occasion is approaching soon. Everyone stay alert. Report any unusual activities in the city immediately. Just as she was about to head to the next stop, she keenly noticed a black shadow swiftly heading toward Wang's manor. Zhang Reckless crouched on a tree branch, observing the surrounding defenses. The spirit sense system inside kept prompting that the host urgently needed to release energy. Suddenly, Zhang Reckless instinctively crouched down. He barely dodged the girl's sneak attack. Seeing an opening, the woman swiftly kicked out with a fierce stomp. Zhang Reckless felt a surge of joy in his heart, praising the excellent opportunity. In an instant, he mobilized 90% of his energy to reinforce his foundation. Accompanied by a booming sound like a massive bell, Zhang Reckless let out a long deep sigh of relief. The system sent a prompt. Crisis resolved. Current energy level at 100%. However, a pang of sorrow welled up in the girl's heart. Under the vast sky, only one man could achieve such hardness. Since that day, the one who has haunted my thoughts. Is it you, Steel Rod? Damn, why is it you again? The girl screamed in shock at Zhang Reckless' sudden remark. Zhang Reckless swiftly pinned her against the tree with a tree slam. Keep quiet. If you dare ruin my plan, I'll make you pay. The girl blushed shyly and pointed below Zhang Reckless. I can help you with whatever you want, as long as you fulfill one small condition for me. She has traveled the world for decades and has seen countless men. Yet now, she has been repeatedly impressed by the hardness of our protagonist's steel rod. But when she truly unraveled the mystery, she burst into tears with a loud cry. It turned out that right after Wang Wanru realized it was Zhang Reckless, she then pointed at his lower body and said she wanted him to fulfill one condition for her. Zhang Reckless instantly understood. Wait, you want to see my little Johnny? The Wang family member pouted proudly and snorted. Humph, I Wang Wanru have seen a thing or two after all. Anyway, I just don't believe there's a place in this world that's that tough. So I must expose your little trick. As she said this, she reached out to pull down Zhang Reckless' underpants. Zhang Reckless desperately held on. What are you doing? If you touch me again, I'll call for help. Wang Wanru wore a triumphant expression. Go ahead and shout if you dare. Let's see how the servants of Wang's manor deal with you. By the way, you're here to find Long Peerless, aren't you? Zhang Reckless was slightly startled and thought to himself, I could actually have her lead the way. Alright, I can let you see, but you have to help me find Long Peerless. How about that? Wang Wanru's curiosity was truly unmatched. She agreed on the spot but added, "If I find out you've stuffed something like iron plates inside, I'll make sure you bleed right here on the spot." Zhang Reckless was both annoyed and amused. "Do I really need to stuff steel plates? For the honor of being a man, I'm going all out." Wang Wanru took a swift step, grabbed the underpants and yanked them down. "I refuse to believe you can still." Before she could finish, she was stunned by the scene before her. In the spirit sense, Zhang Reckless shouted, "Localized amplification technique." A remarkably thick shape, cast by the moonlight, fell upon Wang Wanru's cheek. Immediately after, a piercing scream shattered the tranquility of Wang's manor. Servants rushed toward the source of the sound. A girl's scream was coming from the woods. Our protagonist watched as all the servants of Wang's manor mobilized. Clutching the top of the wall, Zhang Reckless shuddered with lingering fear. "Auntie, you almost got me killed. Well, are you satisfied now? Can you take me inside?" Looking at Wang Wanru again, she appears utterly lifeless, her eyes hollow and vacant, murmuring "liar, liar" under her breath. In a moment of desperation, Zhang Reckless shook Wang Wanru vigorously, saying, Hey, you can't just go back on your word. I didn't stuff any steel plates to trick you, did I?" Then she burst into tears, sobbing, "I mean, those bookstore owners tricked me. They told me the illustrations in the picture books were all in a realistic style, but this is way too different. It scared me to death." Then she bit her finger to calm herself down. "If only I had seen such a magnificent thing earlier." Zhang Reckless stood by, speechless, thinking to himself, "So she's just a little pervert who sneaks a peek at those books. I thought she was really well informed. All right, now it's time to take me to find Sister Peerless, right?" A moment later, Wang Wanru led Zhang Reckless, soaring over the Wang Manor. She pointed to a detached courtyard not far away and said, "Long Peerless is in the room. You only have the time it takes for one incense stick to burn. I'll keep watch outside. Make the most of your time." Zhang Reckless approached the window, sensing the aura inside the room. There was only one person inside, and judging by the aura, it was undoubtedly Sister Peerless. Immediately, he pulled open the window and put on what he thought was his most charming expression. "Sister Peerless, come with me." Inside the room, Long Peerless was just fastening a dragon and phoenix-themed ceremonial robe around her waist. Her bare shoulders, combined with the festive red undergarment, made her particularly striking. She is the aloof and peerless big sis master of the Jade Maiden Sect. Now, however, she is forced to sacrifice herself by marrying into a wealthy family and becoming someone's wife. But on the eve of the grand wedding, she was seen completely exposed by the security guards of the sect. Just now, Zhang Reckless pushed the window open with a shove. He then saw Long Peerless wearing only a camisole. Long Peerless joyfully called out Zhang Reckless' name. Zhang Reckless then resorted to his signature move of covering his eyes, saying, "Sister Peerless, I didn't see anything at all." Unexpectedly, Long Peerless truly didn't treat Zhang Reckless as an outsider, retorting, "Cut the nonsense. It's not like it's the first time you've seen it. Hurry up and come in, it'll be terrible if someone finds out." Zhang Reckless took a moment to steady himself before asking seriously, "Sister Peerless, do you really intend to marry Wang Rich?" Long Peerless, shedding her earlier cold and aloof demeanor, sighed helplessly. "I've already brought trouble to my family. I can't let the Jade Maiden Sect suffer because of me. Only by marrying him can I ensure your safety." Zhang Reckless took Long Peerless' small hand in his and said, "We don't need your protection. The Empress has come for you. She's in the city right now. Come on, I'll take you to see her." Wang Wanru was watching the movements inside the house intently. Why hasn't this guy come out yet? Just then, the scolding voice of the tri-hair elder came from not far away. "She told you not to leave the room and you still ran out. What if someone escapes? Are you going to be the brides tomorrow?" Upon hearing this, Zhang Reckless and the other person were both startled. Just as they were worrying about what to do next, Wang Wanru shouted, "Third uncle, you're here." Her body naturally moved to block the door. "Wanru, what are you doing here?" "I was just afraid the bride might run away, so I came to keep an eye on her." Without wasting words, the tri-hair elder walked toward the room. "No need for you here. Go continue your patrol around the city to prevent anyone from causing trouble." "It's fine, third uncle, my patrol is already over. Don't worry, no one is causing trouble." Just as Tri-Hair was wondering why the girl was speaking so loudly, inside the room chaos had erupted into a complete mess. Long Peerless stopped Zhang Reckless, who was about to climb out the window. "You can't go this way. You'll definitely be seen." Zhang Reckless was so anxious that he kept pulling at his hair. It's over. I should have exchanged for an invisibility talisman or something before coming here." While thinking, Long Peerless suddenly pressed Zhang Reckless under her skirt. Don't say a word, hide in here for a while. At the same time, the tri-hair elder pushed the door open, ignoring Wang Wanru's attempts to stop him. Is it the Wang family's rule not to knock before entering? The old man with 3 hairs spoke in a servile manner. This old servant was careless for a moment. Please don't blame me, young mistress. Wang Wanru stood there in a daze. Where is Steel Rod? Where is he hiding? At this moment, Zhang Reckless was quietly hiding under Long Peerless' skirt, secretly praising how fortunate it was that the skirt was large enough. His hand inadvertently brushed against Long Peerless' smooth thigh. Long Peerless gasped as if struck by lightning, her expression instantly turning unnatural. The tri-hair old man repeatedly asked, "What's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell somewhere?" Long Peerless coughed lightly, trying his best to remain calm. "It's nothing, just got bitten by a little bug, that's all." Zhang Reckless muttered an embarrassed apology under her skirt. "Sorry, Sister Peerless, my little hand just slipped unintentionally." Before he could finish his words, he was utterly stunned by the scene before his eyes. Could these pink tiny pantsu possibly be the ones uniformly issued by the Jade Maiden Sect? The tri-hair elder outside the skirt is also preparing to leave. "Please, young mistress, put on your jewelry properly, as the young master will be coming to see you shortly." On the eve of her grand wedding, she actually allowed a man to crawl under her skirt. Unexpectedly, the man not only studied her fair and tender thighs, he also shamefully transformed into a lacy little pair of underwear and slipped them onto her. It turns out that before leaving, the tri-hair elder notified the young master that he would arrive shortly. Long Peerless was instantly flustered. "Are you saying Wang Rich is coming?" Tri-hair nodded calmly. "So you must dress appropriately, but this outfit and jewelry don't look good together. This jewelry was personally selected by the young master. You must immediately assist the young lady in changing into the Tianzi number 3 outfit." Long Peerless instinctively took 2 steps back. "No need, I can change by myself. You don't have to help." Tri-hair let out a cold, light laugh. "Miss Long, no need to be polite. You know what the consequences of angering the young master are, right? If you don't want the Long family and the Jade Maiden Sect to be bathed in blood, you'd better put it on quickly." Long Peerless tensed up and said nothing more. "Wang family, if you're here too, come out." Wang Wanru, who was hiding behind the door, mumbled a soft "okay." Before leaving, she caught a glimpse of a foot peeking out from under Long Peerless' skirt. Instantly, she felt a chill run down her spine. Holy shit, Steel Rod is hiding there. I'm so screwed. At the same time, Zhang Reckless was also breaking out in a cold sweat under the skirt. If he were discovered, even with 8 mouths, he wouldn't be able to explain himself clearly. Gotta say, this system is a real lifesaver. Ding dong prompt. Host, would you like to exchange for a transformation prop? 10 points for a random draw of a targeted transformation talisman, allowing transformation into a specific object for 3 minutes. Zhang Reckless kept raving about how awesome the system is, saying, so cool, so cool. Hurry up, I want to draw right now." At that moment, a lucky wheel appeared within the spirit's sense. Zhang Reckless thought to himself, what kind of process is this at a time like this? But it better be reasonable. Surely it won't turn out to be something like a table or a wash basin under the skirt, right? Then he shouted, "May the luck of the European Emperor be with me," and slammed the stop button. Zhang Reckless immediately gasped and exclaimed loudly, "This is absolutely reasonable." In reality, several maids had already surrounded Long Peerless. "Miss Long, please cooperate. The young master will be here shortly." Just as Long Peerless was about to strike and kill the 3 of them, her body suddenly convulsed violently. She cursed inwardly at the sensation. What on earth was Zhang Reckless doing? At the same time, the maidservant on either side tugged at her. With a tearing sound, Long Peerless was left stark naked and exposed. The maid beside her stared at Long Peerless' underwear, completely stunned. Why are her undergarments so uniquely stylish? Especially the lace trim along the edges. I want a pair just like that too. Long Peerless was even more astonished inside. How strange. I clearly don't have the habit of wearing underwear, and when did Zhang Reckless slip away? At this moment, Zhang Reckless had his eyes tightly shut. His little face flushed bright red. Turning into this thing was indeed very reasonable. But what should I do now that this has suddenly filled me with overwhelming energy? Outside the house, Wang Wanru kept pacing back and forth, thinking to herself, this is it, it's all over. Tri-hair snapped impatiently, "Wanru, could you stop pacing around? You're making me dizzy." At this moment, Tri-hair called out sweetly, "Young master." Just then, A wealthy young master with skin as smooth as jade walked toward them. It was none other than Wang Rich, the young master of the Langya Wang clan. Wang Rich walked past the two of them and headed toward the room. "Let's go, I want to see my bride." Yet the next second his expression turned extremely grim. With absolute control over the Wang family, he easily detected the scent of an unfamiliar man nearby. He was the infamous kidney deficiency young master of Langya Commandery, known far and wide. Having dated over 300 ex-girlfriends, his body had long been drained of vitality. He had originally planned to have a premarital trial of love with his would-be fiancée tonight. But by accident, he stumbled upon one of her earth-shattering secrets. It turned out that after Zhang Reckless transformed into lace panties, he successfully resolved the crisis. At the same time, Wang Rich, the young master of the Langya Wang clan, also arrived outside the bedchamber. He pushed the door open, intending to catch a glimpse of his fiancée's beauty. Behind him, Wang Wanru's face turned pale with fright. She had already endured far too much that night. The three maids inside the room greeted in unison. "Good evening, young master." Long Peerless had also changed into a new wedding robe. Wang Rich leered as he stepped forward, eyeing Long Peerless up and down. "Truly a breathtaking divine beauty," he remarked. "Long Peerless is indeed far superior to those flashy and cheap temptresses outside." Long Peerless retorted without backing down. "It seems young Master Wang has also seen countless women." Unexpectedly, Wang Rich took it as a compliment and laughed heartily before modestly saying, "Not that many really. Just 341, that's all." Long Peerless thought to himself, "Are you planning to make it a full year's worth?" Suddenly, Wang Rich sniffed hard at the scent on himself, confirming once again that there was a man's smell on Long Peerless. Could it be that she had secretly been with some man before entering the mansion? Immediately, he turned to the Tri-Hair Elder and said, "Uncle Hai, you all go out first." Uncle Hai spoke up a bit awkwardly to remind him, "Young master, the wedding is just a few days away. The master has specifically instructed that before the ceremony, you must not. You know." Wang Wanru chimed in as well. "Yes, cousin, what's the rush?" Unexpectedly, Wang Rich paid no heed to their advice at all. He narrowed his eyes, which were weary from overindulgence, and glared at the two of them. Tri-Hair and Wanru wisely shut their mouths and said, "Good night, young master," leaving only Long Peerless nervously looking at Wang Rich. "Don't be nervous, young lady. I just want to inspect the goods in advance." However, the third person in the room, who was already about to explode with anger, became even more furious upon hearing Wang Rich's words and tightened his grip on Long Peerless. "Damn it, this pervert wants to get on board without buying a ticket." Just as he was thinking, Wang Rich had already pinned Long Peerless down on the bed. "Beauty, let me have some fun first, my dear." Then he straddled Long Peerless' waist, glaring at her fiercely. "If I dare to find out you're no longer a virgin, I'll ruin your reputation at the wedding." Suddenly, he felt a tightness in his rear, as if something hard was pressing against him. He turned around abruptly only to find that Long Peerless' skirt had already tented up, startling Wang Rich into exclaiming, "What on earth is that?" Long Peerless was equally startled by this strange phenomenon, wondering to himself if it was yet another one of Zhang Reckless' tricks. Wang Rich, in a panic, slapped the tent and cursed, "How the hell could you have something like this, and such a huge one at that? No wonder I smelled a man's scent on you." As soon as the words fell, Zhang Reckless transformed into underwear Superman and flew out from under the skirt. Immediately after, a piercing and miserable scream echoed from inside the room. Outside the room, Wanru was so embarrassed that her mouth fell open, thinking to herself, "Could this be a game for three people?" The Tri-Hair Elder felt a thrill he hadn't experienced in decades, sighing, "Ah, you young people really don't know how to restrain yourselves." Inside the room, Zhang Reckless looked at the wailing Wang Rich and scolded, "You haven't even performed the wedding ceremony yet, and you already want to sleep with her? There's no such easy bargain in this world." Coming to his senses, Wang Rich also got a clear look at Zhang Reckless and shouted, "Aren't you that guy who guards the gate at the Jade Maiden Sect? Damn it. You even snatched that Yaoguai fox from me." Zhang Reckless was delighted, not expecting his reputation to be so well known. "That's right. And today, I'm going to take your bride as well. Young Master Wang, forcing something won't make it sweet. Besides, it doesn't look like you have many years left to live. Why not give each other a future?" Wang Rich's face turned dark with anger. "I was planning to go to the Jade Maiden Sect to settle the score with you, but I never expected you to come knocking on my door yourself. Zhang Reckless, who do you think you are? How dare you boss me around?" This man traveled to the cultivation world, but didn't learn any techniques and arts of cultivation. He dominated the martial world for years, relying on the localized amplification technique granted by the system. He not only cast an indelible shadow over countless young girls, even the young master of the Wang family, known as the Mighty Rod. He was so tormented that he couldn't bear to look at his own Johnny again. Just now, Zhang Reckless transformed into Underwear Superman. He punched Wang Rich right in the eye socket. Having lived a life of luxury for years, when has he ever suffered such humiliation? He let out a loud shout and instantly clashed with Zhang Reckless. Outside the house, the tri-hair elder struggled to recall his youthful experiences, thinking to himself, shouldn't that sound be more like a papapa? Inside the house, Wang Rich was sent flying backward and crashed into the wall. Long Peerless asked Zhang Reckless with concern if he was injured. Zhang Reckless' expression turned unusually serious, because that punch just now had used up 70% of his energy, yet it only sent him flying instead of defeating him. On the other side, Wang Rich's face darkened, his teeth grinding audibly. After all, he was a top talent from a prestigious wealthy family. His earlier wave palm was powerful enough to crush a cultivator at the primordial emperor one-layer level into pulp. The two of them stared intently at each other with tacit understanding. This guy was definitely not someone to be trifled with. Zhang Reckless, I suspect you're more than just a gatekeeper. The Jade Maiden Sect is merely one of the 6 sects. It couldn't possibly have produced someone like you. Zhang Reckless breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. Judging by the tone, the guy seemed intimidated. Might as well try to bluff him. The cultivation I practice is nothing but a crude, unorthodox method, hardly worth mentioning. In any case, today I am determined to take Peerless with me. If young Master Wang wishes to stop me, feel free to give it a try. Wang Rich's nostrils flared with rage. Damn it, if I let you take her away, I'd lose all face. But risking my life for this wretched woman isn't worth it either. Just as he was thinking, Tri-Hair burst into the room with the Wang Manor servants in tow. Seeing this, Zhang Reckless stepped in front of Long Peerless and roared, perfect timing. Come at me together. From tonight on, the Wang clan of Lengia will vanish from the martial world. Tri-Hair took a closer look and thought to himself, so it's the Steel Rod man. Just as he was about to start cursing, Wang Rich stopped him. Zhang Reckless, you'd better change your condition. Everyone in the world knows I'm getting married in 3 days. If you take Long Peerless away, how will we save face? Tri-Hair was completely stunned. The young master was actually negotiating with him. But Zhang Reckless was equally panicked inside. After a moment's thought, he decided it would be better to buy a few more days to find a way to improve his cultivation level, and then come back to rescue her. He immediately proposed that the wedding be postponed until 10 days later, and during this period, no one was to lay a hand on Long Peerless. Wang Rich let out 2 eerie chuckles. I never expected you to be such a devoted lover, brother. However, our last fight ended without a clear winner. If you want me to agree to this condition, you'll have to prove yourself in another match. Zhang Reckless calculated that he only had 90% of his energy left. While it was enough for a direct confrontation, he wouldn't have a backup plan if the other decided to play dirty. At this moment, Wang Rich continued. Since it's a matter of 2 men fighting over 1 woman, let's settle it with a man-to-man showdown. We won't compete in palm strength but in size. Zhang Reckless stared at Wang Rich in disbelief, thinking to himself, damn it, the Wang family must have some serious issues. Wang Wanru is dead set on seeing Wang Rich, and now he insists on pulling it out for a comparison. Seeing Zhang Reckless flustered, Wang Rich immediately got excited. I, Wang Rich, am known as the Mighty Rod, standing tall and firm. If you don't want to embarrass yourself too badly, you could always kneel and beg for mercy. Zhang Reckless quickly stopped him and pointed outside. Mighty Rod, huh? Alright, let's go find a more spacious spot and show what you've got. Outside, Wang Rich continued to show off arrogantly. My martial arts might not be the best in the world, but my size is absolutely jaw-dropping. I hope you can handle the shock without being scarred for life. Suddenly there was silence outside, followed by a piercing, miserable scream. Tri-Hair rushed out of the house with concern, only to see Wang Rich staring blankly up at the sky. His stubborn tears couldn't help but slide down his cheeks. How could there be such a colossal thing in the world? Meanwhile, on the other side, Zhang Reckless had already leaped into the air and flown out of Wang's manor, muttering to himself, don't blame me for bullying the weak with my strength, but next, I need to hurry and level up the heart of a pervert within 10 days. She was the leader of a sect, yet she had fallen in love with a gatekeeper. Every night, thoughts of that young man kept her tossing and turning, unable to sleep. But just as the young man was about to kiss her crimson lips, she hesitated. It turns out that right after Zhang Reckless won the size comparison contest with Wang Rich, he successfully managed to postpone Long Peerless engagement by 10 days. And next, his top priority is to quickly enhance his own strength. As soon as Zhang Reckless returned to his lodging at the Bedfellows Inn, he eagerly asked the system how he could continue to upgrade the heart of a pervert. The system dinged with a reminder. The host must complete one of the following 2 check-in tasks. Upgrade to the heart of a pervert, immediately. The first task is to kiss the Empress, and it must be a wet kiss. The second task is to engage in dual cultivation with the Empress. Additionally, the second task is the system's recommended option, offering an extra 10% capacity as a bonus. Zhang Reckless sighed helplessly, thinking he should have expected this old perverted system's way of leveling up. However, finding another opportunity like the last martial arts conference would be extremely difficult. But to his surprise, as soon as he opened the door, he found the Empress lying stiffly on the floor. Zhang Reckless froze in an instant. Could it be that the Empress had suffered a backlash of true qi from practicing her martial arts again? Then he let out an excited cheer. Damn, this is really a stroke of luck. Then, he devoutly bowed before the Empress. Jade, I truly apologize. For the sake of Peerless and the future of the Jade Maiden Sect, please bear with me. Saying this, he puckered his lips and leaned in to kiss the Empress. At this moment, the Empress slowly opened her bright eyes and calmly asked, "What are you trying to do?" Zhang Reckless let out a loud yelp. "Your Majesty, please listen to my explanation." A moment later, after learning the truth, Zhang Reckless let out an awkward chuckle and said, "So it turns out you were just lying on the ground to cool off because you got too hot from practicing your martial arts." The Empress did not pursue Zhang Reckless' discourtesy, and instead asked him if he had gained anything after going out. Zhang Reckless solemnly replied that he had infiltrated the Wang family and met Peerless. She had indeed chosen to marry Wang Rich to protect them. To save her, only Wang Rich's consent would suffice. The Empress knew this would be quite difficult. Although Wang Rich was a playboy, his strength should not be underestimated. His family's inherited wave technique was said to have already reached the primordial Emperor 8th layer, far surpassing her own. At this point, Zhang Reckless' small face couldn't help but blush. "To be honest, I do have a way to defeat him, but it's just..." Before he could finish, the Empress cut in. "Your solution is to kiss me, isn't it? Actually, ever since I wore that strange outfit last time and noticed your cultivation level advancing, I've realized that your techniques and arts are quite unique. However, rescuing Peerless is my responsibility. Please don't intervene for now." With that, she turned over with her back facing me. "It's getting late, you should rest early." Seeing the Empress's resolute attitude, Zhang Reckless had no choice but to slip under the covers. After all, the wedding had been postponed for 10 days. He could figure things out after waking up. Late at night, the Empress tossed and turned, unable to sleep. Why was it that when he boldly called me Jada earlier, instead of getting angry, I felt a ripple in my heart? Ancestor above, please protect this disciple. I must not let worldly desires stir my heart again. At that very moment, a graceful figure appeared before Zhang Reckless' bed. Zhang Reckless widened his eyes in alertness and instantly countered with a reverse grab, while the Empress summoned a luminous pearl to illuminate the entire room. But when Zhang Reckless got a clear look at the person, he was completely stunned. "Wang Wanru, are you here to see my big treasure again? How crazy do women in the cultivation world get when they're jealous? Even a small gesture like holding hands can infuriate the Empress to the point of smoke coming out of her 7 orifices. And this kind of sneaky touchy-feely behavior behind the scenes, it even touches upon the Empress's reverse scale. It turns out that just when the Empress was lying awake at night, praying not to develop worldly feelings for Zhang Reckless again, Wang Wanru happened to sneak into the room quietly. She was caught red-handed by Zhang Reckless. Recognizing the newcomer, Zhang Reckless quickly let go and asked Wang Wanru in confusion, "Haven't you already seen everything you needed to see? Why are you following me again? Don't tell me you have another unreasonable request." Wang Wanru, however, acted out of character and darkened her expression, saying, "Is that the kind of person you think I am in your heart? You've really disappointed me. I came here this time to save you." Zhang Meng was taken aback and asked, "Save me? What's wrong with me?" "The young master has issued a Jianghu kill order for your head, and he has no intention of postponing the wedding. It's still set to take place in 3 days." Zhang Reckless slammed his fist hard against the stone wall. What a scumbag! To go back on a promise made in front of so many people. Wang Wanru naturally tugged at Zhang Reckless' sleeve. "Hey, forget about the wedding for now and just run." Who would have thought that such a small, seemingly insignificant action would be seen by the Empress as a complete provocation? Damn it, how dare you even touch him? Suddenly, arrows swiftly pierced through the door. At the critical moment, Zhang Reckless instinctively pulled Wang Wanru behind him. Be careful. Quickly hide behind me. Behind him, Wang Wanru was so delighted that it was as if a garden of flowers had bloomed in her heart. With a sweet, pursed-lip smile she replied, "Okay." In contrast to the sweetness between the two of them. On the other side, the Empress suffered yet another tenfold emotional blow. Damn it. Now they're getting all cozy and touchy-feely, huh? And that reckless Zhang didn't even think to protect me first. Just at that moment, Zhang Reckless turned around and looked at the Empress sect leader. It's not safe to stay here any longer. We should. Before he could finish his words, he was scared half to death by the Empress's resentful expression. What are you saying? Why can't Zhang Reckless stay longer? Are you trying to send me away so the two of you can engage in some improper affair? With that, two beams of true qi shot out from her eyes. Anyone who dares disturb this emperor's quiet cultivation shall be put to death. With a loud bang, the entire door exploded into pieces. Several people standing closer to the outer gate were sent flying several meters away by the shockwave. At that moment, a burly man with a mohawk swiftly drew a large blade and shouted, "Brothers, charge together! The one who takes Zhang Reckless' head will be rewarded with 5,000 taels of gold." Hearing this, the underlings cursed and grumbled as they charged toward the guest room. Trihair stood on high ground, observing the movements inside the inn, thinking to himself, "This one-eyed tyrant blade is truly a scoundrel. The young master clearly offered a reward of 10,000 taels of gold, yet you still had to take a kickback." However, the Tyrant Blade Battalion acted swiftly. They had just issued the bounty notice and immediately mobilized their main force to handle the matter. It seems everything will be settled by tonight. Inside the room, Empress and her two companions had already engaged with the group. Empress intended to unleash a massacre to vent her anger, but Zhang Reckless believed there were too many opponents and suggested retreating for the time being. With that, Wang Wanru took the lead and flew out, guiding the two to escape. This scene was witnessed by Trihair, who never expected that Wanru would turn out to be the traitor within the Wang family. Shortly after, upon learning the truth, Wang Rich could no longer care about the beauty of flying together. He angrily shouted that Wang Wanru had dared to collude with Zhang Reckless. Trihair, somewhat embarrassed, lowered his head and replied earnestly, "I truly saw it with my own eyes. No wonder she had appeared outside Miss Long's private chambers before. But don't worry, young master. I will take some men to capture her and bring her back for punishment." Wang Rich pressed the young woman down beneath him and then let out a long sigh. "Let's not rush into this matter just yet. I actually have a brilliant idea that could make this game even more fun." She was forced into marriage to save her family's sect. But on the eve of the wedding, she wrote a will and chose to end her life. But just as Wang Wanru was about to tell Zhang Reckless about this matter, unbeknownst to them, they had already stepped into a carefully laid trap. It turned out that just when Zhang Reckless and the other two were attacked, Trihair noticed that Wang Wanru had already gotten involved with Zhang Reckless. Upon learning this, Wang Rich also devised a brilliant plan. The next day, Wang's manor was decorated with lanterns and streamers, and guests from all directions arrived in succession. The Cloud-Soaring Sect, along with the leaders of the 5 sects such as the Myriad Forms mythical sword, also came to offer their congratulations. As soon as the 5 stepped through the door, they put on earnest expressions and shouted in unison, "Congratulations on young Master Wang's joyous wedding." Wang Rich let out a polite chuckle and said, "Thank you 5 sect leaders, for gracing us with your presence. My father is still in Long City attending the Taoist discussion conference and won't be back until tomorrow. I hope you don't mind." The sect leader of Cloud-Soaring Sect quickly waved his hands in response. "How dare we take offense? Not at all, not at all." Wang Rich then shifted the topic, saying, "Speaking of which, the 6 sects have always moved forward and retreated together. Why is it that the sect leader of Jade Maiden Sect is not seen today?" Upon hearing this, the sect leader of Cloud-Soaring Sect was speechless, thinking to himself, "Damn it, the person you're about to marry is the Jade Maiden Sect's first disciple, the Empress. How could she possibly come?" But out of politeness he replied, "The Empress has gone out, and her whereabouts are unknown, so the 5 of us came ahead." At this moment Trihair stepped forward and played the tough guy, saying, "Taoist Master Chongrong, do you 5 know where Long Peerless has been hiding all these years after running away from the marriage?" The sect leader of Cloud-Soaring Sect stammered as he explained that he had only just found out himself. "It seems she has been hiding at the Jade Maiden Sect, studying under the Empress. However, we only found out about this a couple of days ago." The sect leader of the myriad forms sect chimed in from behind. Exactly. Who would have thought that the first disciple of the Jade Maiden Sect was actually the young mistress of the Wang family? Tri-Hair's expression darkened, though he already had the answer in his heart. Is it truly that you were unaware, or were you withholding the information, waiting to see our Wang family become a laughingstock? As soon as the words were spoken, the 5 of them trembled with fear. In front of the Wang clan of Xianxia, our 5 sects are nothing but a joke. We truly had no idea. How would we dare to laugh at your expense? Observing their reactions, Wang Rich cleared his throat twice. Steward, you have quite the nerve. How dare you slander our distinguished guests? As he spoke, he placed a hand on the sect leader of Cloud Soaring Sect's shoulder. I know your sect has always been on good terms with our Wang family. It's the Jade Maiden Sect that opposes us. Moreover, I heard that at the recent martial arts competition, a reckless disciple named Zhang from the Jade Maiden Sect embarrassed the 5 sects quite a bit. Watching the sect leader of Cloud Soaring Sect's furious expression, Wang Rich leaned in closer and said, if you want revenge, I can offer an opportunity to get rid of that troublesome Zhang Reckless along with the Empress. That very afternoon, Tri-Hair put on a show in front of Wang Wanru. He pretended to angrily scold the maid serving by Long Peerless side for her incompetence. Just as Wang Wanru asked what had happened, he exaggerated by claiming that Long Peerless had left a suicide note, stating it was to escape an arranged marriage. Upon hearing this news, Wang Wanru spurred her horse and raced toward the outskirts of the city. At the same time, the sect leader of the 5 sects observed everything from a high vantage point. The sect leader of Cloud Soaring Sect let out a sinister chuckle. It seems the fish has taken the bait. On the other side, Wang Wanru rushed to a civilian house more than 10 miles away and anxiously shouted, Zhang Reckless, there's a new situation. Watching Wang Wanru rushing over in a flurry, the 2 of them were taken aback. When the 2 of them heard that the Wang family said Long Peerless had escaped and left a suicide note, the Empress immediately sensed something was wrong, because Long Peerless was absolutely not the type to choose death as a way to escape problems. Wang Wanru confidently explained, Tri-Hair told me himself. How could it be false? At this moment, Zhang Reckless chimed in. Peerless chose to return precisely to protect the Jade Maiden Sect and the Long family. How could he possibly commit suicide at such a critical moment? Besides, since he's gone, we must definitely search for him. As the Wang family's city patrol, you actually came to tip me off. That's a huge loophole in itself. Hearing this, the Wang family members' chest began to heave violently. The more they thought about it, the more terrifyingly intricate it seemed. Suddenly, Zhang Reckless detected a powerful surge of true qi. At the same time, a massive vortex appeared out of thin air, swiftly enveloping the small hut with the force of thunder. Every girl probably dreams of becoming a cheerleader at some point. This energetic cheerleading routine is absolutely super infectious. Even the stunningly beautiful Empress wants to give it a try herself. However, the gentlemanly Zhang Reckless turned his back on her. It turned out that just after Wang Wanru's steed arrived at the small hut where Zhang Reckless was hiding, they were fiercely attacked by assassins from Wang's manor. In an instant, the original hut was reduced to ruins. Zhang Reckless stomped his foot on the ground and thought to himself, that was close, half a second later and I would have been torn to pieces. And the Empress in his arms was both excited and shy, panting softly as she urged him to quickly put her down. Meanwhile, on the other side, the Wang family was silently savoring the moment. Such a broad and strong chest like a steel rod. Hold me tighter, I won't come down. Suddenly, a strange eerie laughter echoed from the sky. The 3 looked up at the sound and saw the 5 sects sect leader arriving on a flying sword. What a sight! June mythical Jade, who supposedly stays far from men, is actually engaging in such disgraceful acts in this desolate wilderness. The sect leader of Cloud Soaring Sect spoke, and it was clear from the first word that he was an old hand at this. He clicked his tongue twice in mockery. And with 1 man and 2 women no less. How wild. The Empress cast a cold, sidelong glance at the group. So the 5 of you are finally ready to tear off the mask of civility, are you? Under the leadership of your June mythical Jade, the Jade Maiden Sect has repeatedly defied the orders of the 6 sects. Today I will teach you a lesson on behalf of your master. Do you dare to accept a one-on-one battle? Upon hearing this, Zhang Reckless spoke up to remind her that the opponent had the advantage in numbers, and that a head-on confrontation was unwise. However, the Empress had already made up her mind to settle the matter once and for all. Do not interfere in this matter, she said. He alone is no match for me. At the same time, the 5 sect leaders had already dispersed. The sect leader of the Cloud Soaring Sect stood at the forefront, continuously spewing trash talk. The Empress took a step forward, her skirt fluttering freely in the wind. At the same time, she pondered why the four of them had scattered to observe the battle. In an instant, the true chi of the two clashed into a turbulent mass. On the side, Zhang Reckless couldn't help but mutter. The Empress really has big breasts but no brains. Since the opponent has resorted to sneak attacks, how could they possibly engage in a fair duel with you? Looks like I'll have to exchange for a few more adult books to replenish my energy. Just as he was thinking this, he felt as if a heavy object had struck his shoulder. Wang Wanru giggled sweetly and said, "Wow, big brother, you're so amazing. You actually predicted the danger. I really don't know how to thank you." Zhang Reckless blushed slightly, thinking to himself that maybe there was no need to exchange for those books after all. Immediately, he turned to look at Wang Wanru and said, "Could you do me a small favor?" Then, to Wang Wanru's surprise, he pulled out a cheerleader uniform he had gotten at a special discount. Wang Wanru's cheeks instantly flushed red. "But this outfit has so little fabric." Zhang Reckless quickly agreed. "Then I'll change into another set." Unexpectedly, Wang Wanru's eyes instantly sparkled with a golden light. You're so bad, I really like it. This outfit will definitely look great on me." On the other side, Empress had already driven the sect leader of the cloud-soaring sect into a continuous retreat. As members of the 6 sects, instead of upholding justice, you engage in all sorts of shady dealings. Remember, it's not that I, Empress, am unworthy of the 6 sects. It's that the 6 sects are unworthy of the Jade Maiden Sect. Amid the brief pause in their fierce battle, a lively and spirited cheer from a young girl suddenly rang out from behind them. This was none other than Wang Wanru, now dressed in athletic leggings and a cheerleader uniform. At that moment she was waving something in her hands, something she had absolutely no idea what it was, swinging it up and down with great energy. The Empress looked on with a face full of suspicion, wondering what kind of mischief was going on this time. Meanwhile, the sect leader of the cloud-soaring sect wore an expression of high alert, thinking it might be some newly developed enhancement spell. Wang Wanru looked at Zhang Reckless, who had turned his back in shyness, and her fondness for him grew even more. She had initially thought he was a womanizer, but after she changed clothes, he had proactively and consciously turned around. This kind of person truly seemed worthy of entrusting her life to. And Zhang Reckless was currently in a life-saving cycle of trying to stop his nosebleed. "Sis, it's not that I didn't want to look. I just really didn't expect you to change clothes right in front of me. It hit me all at once and overwhelmed me." On the other side, a sudden mutation occurred. The sect leaders of the 4 sects were enveloped in true chi. The sect leader of cloud-soaring sect retreated while shouting loudly, activating the Great Formation.